This guy is rushing back home, desperately trying to avoid getting soaked by the rain. But as soon as he enters the building, he stops dead in his tracks. Right in his path stands an unfamiliar girl. She doesn't just seem strange, she looks completely out of place. She appeared so unexpectedly that he drops his keys in surprise. For a brief moment, he's thrown off balance, but he quickly recovers and dismisses it. Just another cosplayer, he figures. So he picks up his keys and heads up the stairs as if nothing's out of the ordinary. But then, the girl suddenly recoils, backing away from him. It's as if she's terrified of him. Despite her reaction, he brushes it off and continues up the stairs, convinced she's just a dedicated cosplayer. Before he can get to his room, the girl calls out from behind, asking him to wait. Zhu Ting halts, turns around. He casually says this is his place. The girl looks slightly alarmed and steps back, maintaining a wary distance. Seeing this, he starts to feel a bit awkward, wondering if he looks so rough that even a girl would mistake him for a random street pervert. Anyway, he enters his room. He peers outside once more before closing the door, only to spot her still lingering outside. After shutting the door, he slips off his drenched slippers and shirt, and after a hot shower, he grabs a can of cola and picks up a bag of cat food, calling out for his cat Melon, who immediately responds. The little cat appears, her eyes sparkling as she devours her food. Meanwhile, he gulps down his refreshing soda, enjoying the fizzy drink with every sip. He takes a look outside again, seeing that the rain is still going strong. After a moment, he decides to check the peephole. To his surprise, the girl is gone. He opens the door cautiously, wondering if she has left, but as soon as the door opens, she's standing right in front of him. Feeling awkward, he offers her an umbrella or help to get home if it's nearby. But the girl doesn't respond to either suggestion and instead asks where they are. Su Qing tells her they're on Beiyang Road, his neighborhood. She remains silent for a moment, then asks who he is. This is another question that stumps him. A little confused, he tells her he's just some random guy. He tries to offer her the umbrella again, but she just stares at it, almost as if it's something foreign. After a brief silence, she introduces herself as a member of the Yan clan, admitting she has no clue how she ended up there. Her confession leaves him puzzled, wondering if she's just caught in some kind of cosplay scenario. He sighs in exhaustion and motions for her to come inside, while he tries to call someone for help. As he calls Guard Cho, the girl's eyes fixate on the TV. An ad comes on, and without hesitation, she slices the screen with her blade. Her face goes pale, as if she's encountered dark magic that must be destroyed immediately. He stands there, frozen. The guard, hearing strange sounds in the background, asks what's going on. The girl turns to him, glaring with bloodshot eyes. Our hero unable to speak. The guard quickly hangs up, thinking that maybe there's an urgent situation. Su Qing scratches his head, looking confused, and asks where she came from. The woman then asks if the people inside the strange glass box are dead, and she's curious about the people he was talking to on his phone. Noticing her odd straw sandal, the boy wonders if she can even afford to replace the expensive TV she just destroyed. Finally, he raises a hand in a calming gesture, assuring her that he's a good guy. He suggests she puts the sword down, after she retrieves it from the TV. He asks her name and where she's from. She answers without hesitation, saying her name is Jiang He, and she's a disciple of the Yan clan. He compliments her on her cool name and jokes about whether her clan can afford to pay him for the broken TV. The girl looks confused and asks how he doesn't know about the prestigious Gusuyan clan. He just shakes his head, admitting he's never heard of them. Her silence says it all, as if she's offended that he doesn't recognize her clan. The boy reassures her again, saying he means no harm. He tells her she can ask him anything. The woman hesitantly admits she just wants to find her way back to the Yan clan, and our hero, still unsure where that might be, tells her they're in the city of Jiangcheng. Still unsure where that might be, tells her they're in the city of Jiangcheng. He inquires if she recognizes it, but the woman remains silent, leaving the frustrated hero to rub his head in confusion. He doesn't want to entertain the thought that she could be from a distant past. He presses her about her emperor, but the woman answers cryptically, claiming her emperor is well known. This leaves the hero puzzled by her response as she stares back at him, bewildered by his ignorance of this emperor. He asks if it's the 16th year of Kailwan, causing the boy to pause, shocked, before frantically searching his phone for answers. He discovers that the 16th year of Kaiwan falls under the reign of the 7th emperor of the Tang dynasty, who had the longest rule. To verify if she's really from the past, he asks if she knows Li Longji and brings up other famous figures from that period. The woman beams with delight upon hearing these names and eagerly inquires where she might meet them. With a playful grin, Su Qing jokingly mentions she might find them in a Chinese mobile game. At that moment, a delivery man calls from the front door, and the woman immediately draws her sword, ready to face the intruder. The boy rushes to calm her, explaining that it's just a food delivery, not a threat. Lady Zhang asks if the man is a servant, but the hero clarifies he's just the delivery person. The woman watches in amazement and confusion as the entire food delivery process unfolds before her. He asks if she's hungry and would like something to eat, but she nervously declines. Standing at the door, she asks why everyone here has short hair, suspecting they may all be exiled. The hero reassures her it's not the case. But his mind begins to race, wondering if she had already killed someone upon her arrival, seeing those people with short hair. She quickly reassures him she hadn't harmed anyone, just hiding in the shadows. With a sigh of relief, he takes a bite of his burger, only for the girl to suddenly lean in again. She asks about the short hair once more. With a mouthful, he explains it's just a local trend, nothing significant. Her gaze lingers on the delicious wrap filled with meat and veggies, tempting her, but she pulls herself back. She once again refuses to eat, and he suggests she try the soda instead if she doesn't want the food. He tells her it's incredibly sweet, likely unlike anything she's ever tasted before. Lady Zhang grows angry, feeling insulted by his remark. She accuses him of looking down on her, and he quickly clarifies that he was only offering her something to drink. The argument intensifies, turning into a squabble akin to that of an old married couple. In the middle of it, he accidentally knocks over his can of Coke. The drink spills everywhere, bubbling up onto the floor. The woman stares at him in shock, thinking he's trying to make her drink something awful. She believes he's trying to force her to consume a vile, black substance. He nervously sweats, assuring her it's not poisonous and trying to explain what a carbonated drink is. But these modern concepts completely confuse her, and in a fit of rage, she pins him down, glaring at him with a deadly look. Just before she can strike, she calms down after seeing him drink it to prove it's harmless. She finally understands, and he asks her to stop drawing her sword so often. He mentions how she scared his cat, Melon, with her sword. He then considers his options for dealing with her. The first is to trick her into going outside, letting her freeze or starve, but he knows she'd probably end up on the news. The second option is calling the police, but he fears she might go wild and harm them. The thought of it gives him chills. The third option is to keep an eye on her, since she's from the past and might teach him some interesting thing. But he's also worried she might chop him in half if she keeps waving her sword around. Rather than regret it later, he decides to take her in and see how things play out. With that decision made, he offers her the burger. Despite her clear temptation, she stubbornly looks away. She asks him what this food is, and to prove it's safe, he takes a bite. She eagerly tells him to continue as he eats. She watches him closely, and the boy realizes that this small amount of food might not be enough for her. So he decides to make her a rice bowl, thinking her ancient digestive system might struggle with the burger. In reality, it seems like he's just looking for an excuse to finish the burger himself. Seeing him finish it irritates her greatly. He gestures for her to sit down, but she cautiously tests the seat, pressing her hand on it. She gingerly takes a seat, still wary of her surroundings. With a slight frown, she eyes the chair one last time before sitting down properly. She hesitates before sitting down, wary of the strange man. Clearly, she can't fully trust him yet. Although he did offer her his umbrella, his room is filled with strange things, and his eating habits are equally odd, so she stays on high alert. She asks again about her location, and he calmly tells her it's Jiangcheng City. Then, she inquires whether he knows how she can get back home. Her reaching for her sword makes him panic a bit, urging her to put it away first before speaking, once the sword is sheathed. He solemnly informs her that returning may not be possible due to how far she is from home. The girl is intrigued by this, immediately asking how far away she is. Hesitantly, he tells her it's nearly 1,200 years. Confused, she asks for clarification on what he means by 1,200 years. He explains that it's been that long since she left her time. He mentions figures like Li Bai, Yang Yuhuan, and Lu Shan, all of whom are ancient history now, having been gone for over a millennium. This revelation leaves her stunned, and she immediately calls him a liar. He simply gestures around and tells her to look for herself. Everything has changed. The world now follows its own set of rules. If she learns how to adapt, it could be an exciting experience, but also dangerous. She remains skeptical, lifting her sword towards him. He coolly reminds her that waving swords is against the law, advising her to quickly learn the rules. She then asks why he's bothering to help her. He compares it to rescuing his chubby cat Melon from the harsh outside world. He just felt the need to assist. However, he chooses his words poorly, making her angry as she thinks he's likening her to a cat. After thinking for a while, she concludes that maybe he's not so bad since he let her inside and offered food. She asks again why he decided to help. He responds that encountering such a peculiar ancient girl is a rare experience for him. He's genuinely curious about her, saying that if their roles were reversed, she'd probably be just as intrigued. She quickly disagrees, stating that if someone as strange as him showed up in her time, the chief would have killed him on the spot. He reminds her that this time is about peace and harmony. He advises her to follow the law, avoid harming others, and not destroy property while living here. Once that's clear, he gives her the choice of accepting his help or venturing out on her own. Before leaving, he warns her again not to harm civilians, or she'll be arrested. Feeling trapped, the woman realizes she has no choice but to stay, as leaving isn't an option. He then offers to order her some food. She'll have to surrender her sword because he doesn't want to get into trouble. Left with no alternatives, she reluctantly drops her sword. Now that it's settled, he begins to consider what food to order that won't be too strange for her. He briefly thinks about getting her mooncakes, but settles on rice and buns instead. He tells her to take a shower while they wait for the food. The woman, confused, asks where she's supposed to wash up. He guides her to the bathroom where she's amazed by what she sees. He tells her not to be too surprised, as more surprises are in store. He reassures her that everything here is safe, showing her the shower as she watches it curiously, like a curious pup. She tries using it, and he can't help but take a picture of her curiosity on his phone. Then, he introduces her to shampoo and the concept of a toilet. He waits outside while she showers, searching through his things for clothes that might fit her. Inadvertently, he opens the bathroom door while trying to knock, realizing she doesn't know how to lock it. He informs her that he doesn't have any women's clothing, so she'll have to wait for some proper ones. He then decides to show her how to lock the door in the meantime. Soon, she kicks him out, and she enjoys her first shower in this new world. She even tries tasting the shampoo bubbles but quickly spits it out. Meanwhile, he wonders if all of this is actually real. He picks up her sword, examining the shiny blade closely, and decides to have an expert check its authenticity. The girl steps out of the bath in her new clothes, and while he's distracted, she asks what he's writing. He doesn't reply right away but eventually hands her the paper. It's a list of issues that need attention, and she studies it carefully. It contains everyday items she'll need for her daily routine. She then complains about her clothes, to which he responds that she looks nice, clarifying that he's not flirting, just offering a compliment. People often act this way when someone catches their eye, but she firmly warns him to stop making any flirtatious comments. Suddenly, he notices her worn-out slippers and suggests she put them away, promising to get her new ones the next day. As he watches her, suddenly a knock on the door catches her off guard, but Su Qing reassures her, saying it's just the delivery guy with food. As he reflects, he can't help but think she reminds him of a wild cat, always on alert, ready to pounce. After taking the food from the plastic bag, he hands it to her. That's when Lady Jiang recalls a saying her vice captain used to have, that if someone offers help for nothing, they must have hidden intention. Upon hearing this, Su Qing becomes emotional, but she smiles and reassures him, saying she believes he truly means well. After she finishes eating, Su Qing decides to have a serious conversation with her. He begins by telling her she's no longer in the primitive past, and that it's time to adjust her mindset. He explains that if she relied on her sword to survive, and ended up killing him, she'd be starving within a week. Therefore, he advises her to stop using the sword and focus on other things, like watching TV for fun. He also mentions that smartphones could be quite handy. Essentially, he's assuring her that she's completely safe here and no harm will come her way. Hearing this, the girl nods and Su Qing breathes a sigh of relief. However, the outside world is another matter. He explains that while things are peaceful here, they might not be safe for her. Intrigued, Lady Zhang asks why that would be, and he tells her she might accidentally hurt someone. For example, if she walked into a royal palace with her sword out, they'd probably arrest her. It's similar to how things work out there in the world. He also explains what an identity card is, warning her to be cautious of law enforcement who may ask to see it. Su Qing's first priority is to get her an ID card, or she'll stick out wherever she goes, since she doesn't fit in here. After hearing this, the lady asks if she's essentially a refugee here. Su Qing tells her it's actually worse than that, and the consequences could be severe if she gets caught. The lady is immediately alarmed, but Su Qing reassures her, promising to help her, since meeting someone from 1,200 years ago isn't something that happens every day. Despite this, the lady remains uncertain, still wanting to go back to where she came from. To this, Su Qing points out that he can't assist her unless she cooperates, and that their best option is for her to work with him. After a bit of hesitation, she reluctantly agrees and asks what she should do first. Su Qing wastes no time, telling her directly, never unsheath that sword again. As the two settle into a brief moment of silence, the girl suddenly looks around and asks Su Qing where his wife is, since she'd like someone to chat with. But much to her surprise, Su Qing admits he's unmarried. The revelation leaves the lady speechless, and an awkward silence follows. Su Qing quickly assures her that it's normal for someone his age to be single, and tells her to feel at ease in the extra room he has set up for her. She silently agrees and follows him, as he leads her to the room she'll stay in. Inside, there's a lot of clutter, but Su Qing swiftly tidies it up, making enough space for her to be comfortable. It's clear that she's not thrilled with the room, especially with someone like him around. Nonetheless, Su Qing grabs some extra blankets and neatly arranges them on the bed. He encourages her to rest. He knows she's probably feeling overwhelmed, and he hopes that by morning, it will all feel like a distant dream. He then leaves the room, introducing himself again as Su Qing, wishing her a good night before stepping out. Once alone, the lady puts her sword away and sits down on the bed. When the clock strikes midnight, Su Qing lies awake, feeling restless as he thinks about the chaotic events of the day. He had been turned down in interviews, and when he returned home, it started pouring, Somehow he made it back, only to encounter a girl who pulls her sword whenever she feels like it, but then he dismisses it, realizing there's a lot to handle the next day. The next morning he wakes up and checks his phone, surprised to see it's already 10 o'clock. He suddenly remembers the eccentric woman and jumps out of bed. Looking around frantically, he notices her sitting there. At that moment he realizes it wasn't a dream. He steadies himself and greets her with a good morning. He asks why she's up so early and she reminds him it's nearly noon. Then he inquires if she's hungry and she nods slightly. She admits she's a little hungry, rummages in her chest, and quickly returns with 2 silver coins. She tells him he can use them to buy food. Shu King is astonished to hold the silver, knowing it's not worth much. He wonders if she has any gold that could be exchanged for cash to help get an ID. She shows another stone, but Su Qing tells her to keep it for now since she can't go outside. He studies her, estimating her size and build. He promises to get her some clothes and bring back food later. Then he heads to the bathroom to brush his teeth and freshen up. Afterward, he goes to the mall to choose appropriate clothing for her. After browsing through various options, he finally settles on a dress and tells the clerk he'll take it. He notices some bras in the distance, but can't bring himself to enter that section alone. After an hour of shopping, he reviews his purchases, feeling awkward holding women's cosmetics. Next, he stops by a bookstore, grabs some books, and heads back through the crowded streets to his apartment. At the building entrance, the guard questions him about his shopping, and he tries to conceal all the feminine items he's carrying. The guard also asks about the phone call from yesterday, and he fabricates an excuse, saying he dialed the wrong number by accident. Before letting him go, the guard warns him to be cautious due to recent thefts in the area. He nods and assures the guard he'll be careful. Once inside, he finds the woman standing with her sword nearly drawn. She's poised to defend against intruders. He reassures her that she's safe and hands her the food, mentioning he also brought some essentials. A thought strikes him and he looks at her curiously. She asks what he's thinking. He awkwardly wonders if she should see him as some kind of young hero or a decent person. She thanks him anyway, not fully understanding his point. It seems it will take her some time to comprehend his unusual way of thinking. They dig into the meal and she eats voraciously, surprising him given his expectation of refined women from her era. Still, he's glad she's enjoying herself. After finishing, he lays out the clothes he bought, showing her dresses and shoes. While he rummages through the rest of the items, she notices the bra he bought for her. He panics, feeling utterly embarrassed, and quickly tells her to put it down, promising to send a video explaining how to use it properly. Mortified, he dumps all the items he bought and tells her to figure things out herself. Even so, he brought along some useful items and books to help her understand this world and its culture. He's also planning to teach her how to use a computer so she can learn independently. Seeing her tired and restless, he suggests she get plenty of rest before planning their next step. She asks about his status in this world. He pauses, then admits he's a graduate student still looking for a job. Despite being unemployed, he's managed to splurge on fancy clothes and cosmetics, making her think he might be wealthy. He quickly clarifies that he comes from a modest background. She speculates he might be a landlord. She dives into the books, but when she sees old photos from her era, tears fill her eyes, and she wonders how to return home. He admits he has no clue how to get her back and asks how she ended up here. She explains that she was chasing a small thief in heavy rain. She got lost in the forest and wandered until she spotted these tall buildings. Realizing he can't take her home, he cleverly shifts the topic. He tells her she needs to survive in this world first before thinking about returning. Then he inquires about her military rank and martial arts abilities. She explains that she had been chasing a small thief in a heavy downpour. She got lost deep in the forest and wandered around until she saw these tall modern buildings. He realizes he has no clue how to get her back home, but he cleverly diverts the conversation. He tells her she must survive in this world first before returning, then asks about her military ranking and martial arts proficiency. The reason he asked in the first place was that he was curious about her martial arts abilities from the start. She gives him exactly the answer he wants, claiming her Yan clan is the strongest around. Thrilled, he inquires how high she can jump without injury. With confidence, she steps forward and points to the 4th floor of the building. She asserts she can leap from there unscathed, leaving the guy wide-eyed in disbelief. He grows even more excited, eager to witness all the impressive techniques she possesses. He rattles off a bunch of martial arts terms, probably picked up from games, which make no sense to her. He even asks if she knows kung fu, and enthusiastically offers to learn from her. She tells him to calm down, pointing out he's too old to pick it up now. Even with effort, she says he won't progress much. He relaxes a bit and asks if the moves are extremely strict. Lady Zhang shakes her head, explaining it's not about mastery, just a few simple moves without rigid rules. He then demonstrates the first basic martial arts technique. She focuses on waist control and grounding, emphasizing that training takes steady, gradual effort, building skill little by little each day. He asks if he can practice stakes, pleading for the chance. She reminds him it would take 3 years to learn. He figures he could become a proper soldier in that time. So he abandons martial arts and asks her to teach him sword techniques instead. She brings him back to reality again, saying his reflexes aren't sharp enough to follow his hands with his eye. He finally gives up on becoming a warrior and instead asks her to try on the clothes. While she's in the bathroom, he seizes the moment, grabbing her sword and starting to swing it. He attempts to emulate a master ninja, but fails miserably because the sword is far too heavy for his weak arm. When she emerges from the bathroom, he sees her looking stunning in her new outfit. The clothes fit perfectly, and she walks around to check for any tight spots. That's when he notices her hair is messy. Realizing he forgot a hairband, he tells her to tie it back. Once she does, she looks even more gorgeous, like ideal wife material. Overcome with emotion, he starts crying, regretting underestimating her smarts. He plans to take her for a walk tonight and promises to buy a proper hair tie at home. As evening falls, she peeks outside and sees him sitting at his desk. She comes out and asks what he's doing. He attempts to explain computers like trash talking in Call of Duty lobbies. He warns her to avoid 4chan if she wants to keep her mind sane. Then he asks if she's enjoying reading. She admits most of it goes over her head, but she's gradually learning. He tells her to relax. There's no rush, he reassures her, reminding her she's already brave and clever. He jokes he'd be hopeless in her shoes. Lady Zhang smiles warmly, her cheeks flushing red. While he's at his desk, she sneaks up behind and asks if he has no work. He shrugs, saying he's hustling to earn money in this world. But she doesn't imagine someone making money by staring at a screen. He explains he's trying to earn quick cash online. Knowing she won't grasp the tech, he suggests starting with the basic. He suddenly has an idea for teaching her the fundamental. He asks how skilled her chief is in martial art, and she replies, very strong, so he plays a video and asks if the fighters on screen are powerful enough. Her eyes light up watching the intense battle, and he eagerly asks for her thoughts. She murmurs timidly that the moves she's witnessing are completely foreign to her experience. Even picturing herself facing these fighters fills her with such anxiety that she finds herself praying. He then cues up another absurd clip, showing a man smashing through an entire wall with only his palm. Watching this, she is utterly petrified, frozen with fear. Her hands shake as our clueless hero excitedly asks for her opinion on the video. With a ghostly pallor and voice quivering, she questions whether everyone here possesses such extraordinary ability. He quickly clarifies that it's all make-believe, reassuring her nothing is real, which only irritates her further, demanding honesty. He confirms again, emphasizing that the martial arts she just witnessed were entirely fabricated. He explains that in this world, people craft creations born from their imagination. For instance, the martial arts she saw are depicted according to what people believe here. Even though everything is exaggerated, it seems Lady Zhang is slowly starting to comprehend these ideas. He reassures her that with time, she'll fully understand movies and martial arts. Su Qing returns to his original inquiry, asking if her chief's kung fu surpasses what she's seen. She reluctantly admits it does not. He then inquires about flying techniques and she confirms they exist, but most people excel at only one style. She comments on how implausible those stunts in movies are because human strength has limits. The boy pauses, pulls up another video, and asks if she can perform that maneuver. She considers briefly, rises from her seat, and starts moving her hands with incredible speed. Her motions become a blur. Su Qing is ecstatic seeing her master the move, praising her eagerly. She offers to teach him anytime he wants, and with that she leaves, while he dances in joy. Probably daydreaming about being a warrior, she spots a fat cat in her path but ignores it and shuts the door. Inside her room, she exhales in fear, realizing that everyone in this world seems to have hidden motive. She understands that our hero's help is motivated by learning martial arts, and the bizarre world terrifies her, with everything seeming illogical. Then noticing the expansive ceiling, she grips her sword and begins. To practice, the sounds from her room pique the hero's curiosity about whether she will nap. Feeling exhausted, he collapses onto his bed, amazed that a woman is right next door. This thought delights him and he drifts off with pleasant thoughts, until heavy voices suddenly jolt him awake. Looking outside at dusk, he checks his phone and realizes he slept through the entire day. He jumps up and decides to take Lady Jiang outside to show her the real world. As she puts on her shoes, he explains the proper behavior and rules for public spaces. He stresses that she should not act without his consent. After laying out the rules, he asks if she understands, and she timidly agrees. Before leaving, he snaps a photo of her, but her expression looks more like a mischievous troublemaker. He urges her to smile, but her forced grin is worse than usual, nearly shocking him. He abandons the photo plan, deciding they should just leave. Before stepping out, he tells her to leave her sword behind to avoid problems. Lady Zhang resists, but he assures her that the street people are no threat, so she needn't worry. She reluctantly puts her sword down. While she stands there, he takes another shot and finally captures a good picture. He cheerfully announces it's time to go. Once outside, she looks around nervously. Our hero explains that this is a residential area. He points out the main entrance and the road beyond. He mentions the shops lining the streets where people can purchase food, clothing, or essentials. Lady Zhang is startled by a man on a scooter. She likely imagines it as some magical vehicle. As they continue, they spot people, and a plump woman immediately recognizes Lady Zhang for some reason. The girl hides behind the hero as the woman insists she has seen her before. Meanwhile, a guard asks if our hero has found himself a girlfriend. The boy just laughs it off, brushing it aside, claiming she's only a friend. Yet this determined lady doesn't give up. She instantly recognizes Lady Zhang as the sword-wielding figure from the day before. She then discusses the sword with the guard, and the larger woman explains the situation in detail. Without missing a beat, the hero jumps in, claiming it was all part of a role-playing game where participants pretend to be historical or fictional characters. Fortunately, the woman buys the explanation and, seizing the moment, the hero grabs Jiang's hand and hurries off. As they walk together, the old man is reminded of his past. Once they're out of sight, Lady Zhang pulls her hand away, feeling annoyed. He asks if she's seen her before, but the girl stays quiet, leaving the boy convinced that Jiang must have met that woman on the stairs. Still, they continue their walk together. The lady is clearly taken aback by the fast-moving cars. The boy takes a moment to explain cars, describing their evolution from horse-drawn carriages to the powerful, swift vehicles they see now. Unable to understand their mechanism, she assumes that horses are hidden inside, providing the necessary strength to make the car move. Next, the boy introduces her to cameras, explaining how films are made with them. He points out that if he misbehaves in public, the CCTV cameras would capture it and could get them both arrested. He reassures her that as long as she behaves, they won't be the focus. Lady Zhang picks up some small rocks, but the boy quickly tells her not to even think about taking out a camera. She stops immediately, and he advises her to put the rocks away. He then explains how traffic lights work, noting that red means stop and green means it's safe to cross. I'm telling you all this because I want to make sure my friends and viewers learn too. After crossing the street, Zhang is captivated by the glowing streetlights and the variety of shops. The speed of the passing cars also catches her attention. While walking, the boy picks out a ribbon for her, but when he imagines her wearing it with those fluffy pom-poms, he realizes it might not be right for her. He looks around at all the sparkly trinkets and starts to reconsider. Lady Jiang lights up at the sight, and when the boy asks if she likes a certain ribbon, she immediately agrees. With the ribbon in hand, she starts stretching it playfully. Then she carefully ties it around her head, looking cute and charming once more. Even the boy can't help but admire her beauty. As the evening falls and the city lights brighten, the pair enters a restaurant. The boy orders 2 spicy fried rice cakes and a side of cucumber slices. As they search for a table, the boy mentions this is the place where all their food comes from. He trusts this restaurant because of its great food, and he's been enjoying it since his childhood. Suddenly, Jiang's attention is completely taken by the dazzling lights. She's so mesmerized that she's startled when the waiter brings their food. The boy begins eating and offers her a pair of chopsticks. She's obviously nervous, and while he sips his lemon juice, he realizes he was right to keep her from wandering alone. She clearly needs more guidance than he thought, but he's confident he can teach her, one step at a time. After they finish eating and pay the bill, they leave the restaurant feeling content, especially the boy. On their way home, he asks if she's starting to feel more at ease. She doesn't answer, sitting silently on the couch. He tries to comfort her, saying that life in this world isn't so bad, especially with all the tasty food and snacks to enjoy. He assures her that once she has her own ID, life will be even better. But despite his reassurances, she still seems uninterested and quietly expresses a wish to go home. He reminds her once more that it's been 1,200 years, so going back home isn't an option. She'll need to face the facts. She asks what they'll do about her identity. The boy explains that he's not a government official to handle this, but he reassures her that there's always a way, and he'll be there to help her. The girl feels flustered yet grateful for his kindness, expressing her thanks properly this time by calling him a young warrior. The boy replies with the same fraternal energy, stressing that identity is essential in this world. Without it, navigating life is nearly impossible. He then inquires about the list he gave her yesterday. She gestures toward the trash bin. Disappointed, the boy orders her to retrieve it immediately. After pulling the paper from the bin, the girl wonders what they will do if the ID card problem isn't solved. The boy warns that she would be considered a criminal and there's nothing he could do. Without an ID, she can't work, buy property, or even ride public transport. He stresses that an ID is the ultimate necessity. The girl has a sudden thought, asking if earning money and securing a place to live would make the ID less critical. He explains that even then, many things remain impossible without proper identification. For instance, opening a bank account, getting a phone, online accounts, shopping online, the list is endless. He then powers up his laptop. He searches for unregistered resident certificates and advises her to approach the authorities directly for her ID. He reassures her that at worst, they might confiscate her, but he's confident she'll be treated decently. Lady Zhang immediately grips her sword, asking if he intends to hand her over to the authorities. The boy tells her not to worry about that, and to focus on her studies first. He suggests she start with history or something similar. Once she understands the basics of modern society, she can make her own decisions. The girl falls silent, visibly anxious and uneasy. She asks if it's a problem for him if she stays. The boy assures her she can stay as long as needed, but insists she must not fight or use her sword violently. He promises everything will be all right. At that moment, the cat approaches, reminding the boy he almost forgot to feed it amid all the chaos. He plays with the cat briefly and tells Lady Jiang that if she's free, she can spend time studying. She lowers her head and decides to follow his advice. Finding nothing useful online, he checks his phone and decides to call someone he knows. He's about to dial his best friend Qin Hao, now a competent police officer. Though unsure if Qin Hao's internship is over, he assumes his friend is now a full officer. While messaging Qin Hao, he debates whether to mention meeting a girl from 1,200 years ago. He opts not to reveal it, setting up a meeting without disclosing their encounter. Feeling content, he takes a shower to freshen up. After the bath, he feels fully refreshed. He realizes the girl hasn't bathed yet but decides not to dwell on it. Suddenly, he remembers sharing space with the opposite sex. Knowing he'd be in trouble if caught wandering naked, he remains cautious. Luckily, no one sees him and he hurries to his room. Later, Lady Zhang cautiously leaves her room and rushes to the bathroom with her clothes. She shuts the door for a bath, just as she did routinely in her own time. Since it's the weekend, the boy grabs a digital writing pad and begins teaching her to write. She already reads traditional Chinese characters well and pronounces them accurately. Now she attempts writing a few characters. Suddenly, Melon appears, grabbing their attention. The cat looks hungry. The boy feeds the cat while Lady Zhang continues her practice. Watching him, Lady Zhang asks what the food is. Su Qing explains it's specially made for cats. Lady Zhang imagines how such cat food is produced, picturing pouches hanging from trees. Suddenly, there's a knock, and the boy rushes to accept a delivery. He hands it to the girl, saying it's her dinner while he goes to meet his friend about her ID. She immediately begins eating, and the boy assures her he'll teach her to use phones and computers to stay connected. While she eats, little Melon asks for food, but the boy scoops up his cat, reminding it to stick to its own meal. With curiosity, the woman timidly asks if she can share some of her food with the cat. The boy nods and explains that this food isn't suitable for cats. The woman is stunned by this and pauses for a moment. If it's not good for animals, how can it possibly be safe for humans? She starts to feel as though her burger doesn't smell as appealing anymore. Not long after, he demonstrates to Lady Jiang how to use Discord to send him messages on his phone. He clarifies that it won't be him hiding in the computer, but instead, the transmission waves that will carry his voice to her. Leaving his dorm, he scratches his head, wondering if everything is okay. After a bus ride, he eventually reaches his destination. He steps off the bus, scans the area, and spots his friend in the distance, waving at him. When they meet in person, they greet each other. Officer Chin pours a cold beer for the boy, mentioning it's the first time he's ever served him a beer. They sit down, and the boy asks how he manages to drink as a police officer. Xin Hao explains that he's off-duty and dressed casually, just here as an ordinary person. The boy then places his order. He carefully looks over the menu, excited about the tasty food he's about to have. They raise their glasses and toast. Su Qing asks his friend how work is going and what it's like to be a distinguished officer. Qin Hao bluntly says it's terrible and that the whole idea of heroes saving the day is nonsense. He talks about how he's often dragged into petty arguments between couples and ends up solving issues with elderly women in the neighborhood. He rarely encounters thieves. Instead, his job consists of dealing with minor disputes and meaningless problems. But Su Qing highlights the positive side, noting that people are generally living and working contentedly, which is a good thing. Even though Qin Hao dislikes his job now, he had always dreamed of becoming a police officer as a child. Unfortunately, his growth stopped at 1.6 meters, knowing that the height requirement was 1.7 meters. He cried a lot in Su Qing's arms. Luckily, when the height requirement was replaced with the high jump, he was thrilled to start practicing every day, eventually reaching his goal. But after dealing with only minor disputes, Qin Hao is so exhausted that he jokes he would even fight a woman with a sword if it meant making a big impression. Su Qing quickly tells him not to make such jokes. Then, out of the blue, the boy changes the topic and asks casually what happens if a homeless person with no memory wants to get an ID card and work without any proof of their identity. The officer bluntly answers that it's not easy to obtain an ID card. Such a person is likely to be up to something shady. In his typical officer manner, he asks Su Qing for the name and address of the person he's talking about. The boy attempts to tell a story about how his uncle's son has a friend in a similar situation. The officer interrupts him. He tells him to stop the nonsense and reminds him that without identity verification, such as a blood test, they can't get an ID card. The boy insists, asking if the person he encountered was a stranger with no identity, like a homeless person. The officer points out that if someone's behavior is suspicious, they have to investigate, seeing his friend's skeptical look. The boy quickly tells him to stop looking at him like he's hiding a fugitive. He insists he isn't here to discuss how to conceal anyone's identity. His friend agrees, reassuring him that he trusts him. He suggests they just ask the stranger for basic information. They could also verify details using a directory or DNA information. His friend suddenly gets irritated and tells Su Qing to drop the subject, gulping down his beer. The boy jokes that he only came here because he needed something to talk about, or else they wouldn't have met. He then playfully tells his friend to forget everything and jokingly raises his hand, telling him to handcuff him because he wants to know what it feels like to be interrogated and cuffed. After their playful banter, Su Qing brings up the ID card issue once more. The officer's response remains the same. He gives an example that if getting a new ID were easy, criminals would be committing crimes daily, stealing new identities and starting fresh. They continue their conversation, and after drinking a lot of beer, the officer ends up completely passed out. Su Qing tries to wake him. He reminds him of his duty to settle disputes between old ladies, but the officer just asks for more beer. Su Qing tells the waiter not to bring any more. The boy settles the bill while his friend still craves more alcohol. Su Qing learns that there's a 50% discount if he spends 100 yuan, so he chooses to pick up a large batch of fish for Lady Zhang. After bidding farewell to his hiccuping friend, he collects his takeout and heads home, though he's a bit disappointed that he found no clues. But he isn't too bothered. Once back, he finds the girl sound asleep and can't help but admire her serene beauty. His mind feels jumbled as he gazes at her, uncertain of the emotions bubbling inside. Suddenly, the girl wakes up. Startled to see him return, he presents the food he brought. She softly thanks him, though a simple thanks doesn't feel enough. The boy jokingly demands she say it properly. Blushing, she replies, "Thank you, young warrior," which triggers an over-the-top response from him. He brushes it off as a minor favor. While unpacking the food, she asks if he drank much. He says no and shows a yogurt, suggesting she taste it first. He playfully licks the sweet and tangy yogurt, and she follows, unexpectedly enjoying the experience and joining in eagerly. He encourages her to finish before it cools. Heading to the bathroom for a shower, he smiles, savoring the comfort of home and her waiting presence. After his shower, upon returning, the girl immediately notices him. He asks if she checked her outfit, initially confusing her. She then recalls the bra he brought and turns crimson, embarrassed at the thought. Apparently, attempting to figure it out with YouTube tutorials didn't work well. Later, she goes to the bathroom to change, feeling anxious about wearing the fancy dress. Accustomed to simple, mood-reflecting clothes, she wonders what kind of prickly princess persona she'll project in this new outfit. She arranges the bra and dress on the bed, takes a bath, and dries her hair with a blow dryer. She deeply appreciates the young man's guidance, but knows she can't rely on him forever. Her own limited skills can only take her so far. Morning sunlight spills through the window, and she emerges, rubbing her tired, sleep-deprived eye. It seems he woke up early today. Lady Zhang asks if he's starting work early. He replies that he's just catching up on news, immediately dampening her mood. She questions if he's a government worker. He reassures her he's not, reminding her that otherwise she would already have her ID card. He then asks if she's hungry and offers to get breakfast, inviting her along. She declines and heads to the bathroom, so he decides to go alone. Telling her to enjoy Netflix in the meantime, he hums a tune as he steps outside. The old guard calls him over, and he reluctantly approaches. He notices two more people present. One lady asks if he's heard any strange noises recently. Her gaze suggests she suspects him of causing them. He appears completely unaware, insisting he slept soundly and heard nothing. He wonders if a theft occurred, but the old man suggests it might be a haunting, as his dog was terrified recently. The dog didn't even bark. When asked if he noticed anything else, the old man puffs on his cigarette, exhaled, and admits he saw nothing firsthand but captured something on video. They gather in the surveillance room to watch it. Footage shows a fast-moving blur, leaving everyone visibly frightened by the unknown figure. Our hero is also spooked, suspecting it might be Lady Zhang. He facepalms, confused by her action. He decides to return to the apartment to ask her directly. Now it's clear why Lady Zhang was tired earlier. She was probably exploring the world alone at night, learning new things. He asks the old man if the same occurred yesterday. The guard says no, last night was uneventful. He awkwardly laughs, entertaining the idea of a ghost. The bald man and chubby lady are curious, questioning why a ghost would appear at night, especially in their place. The old man decides to watch for anyone, suspiciously lurking around with potential theft in mind. He finally returns home and immediately scolds her, demanding why she snuck out at night He looks at her with a mix of disappointment and worry. She timidly asks how he knew it was her, which only angers him further. He groans and slaps his forehead in frustration, reminding her that the CCTV cameras caught everything. The girl looks nervous, worried about his reaction. She quickly explains that she was wearing a mask in hopes that as long as her face is covered, she won't be recognized. He warns her that from now on, any outings must include him. No solo trips are allowed while she's staying there. He stresses the danger of her situation, making it clear she can't just wander freely. The girl shyly asks if she caused him trouble, and he reassures her that luckily, no one noticed her. Everyone assumed a ghost was haunting the place. She clearly has no understanding of what haunting means. Seeing her puzzled expression, he becomes flustered again and quickly searches online for a movie about someone from the past ending up in the future, who gets into trouble because of reckless actions. He wants to illustrate the risks of her behavior. He's fairly certain that the scenario fits her character perfectly. The girl looks timid and promises to avoid causing trouble if it bothers him. The boy tells her to relax and suggests ordering takeout later, asking what she would like: hamburgers, chicken rolls, or something else. The girl smiles sweetly and thanks him for the healthy food he's providing. He teases her, joking that if she wants something even healthier, she could try the cat food. After their playful banter, he grabs the laundry and loads the washing machine, taking the chance to explain how it works to her. Seeing this, she rushes to her room, retrieves her clothes, and brings them back to add to the wash. While looking at the laundry, Su Qing notices something tucked inside her clothes. Curious, he pulls it out and holds it up, leaving the girl completely embarrassed. She quickly snatches it back and hurries to her room. Zhu Qing is surprised to find that it's a foot binding, which makes no sense, considering how she was moving around the neighborhood with her feet tied up like that. He glances at her, remembering her feet looked perfectly fine the last time he saw her wearing shoes. So it's puzzling why she would tie her feet. He searches online to see if martial arts enthusiasts are interested in foot binding, but the results don't match his expectations. Turning to her, he casually asks if he can check her feet. She pouts and shakes her head, clearly uncomfortable. He asks why, but she stays silent. It finally dawns on the clueless boy. The bindings aren't for her feet, but her chest. No wonder she ignored the undergarments he brought earlier. He assumed her chest was already large enough to fit them. Realizing his mistake, he nearly jumps out of his skin. She glares at him, sword drawn and eyes blazing, seemingly ready to attack, but she regains control and turns around, leaving him utterly terrified. And she's still angry. He tries to lighten the mood by teasing her and singing in a terrible voice. The lyrics describe Lady Jiang's modest height, her natural beauty without makeup, and her charm from head to toe. He even sings about a man who loved an unattractive woman, yet had 5 children with her. He claims only a Jagachad with a Sigma male mindset could do that, and he desperately wants to become one of them. Despite his jokes, the girl scolds him again. He returns to the main task, telling her to watch tutorials on how to wear the undergarments. He promises to return in 5 minutes, hopefully with fewer jokes. Exactly 5 minutes later, he comes back to check on her progress. To his surprise, she looks frightened and asks if this is how everyone lives here. Her voice trembles as she says that, while the undergarments are comfortable, they make her feel like a prostitute. The boy reassures her that feeling comfortable is perfectly fine, but she insists, calling it shameless. He questions her, asking what's so disgraceful. After a moment of thought, she goes silent. He launches into a humorous speech about how she's stuck in old-fashioned ideas, while modern women wear whatever they want. He jokes that if a man can wear minimal underwear, so can a woman. She remains firm, immediately rejecting what she considers immoral thinking. She sticks to her stance, refusing to accept what she sees as improper or indecent behavior. Realizing reasoning with her was futile, he chose to change tactics and soothe her instead. He pointed out that computers aren't just for work and study, they're also perfect for gaming. He cautioned her about toxic communities in games like Apex Legends, and instead introduced a game reminiscent of Super Mario. Upon her first glimpse, she became captivated by the animated world of jumping plumbers, busy breaking Nifski's speedrun record. Meanwhile, he quietly slipped away, thinking it best to keep her entertained indoors. Later, returning home, he paused her game to show her how to defeat the final boss. After the gaming session, he felt drained and opted for a nap, while she kept playing on his laptop. Settling into his room, he reflected on how fortunate he was to have missed that job opportunity on the rainy day. Otherwise, even if the interview went well, managing a 1,200-year-old girl would probably have forced him to quit. As dust yellowed the room, he returned to find her and suggested eating out, advising her to dress nicely this time. He also recommended trying a different hairstyle, rather than appearing sloppy. She surveyed her choices and appeared in a new outfit, blushing as she adjusted to the modern fashion, slightly too advanced for her taste. The boy blushed as well, struck by her charm, but quickly asked her to revert to her original dress to avoid unwanted attention in public. This ignited intense irritation and frustration in her. As they walked outside, the elderly security guard teased, asking if he was taking his girlfriend shopping again. He clarified they were just friends, not a couple. The old man then showed a talisman he used to ward off spirits temporarily, until his mahogany arrived. When asked if he resembled the New Year deity, Su Qing gave a thumbs up and hurried along, noting the late hour. Meanwhile, Lady Zhang was lost in her own thoughts. Once alone, she could no longer contain her curiosity, and asked Su Qing what girlfriend meant. He explained it simply means a female friend. Confused, she wondered why he denied she was his girlfriend before. He asked her to be patient, promising an explanation later. Su Qing suspected that if she understood the term fully, she might pack up and flee his place. As they resumed walking, he suggested she watch videos about her kingdom's history. She hesitated, saying revisiting her past was painful. While walking, Lady Jiang noticed the lack of curfews, street vendors, and muddy potholes. Everything seemed surreal and dreamlike in this thriving world. They paused at a tea stall where Su Qing ordered bubble milk tea and other treats, encouraging her to try some. She watched with curiosity. She hesitated to sip and asked if people could earn money this way, and if she could learn such skills. Su Qing gently explained she could learn the skills, but needed an ID card to earn money. While sipping her tea with a subdued mood, he reassured her that the ID card problem would be resolved eventually. He told her not to lose hope and to enjoy her tea for now. As she tasted it, he asked if she liked it, but she admitted it wasn't really to her taste. She said the flavor wasn't appealing and the pearls were hard to chew. He agreed, noting he felt the same and didn't understand how people liked drinking. She shot him a cold look, clearly unimpressed with his critique. He quickly clarified he thought girls liked sweet drinks, which is why he ordered it, while his own drink was slightly sour. He offered her a taste of his drink. She cautiously sipped through the straw. As the flavor reached her palate, her expression brightened with delight. The boy swapped his drink with Lady Zhang's bubble tea, smiling gently, genuinely happy that she enjoyed it. As they continued, Lady Zhang sensed something off but chose not to dwell on it. She focused instead on sipping her drink. After finishing, the boy let out a shameless burp, signaling he was full, and suggested a short stroll before heading home, wandering through the lively city streets at night. Without warning, the boy pulls over at a bus stop and suggests taking her to a place she'll enjoy. Since this is her first time on a bus, he reassures her not to worry and simply follow his lead. The boy inserts a coin and gets on the bus, guiding her to a seat by the window so she can fully appreciate the journey. As the bus moves through the busy streets, the girl is in awe of everything she sees out the window. The boy is slightly surprised by her calmness, considering it's her first bus ride. She tells him she's been on horse-drawn carriages many times before. When they reach the Lanjiang Bridge station, they get off the bus. He shows her the area called Lanjiang, excitedly telling her that it might have been empty back in her time. But now it's the center of the city's nightlife. As she takes in the view, she is shocked and wonders how this could be. The boy suggests she study history if she's struggling to believe it. While they stand by the river, the boy takes out his phone and quickly captures the moment. The girl, looking in his direction, naturally strikes a perfect pose and he takes the photo. At that moment, he promises her a plane trip once she gets her ID sorted. The idea of flying is completely new to her, so he reassures her, adding that for now, she can stay in his small room and learn about the world. With the curiosity of a child, she asks what happens after she learns about the world. The boy pauses, thinking, and tells her it will lead to true freedom. She will gain a clear understanding of what's right for her and enjoy this new future. Checking his phone, he says the moment has arrived. Right then, fireworks light up the sky, painting it with brilliant colors. She wonders if her family would be amazed by such a breathtaking view. He smiles at her and encourages her to enjoy this experience for her relatives too. The following day, the news he reads isn't exactly pleasant, as Lady Jiang is seen performing her ninja-like moves near the lightning poles. Of course, the boy looks displeased, but there's also a sense of comfort in it. Since she had been out playing ninja at midnight, the guards have stepped up patrols, meaning there won't be any real thieves around for a while. Lady Zhang spots a crowd outside and points toward them, asking what's going on. Qiuqing feels uneasy as he realizes they're performing rituals to drive away the spirits in the area. Soon after, they resume eating, and the lady remarks that Su Qing's lifestyle feels like being trapped. He chuckles and reminds her how they went shopping, watched documentaries, had lunch, cried over an anime, and then had dinner. He explains that it's the simple life of having a home and living as an otaku, but the girl doesn't seem to grasp it. So Su Qing clarifies that staying at home gives you the freedom to choose your activities and destination. He compares it to an ancient nobleman who spends his days in a mansion with his family and a pet cat. The lady then decides to take a walk and Su Qing asks if she wants to go alone. She stays silent, and that's enough for him to know. So he starts listing all the risks and her weaknesses, effectively shutting down her idea and insisting she stays put for now, until she fully understands the world. He tells her that even if he gave her money to eat at restaurants, she'd still need to figure out how to earn money. Otherwise, she'd just be on a spending spree. He reminds her that she could either commit crimes to get quick cash or do some scavenging. But without any hunting grounds, she'd end up rummaging through trash. Finally, the girl falls silent, eating her burger, thinking that without that one ID card she can't even go for a simple walk. Seeing her downcast expression, Su Ching reaches into his pocket. He hands her 2 coins, reminding her that at least she's learned how to take the bus. She can use this opportunity to explore on her own, which will be her first step. But the girl declines, saying she hasn't learned anything. Su Ching, however, insists on giving her the coin, telling her to spend some time outside and assuring her that she's learned plenty in her first month here. Curious, the girl asks if there are really ghosts. He points to the people outside performing their ghost-banishing ritual. He reassures her that once she starts making money, she'll be able to repay him. When she wonders what happens if she doesn't make anything, he reassures her they'll figure something out. She thanks him again, calling him young warrior. The boy then runs a game on his computer where she can play as a character. He encourages her to explore and figure out ways to make money, suggesting she try it to see if she can handle it. When she asks why she can't just work online like he does, he explains that it's complicated and advises starting with the basics first. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. The boy panics, telling her to hide in her room, while the person outside grows impatient and yells for him to open the door. Hearing that voice makes Su Ching even more anxious. He quickly leads her into a room, locks the door, and finally faces his father. A grumpy old man glares at him. Nervously, the boy greets him while the man adjusts his glasses. He insists the boy call him landlord for now and looks around the room. Demanding to know if his son has found a job, the old man receives assurances from the boy, addressing him as landlord, that the rent will be paid on time and defending his position. He explains that since he can afford the rent and maintain his lifestyle, he doesn't feel the need for a job. The father grows frustrated at this. Like many fathers, he begins scolding his son for being a disappointment. The son tries to interrupt, saying that since his father is here about the rent, he will happily pay. Seeing an RPG game on the computer, the father becomes even more irritated, warning that if a job isn't found by next month, the rent will increase without discussion. Zhang wonders while eating her burger. If people are always glued to screens these days, living under strict schedules like prisoner. Su Ching nervously laughs, explaining that this is called being an otaku, a lifestyle she, as a woman, doesn't fully understand. He jokes about inherited lack of common sense, then elaborates on gender roles and expectations. He can choose to stay inside or go out freely, so he spends all his days idling indoors. All Jung thinks is that he resembles lazy landlords who have plenty of free time for themselves. Then Jiang wants to go outside, but Su Ching is offended and bombards her with questions, mostly about what she plans to do outside. He shows his Gen Z traits. Su Ching then offers her some money, but warns she'll run out eventually if she doesn't find a way to earn. He jokingly suggests she might need to commit crimes for money. She probably hasn't heard of OnlyFans unless she meets someone generous like him. A classic case of gaslighting, designed to make women want to fix him. He continues, saying that since there are no nearby woods to hunt, she'll likely end up scavenging through trash for food. Even though she knows without an ID she can't go far, he pulls out some money, noting she has learned a lot in a month and at least hasn't drawn her sword on him. Yang feels hopeless, but he's not truly bad. He's trying to guide her. He tells her he'll take her outside once the ghosts are gone, so she can gain personal experience to understand a few things. Zhang is fascinated by the ghost story, wishing women were that easy to impress today. He decides to help her find a job, though it's difficult in this tech-driven age, but eventually finds something suited to her skill. A retro-style runner game. However, she wants to do what he does, monitor people via surveillance cameras. Wanting to be a stalker in 2025 is edgy, but he refuses, insisting she has much to learn first. Suddenly, there's a knock at the door. Zhu Qing panics and hides the girl in his room. Once she's hidden, he opens the door to find his father, the landlord, who immediately asks if Su Ching has secured a job. He reassures him that the rent will be paid promptly and that a job isn't necessary for now. After all, he wants to live like a princess. Why would he need employment? His father scolds him for never holding a stable job and always indulging in odd hobbies. God forbid a man enjoys hobbies or OnlyFans. Su Ching, irritated, says he's sending the rent money immediately. Whether the landlord is checking if he'll work on National Day or just confirming, millennials and boomers clash over rights. His father grows angry and demands he find a job, threatening to raise the rent if he doesn't. The threat is clear: get employed or the rent goes up. Naturally, he's quite intelligent. He suggests lowering the rent due to the place being haunted and the unpleasant atmosphere. Frustrated, his father starts to leave, but suddenly, the allegations about OnlyFans seem to be true. His dad spots women's clothes in the bathroom, and before he can say anything, Su Ching's father is convinced his son is about to transform into his daughter, being taken advantage of by a closeted African-American man. As his father waits for an explanation, Su Ching realizes that he should come clean rather than be seen as the disappointing gay son who dresses up as a woman and submits to others. Otherwise, the neighbors will eventually spill the beans to his father that a girl is living with him. So he quickly fabricates a story about his friend's sister staying with him for a few days. He knocks on the door, urging Jiang to step outside. She follows his request and he introduces her to his father, praying she doesn't do anything suspicious. Jiang pauses, unsure of how to address him, nearly calling him dad, which catches the father's attention. She then addresses him as uncle and bows respectfully. Su Qing's father grabs his hand and leads him outside for a conversation. He assures Jiang they'll be back soon, but outside. The father demands an explanation, to which Su Qing responds that it's just his friend's sister visiting for a couple of days. He further asks his father to hand over the spare key so he can give it to her, though he simply wants the key to avoid his parents discovering her alone, which would cause more complications. However, his father wonders if she's his girlfriend, but Su Qing denies it immediately. Yet his father isn't fooled. After all, he was once 17 as well. That's how he managed to get Su Qing's mother to sleep with him. The father then asks the girl's age, and Su Qing admits she's 18, which his dad scoffs at. That's a lie many 14-year-olds tell so they can get pregnant by men who don't even care for them. The father remains skeptical, but Su Qing gets irritated, responding that even if they are in love, there's nothing to be shocked about. The dad likely can't fathom someone loving his pathetic son. Well, the father came to check if his son could pay rent and had a job, only to discover a girl in his apartment. He points out again that Su Qing has no job, and Su Qing retorts that being a content creator is profitable as well. The dad isn't convinced. It's time for his son to get a real job, like working as a cashier at McDonald's. Frustrated, Su Qing asks about the rent and utility bill, and immediately transfers the money to his father. He insists that his dad hand over the spare key because now he's properly renting the apartment. Su Qing's dad tells him to always pay on time. Otherwise, he'll end up paying more. If that's a problem, he can look for another apartment, but the son is clever. He knows that whatever his dad owns will one day be his, so he stays put. The thought of inheriting everything excites him. Things are that bleak. Before leaving, he reminds Su Qing to be back for dinner and glares at Jiang. Su Qing, frustrated, declares she's not his girlfriend, but his father isn't fooled. Being a father, he advises his son that starting a relationship too early can cause problems. He also tells him he should find a proper job. As he begins to leave, he turns back to Su Qing, reminding him to be careful. Su Qing is embarrassed. Suddenly, Su Qing stops his father, wanting him to look at Jiang's sandal. He asks his father about their value, claiming they're from the Tang dynasty. Su Qing knows his father has studied archaeology for years and is an expert in the field. He further explains that these sandals date back to the reign of Li Longji. His father dismisses him, suggesting he might need to see a psychologist. After all, every kid in this generation could probably use some time in therapy. The father then decides to test his skills and go have another child. It's never too late. He leaves quickly, muttering something about his wife needing to wear an apron. As Su Qing's father walks away, he laments the son he raised, a useless boy glued to his computer all day. He sighs, knowing his dreams of becoming like Elon Musk are hopeless. He knows those sandals were said to be from the Kaiyuan period, though they're clearly from just a week ago. Both claims are technically true, since time isn't always as rigid as people think, and once the line between past and present is blurred, anything can happen. Su Qing insists his father take another look and refuses to let him leave. His father, annoyed, yells at Su Qing to get real with his life. He compares him to his cousin, who became a police officer. Su Qing replies that he's a freelancer, all while hiding Zhang's shoes behind him so she won't think he's a creep. His father, confused, doesn't understand what a freelancer is and scolds him once again. He's making his son's life more complicated, giving him a lifetime of father issues. It seems like his father is ready to add a premium package of daddy issues to his son's life, even taking Jiang's sword to hit him. The sword striking the hero doesn't scare him much, but the thought of Jiang losing her temper is what worries him. He tries to take the item from his father, but Gramps has a firm hold on it. However, our smart boy convinces him that it's not an antique but a toy, and his dad falls for it, handing him back the sword. He starts to leave, reminding him once again to find a job or take the civil service exam. As his dad walks off, Su Qing examines the sword closely, noticing it's completely free of any signs of aging, making it appear brand new. He spots Zhang glancing at the sword and tells her to keep it hidden, not to take it out too often. He also wonders aloud why she wants to call his father dad. He clarifies that if she meets his mother, she should refer to her as auntie, and she agrees. Qing then asks Jiang if she's interested in maintaining her martial arts skill. He desperately wants to progress faster, but he knows it's not realistic to master everything in an instant. He jokes about someone being so out of shape that they can't even handle the sight of a woman. It's impossible to become an expert overnight, and he's aware that it's a futile pursuit in this day and age. So he dismisses the thought and invites Jiang to join him in playing a game. Qing believes that he needs to treat her like a child, guiding her through everything slowly. Children usually learn best through play, and online games are no different. fitting the same mold. He starts showing Jiang how to play the game. She asks how they make money from it, and he explains that once she masters the game, she can play it for others and they'll pay her for it. Ching gives her a more detailed explanation so she doesn't think he's pulling her leg. He tells her it's a kind of entertainment for people without jobs, serving as a hobby. However, many still lack the time to play. Not everyone has the luxury of free time like he does, so those with more time like him can play on behalf of those who don't. Jiang is still confused, asking if people without time would actually hire others to play for them. She thinks it's absurd, but he explains that they already paid for the game, so they wouldn't want to waste their time playing it. Using an example, he points out that she'd be better off as an internet addict than a drug addict, meaning staying in rather than running off. Su Qing doesn't want to worry about the future for now, just focusing on helping her get by. Suddenly, his chubby, American-coated cat starts rubbing against his feet. He shoos it away and the cat jumps onto the computer desk, settling on Jiang's lap, causing her to blush. At the police station, one of the officers suggests they all order a meal together, but the soft-spoken boy politely declines. He sighs, saying he's bored since there's nothing for them to do. He complains about being suffering from success, and as soon as he says this, all the officers give him a strange look. One officer asks if his mentor never taught him not to speak like that. Just then the phone rings with a work call, and suddenly, they all have to work through the night. Later, an older officer in the car warns how not to ever say, "We have nothing to do today." He explains that anyone who says that ends up with a full night of work. It's something metaphysical, and they can't explain it. Hao wonders if this is similar to the phenomenon Su Qing mentioned, just as if on cue. They arrive at their destination and head to the 6th floor of building number 14. It's late at night in the residential area when they spot an elderly, drunken man. They ask him what he's doing there, sure it's not for rehab. The man yells, asking why they took so long, as he just wants to go inside to his wife. He reeks of alcohol, smelling like something rotten, making Hao feel sick. The officer knocks on the door, and the wife opens, confused about the presence of the police, saying she didn't call them on her husband. She says it was her husband who wanted to come inside, but she locked him out. Apologizing to the police, she promises to deal with him. The old man is about to get a good talking to tonight, but it looks like he's not happy about that. He shouts that she's the one who needs a lesson. It would be interesting to see how it unfolds between them. The police, seeing him so enraged, threaten to arrest him and lock him up to sober him up. The thought of being locked up sobers the old man, and the case is resolved. As they prepare to leave, they're called to another case. Hao, exhausted from the work curse he's put on his colleagues, wishes it would stop. In the middle of the night, Qing wakes up and heads to get a drink of water. Suddenly, he sees Zhang sneaking out again to scare people, but his vision is blurry. He realizes it's someone else when he hears a sound. It's a thief who snuck in, and he bolts to escape the scene. Zhang, with her speed, slams the thief's head into the floor and presses it down hard. Su Qing quickly realizes that if she doesn't release his head soon, the thief's skull will crack like a coconut. He urges her to stop and she listens. Qing can't help but wonder how things will turn out. He looks down at the scene unfolding in front of him with an amused expression. The thief struggles, but Zhang holds him firmly, pressing his face deeper into the ground. Su Qing wonders if it will ever end. The thief, now defeated, lays still as Zhang releases her grip. Su Qing sighs in relief. Su Qing quickly realizes how much stronger Zhang is than he thought. After that, Qing lifts the veil, revealing a thief sporting a North Korean-style haircut. He sits there tense and red-faced, mortified that a girl just pulled an Undertaker move on him. At the same time, Su Qing smacks his own head, trying to process what he just saw. The protagonist realizes her hold must be insanely strong. The guy was nearly strangled to death. Honestly, that wouldn't be the worst way to go, getting choked out by a gorgeous woman. You can even see the bruise on his hand. Anyway, Chang moves to call Hao since he's a cop too. The thief pleads with him not to call, begging to be spared. He's already taken a beating and swears he'll never do it again. Qing coldly says he earned that beating. People's hard-earned cash isn't his to take, and he should get a job instead. Yeah, dumping his daddy problems onto the thief. But the thief insists it was his first time stealing. He says he'd heard the building was haunted, so he thought he could exploit that. Instead, he nearly got beaten to death. And on top of that, he's terrified of Jiang. Her presence is seriously frightening. Qing demands an apology, and the thief blurts one out immediately. But Su Qing thinks it doesn't sound heartfelt enough. So he turns back to call the police again, and the thief starts crying, begging him to let him go. Seeing how panicked he is, Qing figures this really was his first attempt. Everyone's got a first time after all. Qing, softening up, lets him leave the same way he came in. The thief bolts like an American dad sprinting out for milk. As he rushes out, Su Qing hopes the neighbors didn't hear all that screaming. Otherwise, the gay rumors would have been confirmed. But Zhang can't understand why he'd just released the thief, and he explains that the guy could still call the police, because then they'd hold her responsible for hitting him. And if the police go by procedure and start thinking she looks suspicious, they'll dig into her background. And if they discover she isn't registered, she'll be in serious trouble. That confuses Zhang. Why would she be punished when she's not the thief? Ching says it's because she hit him too. Then he notices her clothes and asks why she's dressed like she was about to go outside. She says she heard something and came out to see what he was doing. Ching teases her, saying not everyone likes wandering out in the middle of the night the way she does. Then he heads to bed, planning to get the window repaired tomorrow. Next morning, he wakes up and finds Jiang drenched in sweat from practicing all night. Who knows what kind of training that was? She lets her hair down and he's completely captivated, begging her to leave the door open so he can watch her practice. He should have reported himself to the police for how creepy that is. She agrees, while some women charge $5.99 a month for that. He's shocked she says yes so fast. But she tells him that no matter what she chooses, he'll still be unhappy. It irritates him, yet he decides not to argue. Then Su Qing proposes they grab breakfast while someone comes to fix the window. The night before, he'd been thinking that staying cooped up at home without seeing anything isn't enough. So he steps out to experience things firsthand. As they walk, Qing shows Zhang how to learn from the life happening around them. She asks how she's supposed to do that, and he tells her she has to let go of all her old ideas and beliefs, start fresh, and build new experiences. While lecturing her, Qing says she shouldn't be so ruthless with people, like last night with the thief, because the way she pinned him down looked like she was about to break his neck. She denies it, saying she held back on the strength. He adds that hurting someone in this time period can get them into trouble, so he warns her not to kill anyone. That leaves her baffled. So how far is she allowed to go when beating someone up? I'd say if it's a man, don't pull your punches. But Qing says it depends on a lot of things. Zhang immediately asks another question. If he slips into her room at night, how hard should she hit him? Hopefully he's not into that. He shouts that she can't just attack him. He says he's not a pervert, but Zhang tells him he looks exactly like one. Striking a pose, he protests and declares himself a righteous hero with impeccable morals. She still isn't convinced, and he asks why she'd even imagine he'd sneak into her room. Sure, he dug her shoes out of the trash, but that's all. Then he remembers she once called him a douchebag. He insists that even if he did sneak in, she'd absolutely wipe him out and his entire bloodline. Still, he's curious what she'd do if he actually tried it. A man of culture. She asks if she can punch him, and honestly that might send him back into his mom's womb. Soon they arrive, sit down inside, and Su Qing orders breakfast for both of them. He asks her to hold on to this moment and start experiencing life from this point on. As she gazes at her hands, she reflects on the fact that this is a world where no one has to take another's life. After a short time, their breakfast arrives. John enjoys the meal, while Su Qing smiles, watching her, knowing no one here is aware that she's from an ancient time. This makes him wonder if people from ancient times always eat as though it's their last meal. He reassures her that if she's still hungry, she can have more. But she wonders if it might be expensive. He tells her that breakfast is the least expensive. She doesn't need to worry about the cost of food here, because it's all very affordable. As he eats, he begins to feel as though he's caring for a child. Then Zhang stands up to order 15 more buns, nearly making Su Qing choke on his food. Seeing this, he tells the waiter that the order is for takeout. He asks her if she's really going to eat all of that, and she wonders if she ordered too much. But he advises her to avoid eating so much in public. He tells her to pack it up and finish the rest at home, so they won't draw unwanted attention. While eating, Jiang tells him that she'll pay him back once she starts earning. However, she jokes that she might find another way to repay him. He then settles the bill. Afterward, they leave and pass by a hot pot buffet. The love-struck guy promises to bring her to one next time. Jiang is curious about what it is, and he explains that at a buffet, you pay a small fee and can eat as much as you want until you're full. There are also many other dishes. Jiang thinks it sounds like charity, but Su Qing clarifies that it's just a marketing strategy. He goes on to explain that in this era, people mostly work with their minds. Since they don't do much physical work, they're not very hungry either. If she were to eat like an overweight American, she'd definitely stand out, and everyone would soon know who she is. Buffet strategy works for the owners because people don't tend to eat much anyway. He points out that girls and children are the biggest victims of this scheme, as they pay 100 yuan but only eat 30 yuan worth of food. On the other hand, people with bigger appetites get to eat more, and the restaurant makes up for it through the smaller eaters. Jiang explains this further. When Su Qing hears her understand, he shares a story from his childhood when he thought the buffet owner was generous to let everyone eat as much as they like. Jiang wonders why people with smaller appetites even bother going, and Su Qing replies that it's a more convenient and economical choice for them. Later, Su Qing reflects on how she's been gradually understanding the world and how, one day, she might piece everything together all at once. It seems Jiang no longer feels like an outsider in this time. A few days later, the love-struck guy gives Jiang a phone. She wonders if Su Qing is her sugar daddy, considering how expensive a phone can be. But then she remembers that gamer guys are usually poor, and he got it from a promotion. He had gone to get a recharge card for a game, and they gave him an Android phone worth over 1,000 yuan. He decided to give it to his special girl. She's thrilled and thanks him. He encourages her to follow the instructions and give him a call. He feels confident she'll figure it out quickly because she's a smart girl. Then a thought crosses his mind that he feels like an NPC, but it's easier for him if she learns fast. He stands up and tells her to have dinner on her own since he'll be out. He suggests that if she feels bored, she can learn to use the phone or watch some video. Su Qing realizes that ever since she discovered she could make money playing games, she's become hooked, and it's starting to concern her. Before leaving, Jiang asks if manipulating the characters in the game is really a job. Su Qing answers that if she keeps playing, she'll be working overtime. But since she's still an intern, there won't be any extra pay for overtime hours. He reminds her to make sure she eats, and if she needs anything, to give him a call. Then he heads out to visit his parents. It's been a while since he last saw them. When he arrives, he finds his dad at home. His dad mentions that his mom is out playing mahjong. He asks where Jiang is, and Su Qing explains that she's just a friend staying with him for a while. His dad, slightly irritated, says he wouldn't allow a man to stay, but Su Qing defends himself, mentioning that Hao has lived with him before. His father scoffs, but Su Qing maintains that Hao stayed with him, and the situation is no different. But his father makes an exception for him, believing that Hal could easily be his girlfriend if he weren't a man. Qing knows he won't get anywhere with his dad, so he calls his mom instead, who's a mahjong enthusiast. They wait for her to come back. Su Qing tells his father that his apartment was broken into, though he managed to fix the window. He asks if his father can help cover the repair costs. His father mocks him, saying there's nothing valuable to steal from his place, and the only thing worth taking is the computer, which he treats like his bedmate. So no one could really take it from him. His attachment to his computer might even land him in trouble if he keeps talking like that. His dad asks if he was hurt, but Su Qing reassures him that the thief was beaten up and chased off. Of course, not by this nerd. Then his mom comes back from her mahjong game and starts cooking. She seems cheerful, which makes them think she probably had a lucky streak today. As she prepares the meal, she asks where her son's girlfriend is. And once again, he denies having a girlfriend, claiming his father is spreading nonsense. His dad, however, points out that they live together and share meals. That sounds pretty much like a relationship. His mom, who didn't know about this, is taken aback by the revelation. She insists on seeing a picture of Zhang, even though she was planning to check her out herself. But her husband stops her, saying it's impolite to just show up unannounced these days. He refuses to show her a photo, claiming Zhang is only a friend, nothing more. He knows his mom is persistent and won't let it go. So he reluctantly shows her a picture. She comments on how attractive Zhang is, of course being from an older generation. She begins flipping through the photo album, puzzled about why he has so many pictures of just a friend. He quickly grabs his phone back, thinking of it as his personal record of tracking antiques. He wonders why his mother keeps talking about her as if she's part of the family, almost like a daughter-in-law. The thing with Chuching is, no matter what Jiang is up to, he always takes random photos of her, even though they're not officially together yet. There's definitely some kind of feeling there, and she's practically living with him. Anyway, during dinner, his mom asks which school she attends. He responds that she doesn't go to school. His mother is curious why such a beautiful girl like Zhang doesn't attend school. He can't see the connection between beauty and education. To him, it's perfectly normal for someone from a poor background to skip school. His dad mocks him, asking why a girl who excels in her studies would want to date someone like him, since all he does is sit at a computer all day. The only thing distinguishing him from a Discord moderator is the waiting time. Both of his parents feel sorry for Jiang, but he assures them he's doing fine and not a freeloader. His mother then asks how they even met, and if Jiang is not a local of Jiangcheng. He avoids answering and shifts the topic to his unemployment. Meanwhile, he's reflecting on how Jiang hasn't figured out how to survive in the world yet. And yet, his parents are already pushing for them to be together. After dinner, he gets up to leave and tells his parents to rest. He reminds his mother not to play mahjong all the time since his dad is practically starving like the children in Africa. His dad becomes slightly irritated with his mom, saying she's more stubborn than his son's lack of a job. Suddenly, his mom remembers something. She mentions hearing that Su Qing's neighborhood is haunted and recalls the sound of a woman crying at night. She asks if everything is okay. Su Qing tells his dad that the rent needs to be halved, or else he'll stop renting the apartment because it's haunted. His mother agrees, saying the rent should be lowered now that he has a girlfriend and more expensive. His father reminds her that Jiang isn't really his girlfriend, but the deal sounds so convincing that he ends up agreeing Jiang is his girlfriend. Later that evening, when he returns home, he finds Zhang holding her sword. He wonders if she was practicing, but she quickly runs off to shower. He's confused about why she would take her sword with her. He asks if something happened while he was away, but she denies it. He's left wondering who she feels the need to protect herself from. But then again, as long as it's not him, he figures it's okay. He sits on the sofa, letting his mind wander as he thinks about her. Of course, she might need protection from him, but he dismisses the thought. Then, he notices his computer has been on standby all this time. He decides he'll get to work tomorrow. Meanwhile, she comes out of the shower glowing like Aphrodite. Looking at her, Su Qing wonders if her martial arts practice is making her more attractive. Back in the day, she'd have endured extreme temperatures, but her skin still looks flawless. She reminds him of how she once asked him to try martial arts, but he refused. He shouts back that he can't just learn by standing in one position. An idea comes to him. She could teach a beauty class through martial arts practice. But he figures it'd be a failure since most people today don't even exercise to lose weight, let alone take up martial arts. Zhang sits down and, while trying to use the hairdryer, asks if the Taoist caught the ghost. In reality, there was no ghost. It was just her sneaking out and people mistaking it for something supernatural. She gets upset because she's human, not a ghost. The love-struck guy realizes she's not used to using a hairdryer, so he takes it from her and helps dry her hair. She hands it over and he continues the conversation, agreeing that yes, she is indeed human. But the problem is, no one in this day and age has ever witnessed a true martial artist. Anyone jumping across rooftops at night would easily be mistaken for a ghost. She wonders why people don't practice martial arts anymore. He explains that since living conditions have improved, people no longer struggle for food or shelter, and they seek a more comfortable life. Martial arts just aren't needed anymore. People today have other ways to enjoy themselves. He begins telling her a historical tale, but she interrupts, saying she doesn't know the people he's talking about. He explains the story was written by Mr. Jin Young. He concludes that martial arts is practically dead now, and that people must rely on technology for comfort. He tells her to put the sword down, there's no one left to fight, but she shouts that there is a ghost and she needs to protect herself. He tries to brush it off, but she trembles and finally admits when he was gone, she actually saw a ghost. With a look of sheer terror in her eyes, as if she'd just seen Elon Musk shirtless, she tells him that when he went out, she saw a ghost. A bead of sweat forms as he hears her speak. He tries to reassure himself, thinking it was just an old woman taking out the trash while wearing a mask. But then she begins to describe the ghost in detail. She mentions its hair being longer than hers and describes how it stared at her. It's pale and draped in a strange blue robe with long sleeves. This makes him uneasy. He starts to question what she really witnessed. He can't help but entertain the idea that there might be a ghost, but he quickly dismisses it, telling himself ghosts are nothing but fantasy. There's no scientific evidence to support their existence. He suggests that she might be hallucinating because of stress. Zhang looks unhappy and remarks that in her time, ghosts were something to be terrified of, but the hero reassures her they don't exist. All while drying her hair, she insists that she really saw it and admits she's frightened, even saying that her sword can't protect her. He begins to wonder. If time travel is possible, maybe spirits exist too. He tells her he'll borrow Mr. Zhao's mahogany sword the next day. She thanks him and he tells her to rest while he finishes drying his hair. He decides to take a shower, but his shower is quicker than usual. This makes him realize how different it is to live alone versus with someone else. The unease lingers with him, leaving him feeling uncomfortable. Unable to sleep, he sits down to work. Suddenly, he notices something on his laptop and is taken aback. Meanwhile, Zhang examines the clothes the young hero bought for her. Comparing them to others, she finds the ones he selected more fitting. This brings a sense of warmth to her. She then retrieves the outfit she wore when she arrived in this world. The fabric is coarser, with narrow shoulders and short sleeves. Had she been back in her original world, Yang would have likely altered them. This brings back memories of the chief, who trained her in martial arts to make her stronger. But Yang also advised her to act more feminine, so someone would marry her one day. She reflects on that, tears welling up, and vows to train enough to fight the ghosts she saw. Suddenly, there's a knock at the door. When she opens it, Su Qing stands there with his laptop, asking if the image on the screen is the ghost she saw. She draws her sword. She yells that this is what frightened her. It turns out it's just a horror movie playing and the ghost was part of it. He tells her to go back to sleep, saying they'll discuss it in the morning. Still shaken, she's not fully at ease. He closes his laptop and shows her the baby girl trapped inside it, reassuring her that she can sleep soundly now. The next morning, Zhang wakes up to realize the ghost has not appeared since. She gets up to practice her martial arts, leaving the door open for him to watch. Even though he hasn't woken up, she continues her training. She knows that in this world, martial arts are the only way she can defend herself. Crawling out of his hole, Su Qing wakes up and goes to see Jiang. She is feeding the cat and he thinks everything is going smoothly. If there's a street check, she'll manage to hide her ancient traits as long as she doesn't act too strange. She also has the privileges of a woman. If someone who time traveled had a beard or was too tall or muscular, the neighbors would have probably called the cops immediately. While brushing his teeth, he wonders about the chief's appearance, and she explains that the chief is a bit taller than him. He has a beard, which makes her wonder why Su Qing doesn't have one. He answers that he's a scholar, not a rough man. She gasps, saying that even scholars in her world had beards. His pride is stung, and he explains they now use razor. That's why he doesn't have one. He angrily tells her they need to go out for breakfast. She quietly tells him that the phone he gave her earlier isn't working since this morning. He realizes the phone probably ran out of charge, and soon after, they head out. Outside, he tells her she doesn't need to work today because it's the weekend. She should focus on learning to use the phone. He explains webtoon to her, an app she can use to earn and spend money. He shows her the bank app where her balance is 0 and transfers 100 for her to spend as she likes. She can pay him back later. It makes him realize he's never lent anyone money before, and those who usually borrow money never ask him. This is the first time in his life he's lending money to someone. Meanwhile, Hao arrives home and asks his father if there's anything to eat, as he's starving. Later, as he eats, his father wonders how many criminals he managed to capture the previous night. He replies that we live in peaceful times and there aren't many criminals anymore. Even beggars make more than thieves these days. His dad is frustrated that Ching isn't even in law enforcement, yet he managed to catch a thief. Hao reacts in disbelief, asking when that even happened. His father tells him that Uncle Su mentioned Su Qing's apartment got robbed. He caught the thief, beat him up, then let him go. Hao is furious, wondering why Su Qing didn't hold the thief. What bothers him is that he joined the force to do something good. Su Qing, just by staying home, catches criminals. His dad mocks him, saying the thief is already free, so no need to ask about it. He mentions that Su Qing's lover also has a girlfriend living with him now. Hao isn't surprised since Su Qing is quite attractive. His dad glares at him because his own son doesn't have a girlfriend. Hao tries to explain that he's not in a rush and doesn't have time for relationship. He'd prefer to marry directly, so he wouldn't have to go through a breakup like Qing did with his ex. This gives his dad another chance to tease him, pointing out that his cousin has had 2 girlfriends, but Hao hasn't even had one. Hao defends himself, saying he's too focused on catching thieves right now, but he's failing at both, finding a girlfriend and catching a thief. At least he plans to get a girlfriend once he becomes a detective. His dad knows he's not capable of that just yet. Hao feels insulted, as though his father is belittling him, and promises one day he'll bring the most beautiful girlfriend to his father. Hearing this, his dad picks up a sandal, ready to teach him a lesson. He warns Hao he has to get a girlfriend, no exception, while chewing on his rice cake. Hao responds that he can't think about marriage until he's built a career first. His dad isn't convinced and chases him with the sandal. Hao wonders after getting smacked by his dad, what did he even say wrong? His father must want more for him than wasting his life alone, with only an anime pillow for company. As Hao eats, he gets a call inviting him to hang out later, but he declines, saying he has work. Tired from his night shift, he plans to sleep and asks his dad to wake him up at 4 p.m. Meanwhile, Qing gets a call for a party too, but he knows Hao will be busy later that night. Definitely not with women. Qing and Zhang enter the apartment while he's still talking, confirming dinner plans and asking if he can bring Jiang along. Once the call ends, he tells her they'll be going to a party tonight and warns her not to misbehave, just do what he says. She agrees and then asks if he means that all the ghosts and martial arts stories are just made up. She finds it hard to believe. Calmly, he explains that it's not so strange, since when basic needs are met, people develop spiritual needs. These can range from pets to games or even movies. Does she not have books in her world? She doesn't know what he's talking about. Qing explains that in tea houses, storytellers share fascinating tales. What he's trying to say is, where there's demand, there's always supply. People help each other with their problems in exchange for money, creating a system. He gives another example, showing that when everyone seeks help from others, they also help others solve their issues in return for a fee, and that's how the cycle works. Realization dawns on Jiang, and now she gets how Qing can live like a landlord without leaving his home to work. She understands the idea now, the concept of enjoying movies during leisure time. He nods, pleased with her understanding, and tosses her a can of soda as a reward. But she asks why he took her in. Was it to fulfill his spiritual need? He smiles and says he did it because he wanted to. As he plays with a toy truck, she thinks the so-called hero is just a kind-hearted person. She opens the can and the soda overflows, splashing her. He hands her a tissue to clean up. The world would be dull if everything were done with a specific purpose in mind. Everything would lose its charm if every action had to be driven by a reason. Later that evening, on their way to the gathering, he tells her that she's free to enjoy the food and drinks, but to avoid alcohol. He also mentions that a lot of people may show up later. They arrive at the venue, and he says it's a place where she can try out new experiences. As they enter, he reassures her that she can eat as much as she likes without worry. Jiang finds the music overwhelming and her discomfort is noticeable, almost as if her uncle had touched her. As Qing walks in, everyone seems pleased to see him. His friend says they were all waiting for his arrival and that he should start singing. But Qing pulls Jiang aside to sit down for a bit. Jiang takes in the surroundings, her unease clear. Jiang's body language also shows she's not at ease. Qing encourages her to snack before the crowd gets bigger, offering her some hazelnuts. He shows her how to crack them open, but she struggles to hear him because of the loud music. Realizing he needs to speak up, he moves closer and demonstrates how to break the hazelnuts open. He then asks if she's had them before, but she hasn't. After trying one, she finds them surprisingly tasty. He encourages her to eat more and tells her not to worry about how she cracks the nuts. In a busy place like this, no one would notice anyway. Even if someone did notice, they'd probably just admire her strength. He laughs and passes a drink to his friend Zijia. He joins the party, drinking beer. Seeing him, Zhang is tempted to try it too, but he insists that a girl should be able to look after herself. She protests, claiming she's had alcohol before and won't get drunk. He, however, is holding onto his double standards, not allowing her to have any. After some pleading, he finally agrees to let her have a drink, which brightens her up. As she drinks, he wonders if she likes the taste, but she expresses dislike. Meanwhile, his friend Zijin grows suspicious, sensing something's off and tries to intervene, but Qing tells him to stay out of it. Zijin approaches him and asks if Jiang is his girlfriend, but Qing denies it, saying they're just friends. Qing then introduces Jiang to Zijin, calling him a typical nouveau rich. However, Qing doesn't trust his friend's intentions with her. Zijin asks if he's not good enough for her, to which Qing doesn't argue, but points out that what Zijin brings to the table is his wealth. He walks off and Qing, now hungry, wonders when they'll eat. Zijin tells him to wait as some people still haven't shown up. Qing heads back to join the party, talking about how draining his job is. Qing grows irritated, knowing that Hao is doing great work. Meanwhile, the party continues and Zhang looks more uncomfortable. She asks why there are so many people here. Qing recognizes her need to adjust to modern society and sees this as an opportunity for new experiences. He encourages her to see this as a celebration, as it's his friend's girlfriend's birthday. Afterward, he asks her to crack some hazelnuts for him, which she does, and he thanks her. He wonders if she knows how to sing, but she admits she's never tried it. Though he's a bit controlling, he says he wouldn't let her sing and promises to show off his own singing skills later. Suddenly, he spots a guy in white who catches his eye. The guy walks past Qing coldly, leaving Qing wondering what he's doing here. He gets busy with his phone as he suddenly hears the constant sound of nuts being cracked. He turns to find out that Jiang has finished all the hazelnuts due to her hunger. He asks if she's hungry and she admits she is. He reassures her that soon they'll have a big cake. Just the thought of it makes her mouth water. Then, she realizes she's had no bad experiences with food here. The worst thing she had was a half-eaten bun and a tough hamburger when she first arrived. They were dry and bland, but still better than the pancakes and porridge she had elsewhere. Zijun catches Qing's attention and insists he sing since Hao isn't there. Qing agrees to sing just one song. He takes the mic from Zijun and Jiang, curious, leans in to hear. Suddenly, her own voice blares out and she's startled. Qing tells her to relax, explaining it's just the microphone. At least now she'll be prepared for the speakers when they broadcast. He looks at her and finds her extremely cute. He has the urge to pinch her cheek but decides against it, knowing he'll try it someday. He begins to sing along with his friend. Zijun looks around and sees that everyone has arrived. The party is about to kick off and then the cake arrives. He grabs the mic and announces it's his girlfriend's birthday. But suddenly he realizes his girlfriend isn't there. Someone informs him she left earlier. Qing smirks, joking about how his girlfriend is nowhere to be found. He was ready to slice the cake, mistakenly thinking that the woman singing with him earlier was his girlfriend. Zijin scans the room but can't find her, so they decide to just continue enjoying the party. Qing questions if this is his new girlfriend, but Zijin clarifies they've been together for over a month and she's truly his love. Zhang overhears and asks the hero if girlfriend means wife. He explains that girlfriend is simply a term of affection, while Zijin wonders how she could not understand what a girlfriend is. Xing teases Zijin, giving an example that a girlfriend could one day become someone else's wife. To some degree, his friend concurs. Zhang then asks who Qing's wife is, giving him a sharp look, and he admits he's an otaku. For him, a girlfriend can mean anything, which makes his friend laugh. Zijun, however, questions if they are truly just friends. Qing quickly switches the topic, noting they haven't had a conversation like this in ages and suggesting a few more drinks, mostly to cover up the fact that he had just been explaining the idea of a girlfriend to someone from the past. Suddenly, Zijun checks his watch and realizes how late it is, so he goes off to find his girlfriend. Qing and Zhang sit down when Qing hears a familiar voice asking if Zhang is his girlfriend. He tells the person to mind their own business. The same guy, curious how Qing always seems to have beautiful girlfriends, hoping to pick up tips, but Qing rebuffs him, saying he's too unattractive for that. It seems Qing and his rival are facing each other, while the rival presses him to have a drink. Qing stops Liang from being pushy because he doesn't want to engage. Suddenly, Zijun re-enters and is startled to see them standing face to face. He panics since they were roommates for years and are now adversaries, which is why he had called Liang over. The situation has completely spiraled out of control. Zijun steps between them, urging calm and civility, and asks Liang why he provoked Qing. Liang claims he just wanted to share a drink since it's been a while, and they hadn't caught up. Ching looks at Zijun, questioning if he invited him, and Zijun nervously says he assumed they could talk it out. Smirking, Ching says he never viewed it as a big issue. Liang agrees, adding that he also never saw it as significant because the past is behind them. Liang admits he just sought advice and wanted a toast, to which Ching responds that he dislikes his odd attitude. Liang had been waiting for the right moment and recalls he hadn't been beaten badly enough last time. Rumors begin to circulate that a fight is imminent. Zijun is clueless about what happened and wonders why they're behaving like kids. He tries to calm Liang down so they can enjoy celebrating his girlfriend's birthday. But Liang seems determined to toast with Ching, which Ching refuses again. Liang now insists on a toast with Ching's girlfriend, referring to Jiang. Angrily, Ching says she doesn't drink and warns Zhang not to engage with Liang since he's trouble. Finally, Zijun takes Liang away to prevent conflict and returns to sit with Ching. He asks when they even fought. Ching admits that had he known Liang would be present, he wouldn't have come. Zijun clarifies that if he'd known about their bad blood, he wouldn't have invited him. Jiang asks why Liang referred to her as Qing's girlfriend. He explains that Liang is unattractive and assumed they were dating. Both Jiang and Qing are attractive, so clueless people automatically think they're a couple. Zijun yells at being called clueless because they initially made the same assumption. She questions why anyone would assume a handsome man and a beautiful woman are dating. Her reasoning is sound. These fools often end up with partners only their mothers would find appealing. Qing advises her to avoid speaking to anyone, including Zijun, who shouts that he already has a girlfriend. Finally, Zijun's girlfriend returns and he happily goes to the waiter. It's time to cut the cake. When revealed, Jiang is awestruck by its size and wonders if it's all edible. Qing confirms it is, though he finds the situation slightly odd. Qing takes Jiang and hides her under the table beside the sofa, guiding her to stay hidden until he returns. He promises her a massive slice of cake. She waits for him to leave, her mind wandering about how it will taste. She wonders if eating cake in hiding is some kind of custom. Excited, she waits. Meanwhile, at the party, everyone is gleefully smashing cake on one another, making her a bit anxious. Anyone would be scared in her place. It feels like a chaotic celebration. Suddenly, he comes back with the cake. Sitting next to her, he explains that he knew Zijun got the giant cake just for smashing. So he took a slice early, specifically for her to taste. A man showing such care was surprising in this age. Yet her eyes still seem sad. She takes a bite of the cake, and he asks if it tastes good. Her mind drifts to how much Ernie Young would adore it, but she struggles to eat sweets for long. Saddened, she wonders why such a delicious cake has to be thrown around. Qing hears her and promises a better cake that they can enjoy together, without wasting a crumb. She reflects deeply. Is this the era people dream of, where getting messy and wasting food is considered fun? When the chaos ends, Qing reassures her that the playtime is over, so she can finally step out. After he uses the bathroom, he tells her they'll be leaving soon. She waits patiently for her hero's return. Liang approaches her, smeared with cake, demanding friendship with a cruel expression. She snaps back, refusing to speak to him. Still, he persists. Seeing her clean clothes, he realizes she hasn't joined the fun. He tries to smear cake cream on her, making her exclaim and step back, just as she prepares to strike him. Qing returns and hits Liang in the stomach for daring to get near Jiang. Enraged, Liang strikes Qing, sending him onto the table. Hearing the noise, Zijun rushes in, panicking at the sight of Qing and Liang fighting. They trade blows as if it's a contest. The crowd tries to intervene but fail. Suddenly, a powerful hand yanks Qing away from the fight. It's Jiang. Everyone watching is stunned by her strength. Zijun regrets putting them together, while Qing laughs at how Liang ruined the party. He jokes that Liang deserves a little punishment. Zion yells that he wants to strike him too. Zijun calls off the party, sending everyone home. Once everyone leaves, Qing starts provoking Liang again. Zijun looks worried as Qing's face is swollen. Qing brushes off the concern, claiming he's fine, and turns back to challenge his rival, angry that someone dared touch his girlfriend's face. He implies that any remaining issues will be settled with Liang, ready to confront him. Suddenly, there's a knock on the door. Zijun tries to dismiss them, saying they're busy. It turns out the police have arrived, responding to a report of a fight. Alongside another officer is Hao. Hao is uneasy, knowing them too well. Inside, they find Liang on the floor. Qing clearly shows signs of being beat. Zijun tries to explain it was a misunderstanding, insisting Liang and Qing only fell while singing. Zijun also compliments Hao in uniform. The officer then questions Qing about what happened. Qing lies, claiming they just fell while drunk. The officer asks for his ID, but Qing has none. The officer confirms again if there was no fight. Qing reassures him, saying it was harmless roughhousing. Liang withdraws his claim that he hit Qing. The fight did happen and Hao asks for confirmation. Qing admits they fought. Zijun nervously tries to downplay it, blaming their drunkenness. The officer interrupts, saying they all must go to the station to sort it out. Qing asks Zijun to escort his sister home. He only means Jiang, leaving Zijun confused about her relation to Qing. The officer insists everyone involved must go as witnesses. This is clearly troubling for Qing and Jiang. Qing insists she doesn't need to go since she has schoolwork. The officer silences him, questioning why a high schooler would even be at such a scene. Zijun thinks Ching is normally clever, but now seems to be talking nonsense. When he offers to go in her place, the officer angrily insists all of them must come along. Everyone turns to Hao and he quietly steps back, saying he can't help much since he's still a rookie. He explains that his cousin just left her village and has never been anywhere like this before. She's likely to be frightened, but Hao believes they'll only be asked a few questions. That's all there is to it. Meanwhile, he wonders if the officer suspects this girl might be Ching's girlfriend as his father suggested. On the way to the station, Hao asks Ching how he suddenly has a cousin, which would make Hao her brother. Hao wants to know her name, but Ching explains she's still in high school, doesn't have an ID, and is just staying with him temporarily. Hao looks at her and introduces himself as her brother. At the same time, Zijun complains that Hao missed the party he invited him to. Now he shows up after everything is already finished. Once they arrive at the station, Ching feels a bit anxious, wondering if this is what people mean by a guilty conscience. Meanwhile, Zhang braces herself for the questions ahead, boosting her confidence. Seeing her resolve, Ching relaxes slightly, realizing these issues are inevitable. So for now, they're just getting accustomed to the situation. Ching and Liang sit with the police in a room. Ching begins recounting how the fight started. Liu knows it won't benefit him, but ensures Ching doesn't get off easily. He starts acting like the victim, claiming he only made a harmless joke before being suddenly struck. The officer asks what the joke was and insists on knowing every detail. He urges Ching to speak first, but Liang interrupts and launches into his own account. Meanwhile, Ching worries about Jiang being questioned in the other room, and she's still too inexperienced to handle modern procedure. After Liang finishes, Ching points out a crucial detail he left out. Liang had started insulting Ching first. She clarifies that his rival provoked him initially. Liang defends it as a joke, but the officer sees through it and gets straight to the fact. He asks how they plan to resolve the situation. Liang wants Ching detained, but the officer rules it mutual. Neither can escape responsibility. Leon wasn't badly hurt. There's only a red mark. They can proceed with a medical exam, then consider detention or compensation. Ching smiles, realizing the options are to reconcile. Both get detained or go through a medical exam. Liang had hoped to get Ching arrested after the fight. The officer states Ching will be fined 500 and detained 8 days. Liang fined 200 and detained 5 days. Alternatively, they can reconcile or opt for a medical examination. Liang's plan falls apart. The officer notes the injuries need time to heal and offers to give them a ride home, but Ching hesitates. He's unsure if the officer should leave duty, pointing out nothing usually happens this late. Still, the officer warns Ching to be careful with his words, hinting at unseen forces moving quietly at night. Forces not to be underestimated, yet the officer insists on giving them a ride. Ching prefers a cab and asks about his cousin, to which the officer replies she's waiting outside. He adds he asked her to wait inside, but she refused. While leaving, the officer comments Jiang seems a bit slow, but Ching quickly defends her, saying she's actually smart. As the night quiets, Ching heads home and tells the officer they can meet again. It's nearly 1 a.m. and Liang has left. But Ching isn't finished yet, and Zijun and Jiang wait outside in the cold. After a while, Ching exits the station, wondering why they didn't stay inside. Jian says staying in made him too sleepy, and the night has been tiring. Jian sighs, calling the day a mess. Despite everything, Ching jokes that if given another chance, he'd beat Liang again. Out of nowhere, Ching recalls and inquires about Zijun's girlfriend, the one he's been seeing for a month. Zijun explains that she couldn't stay up and went back to the car to rest. He offers to drive them home, but Ching politely refuses, saying they'll just grab a cab since it's so late. As they're about to part ways, Ching quietly reflects that with everyone always around, it's hard to have real conversations with Zhang. The night air grows colder. Zijun comments on how chilly it gets this time of year and jokes that Ching should be giving his jacket to Jiang now. But Ching stays quiet and Zhang, standing serenely, remarks that she isn't cold in the slightest. Her tone suggests she's no stranger to harsher conditions. While Ching appears like a delicate modern man, Zhang gives off the impression of someone far tougher, almost like a person from another era. As they continue walking, a silence falls when Zijun tries to piece together the relationship between Ching and Jiang. But the answer isn't clear. It only leads to more confusion, as she doesn't quite seem like either a cousin or a girlfriend. The lack of clarity makes their connection even harder to define. They eventually reach home, and exhaustion from the night sets in. Ching watches as Zhang walks ahead, her steps so light they're almost inaudible, despite the chaotic evening. Ching begins to realize he might have been the only one who truly enjoyed the mess. Now walking home a bit tipsy and in the dark, the initial excitement gives way to an odd sense of isolation. As they walk, Ching asks Jiang to come up beside him instead of trailing behind. He jokes that it feels like a sidekick is tagging along, and Jiang agrees, telling him she never thought of herself that way. Once they get home, Ching collapses onto the couch, worn out from the long day. But he's curious about her interrogation. He reflects back on it and remembers that Zhang only gave brief answers, mentioning a cousin and a birthday, and kept quiet on everything else. After hearing this, Ching appreciates how Jiang handled the situation, realizing her innocent demeanor was actually clever strategy. In the end, Zhang feels that the police weren't as intimidating as they seem. Afterwards, Ching thinks back on the day and feels that despite everything, they managed things well. Besides, Ching didn't lose anything in the altercation and even got Zhang to enjoy herself a bit. In fact, Jiang even got a glimpse of a police station. Other than the late hour, Ching considers the day a success, especially since Zhang kept her composure under pressure. Later, Ching teases Zhang a little about being too compliant, but she calmly responds that she only follows him because she believes he's a good person. Furthermore, Jiang admits that she has been depending on Ching since she doesn't fully understand the world yet. Additionally, Zhang trusts Ching because he's been kind, offering her food, shelter, and support. She believes that if she couldn't trust him after all that, she might as well be wandering aimlessly. To Jiang, Ching is the only person who's truly helped her since she arrived. After their serious talk, they also joke about the earlier confrontation. They agree that if Liang had actually touched Jiang's face, the situation would have ended much worse. Ching then wonders if their argument might seem childish from an outsider's point of view, to which Jiang, unbothered, dismisses it as not even a real fight. Zhang asked Ching why he had hit the man. Su Sheng replied that the man deserved it and punches were meant for people like him. He told Jiang that if someone ever bothered her to the point where she couldn't hold back, she shouldn't use all her strength, just enough to make the person feel some pain without causing any real harm. Otherwise, she might end up in trouble. He continued, explaining that there are all kinds of people in the world. Some people wanted fancy things but couldn't afford them. The hero advised Jiang that such individuals might give her a dirty look if they saw her wearing those things. But they would only act like that toward people they felt familiar with, especially those they thought were out of their league. Su Qing mentioned that these people found it natural for others to be more prosperous or talented, but they couldn't stand seeing someone they personally knew surpassing them. Zhang He asked if that was truly the case. Our guy replied that he looked down on such people and despised sycophants in general. Zhang He inquired about what a sycophant was. Our boy explained that it was a common type of person, and half-jokingly, someone who deserved to be punished, assuring her she would understand later. Zhang He was confused by his words as seen from her puzzled look. Su Qing suggested she take a shower, pointing out it was already late. Zhang He agreed and went off. Our hero let out a sigh, leaning back on the sofa, realizing how surprisingly nice it felt to have someone to talk to at home. He briefly and awkwardly wondered if they could cuddle up to sleep after she finished, but quickly realized how odd that thought was. When Jiang Hu returned from the shower holding a hairdryer, Su Qing stood up and told her she could dry her hair on her own today. As he was heading to shower himself, he sighed as he entered the bathroom, realizing he had stood too close to her earlier. After his shower, Su Qing came back and saw Zhang He holding the hairdryer. She mentioned that a lot of girls had short hair and wondered if cutting hair was a common thing here. Our hero explained that haircuts were a personal decision. Even shaving it all off was fine if that was her choice. He asked if she was planning to cut her hair. Zhang He said she just wanted to trim it a bit. Our boy advised against it, saying long hair was beautiful. He took the hairdryer from her and declared that he would be the one to dry her hair from now on, asking her not to cut it short just for convenience. Zhang He nodded and then asked if it was typical for guys to help girls dry their hair. Su Qing grinned and assured her that it was perfectly normal. After a while, he placed the dryer on the table and said they were done. He started heading out. He reminded Zhang He to get some rest and turned off the lights, wishing her a good night. Zhang He responded and typed a good night message into her phone, listening to a song and following along with the lyrics. The next morning, Su Qing walked over to Zhang He and greeted her with a cheerful "Good morning." She responded in kind. Our guy admitted he had gotten up a little late and asked if she wanted to go out for breakfast. She declined, saying she had work to do. Our boy smiled and said he'd grab breakfast for them both. As he got ready to leave, tying his shoelaces, Su Qing realized that living with Jiang He for a while had subtly altered his routine, bringing more structure to his life. Meanwhile, Jiang He had been researching girlfriends online and was reading the Wikipedia article about them. Jiang He continued reading the Wikipedia article on girlfriends. Her curiosity then led her to search whether ghosts existed in this world. Su Qing returned home and urged Jiang He to eat her breakfast. She replied that she was busy with work. Su Qing insisted, telling her she could take short breaks even while working. Zhang He said she'd eat later, but our boy showed her the food he brought, light and easy-to-digest buns with soybean milk. Zhang He picked up a bun and mentioned that she had been playing the game for some time. She asked if she could help other players level up. According to our boy, a mining expedition had earned her 18 yuan, which was enough for 6 buns. Zhang He realized that a whole day of mining expeditions could provide enough food for 3 days. Our boy checked his phone and promised to find her a request later. He reassured her that she could try it out if she could. He knew that gaming was mostly a way to keep Zhang He occupied, preventing her from wandering outside late at night and scaring people. Zhang He excitedly exclaimed that she really wanted to help others level up. Su Qing smiled, thinking that once she became more familiar with modern life, he could find something more practical for her to do. Zhang He commented that the food was really delicious, and Su Qing reminded her that it wasn't her first time eating it. Zhang He insisted it tasted great, adding that the cake from yesterday had been amazing too. The hero chuckled and asked when her birthday was, offering to get her a huge cake for herself. Zhang He admitted she didn't know. Our hero smiled and suggested they celebrate the day she moved in with him as her birthday. Zhang He, excited, asked if she could have cake on that day next year. Su Qing chuckled and said they could celebrate it every year from now on. Su Qing, seeing her cheerful expression, suggested she could indulge in some cake today as a belated treat and promised to get one for her later. Zhang expressed her thanks with a smile, though she paused, worried the cake might cost too much. Xu Qing laughed. He reassured her that the cost wasn't an issue, telling her to relax and enjoy it later. Afterwards, our boy inquired whether Jiang He had any copper coins from her era. He explained that since copper was more common than silver in her time, any coins she had could potentially be sold for cash. Jiang He mentioned she didn't possess any copper coins, as they were usually managed by the second miss. However, she did have some broken silver pieces stitched into her shirt hems for emergency. Zhang He realized there was no one left to secretly slip money into her clothing now. Our boy sighed, thinking that hiding a few copper coins wouldn't make much difference, and if there were more, she would have used a proper money pouch. Gazing out the window, he reflected that no one could have anticipated that a simple outing would lead to this. Meanwhile, Alex rode his motorbike, greeting an elderly lady along the road. He arrived home, parked outside, and felt a strong sense of satisfaction from safeguarding ordinary people. Inside, he spotted a puppy and asked his father whose it was. Chin explained it was Wang's dog's pup and instructed Hyozi to train it as a police dog. Hyozi groaned, protesting that he had no idea how to train a dog. They argued for a while until Hyozi finally asked what the puppy's name would be. Chin hadn't picked a name yet but wanted one that conveyed strength and power. Hyozi, annoyed, then asked if Su Qing had a female cousin. Hyozi's father doubted his interest in Su Qing's cousin. Hyozi thought about how close his and Qing's families were. Even before they were born, their marriage was arranged. When it turned out both were male, the marriage was cancelled. He told his dad that the cousin he met yesterday was attractive but slightly unusual. Hearing him describe the girl as pretty, Hyozi's father advised him to talk with Qing's father about her and his own son. Although Hyozi wasn't interested yet, he found her behavior odd. It seemed she couldn't grasp things easily. Considering how our boy behaved at the KTV, it wasn't just odd, it seemed intentional. Outside his apartment, he greeted Uncle Zhao teasingly, asking if he'd seen any ghosts recently. Uncle Zhao didn't pick up on the sarcasm and praised the exorcist who came earlier. According to him and the neighbors, the spirit had been driven away. Hearing this, our hero chuckled nervously, thinking that once this old man retires, he'll have countless stories for his grandchildren, which would go viral if turned into a book. As he and Jiang walked down the street, he teased Zhang He, recalling how frightened the old man had been. Zhang frowned, warning him not to do that again, upset that people assumed she was his girlfriend. Seeing her upset, he reassured her that he had clarified to everyone that they weren't a couple. Still, it was their choice to assume whatever they liked, and he wanted to lift her mood. He decided to take her out for some kumquat lemon drinks. Though he shifted the topic, Jiang's mind kept racing. She couldn't understand why people assumed they were dating. They slept in separate rooms and maintained boundaries. Even though they shared meals and he helped her occasionally, it didn't give anyone the right to assume anything. She reminded herself that as long as her conscience was clear, all was well. While Qing bought milkshakes, Jiang, curious, asked our boy what girlfriends do so she could avoid such things. After a long pause, he explained all the typical signs of girlfriend behavior, which closely matched their usual interactions, startling her. Seeing her unease, he reassured her that with her, things were different and she was an exception. It didn't fully comfort her, but she tried to dismiss it. While sipping their milkshakes, Jing picked up the cake he had ordered from a nearby shop. Upon seeing the cake, she realized her debt was growing and offered to help him in any way he wanted. This made our hero smile, and he decided to tease her, claiming his main problem was not having a girlfriend. If she helps him with this, it will be really helpful. Zhang He starts to think about it after hearing this, causing Qing to smile. He wonders if she'll say yes to being his girlfriend, but he's certain of one thing: he'll never make a move. Suddenly, Zhang He panics. She immediately declares she would never help him abduct a woman. In that instant, he's struck by how innocent she is and how far her thinking is from his. Su Qing admires Jiang's open-mindedness and willingness to listen to everything he shares. However, when they spot a couple kissing in public, Jang questions whether it's appropriate to do something like that so publicly. Our protagonist, being quite lonely, finds it rather indecent too. Then he brings up Li Shemin, wondering, didn't the people of her era have a more relaxed view on such things? Jang responds, saying she's heard a little about him. As he talks to Jiang, our boy starts thinking of his father, who devoted his whole life to historical research. He worries that if Jiang's version doesn't align with history, it would mean all his father's work was pointless. He's eager to ask her if she's seen something similar before, but she doesn't seem concerned about the emperor's past action. Su Xing agrees, thinking that historical records often show powerful figures like emperors and officials engaging in immoral behavior. She might not have been aware of those things. Our boy then imagines stories of world conquest with swords, feasts of meat and wine, a creation of his own vivid imagination. He excitedly exclaims he wants to hear about Jiang's life. It sounds so intriguing. Jiang hesitates for a moment, recalling a gruesome scene, and responds that our boy probably wouldn't want to hear it all. Chu King insists, saying he would enjoy it as a good story. Later, he opens a box of cake and shows Zhang the birthday candle. He explains he didn't know her exact age, so he asked the store clerk for candles for someone turning 18. Zhang is taken aback, but is told she can arrange the candles however she likes. Su Qing also mentions that he's going to turn off the lights, which Zhang questions. Our boy explains that it's part of the birthday ritual. After switching off the lights, he enthusiastically praises Jiang, calling her the birthday star of the night warrior. He tells her to close her eyes and make a wish from her heart, then blow out the candles in one go. He adds that since it's her first birthday in this era, whatever she wishes for is sure to come true. Jiang closes her eyes and takes a long time, which makes Su Qing grow impatient. He asks if she's finished so she can blow out the candle. Zhang finds the whole thing strange. The hero explains it's a Western tradition and eventually she'll get used to it. Zhang then wants to take a picture of the cake with her phone to remember the moment. Su Qing helps her take the photos and tells her once she's done, she can cut the cake. Since Zhang's new to all of this, he kindly assists her in cutting it. Jiang insists that Su Qing have the first piece, but he tells her to go ahead and take the whole cake if she wants. Jiang is thrilled, and when the hero asks if she doesn't like the cake, she takes a bite and joyfully says it's delicious. Our boy shares that he had the same reaction when he first tasted cream as a child, but he doesn't care for it as much now, probably because he's had tastier food since then. Later, Su Qing offers a toast with Jiang using cola. He thinks to himself that while this may be just another day for him, she's fortunate to be here. He wants to celebrate their meeting. He acknowledges that life is fleeting, and moments like this are worth cherishing. Zhang He and Su Qing sit in the living room as Zhang starts sharing her past. She remembers that in the 4th year of Kaiyuan, a swarm of locusts had ravaged the area. Lord Tao managed to eliminate them, preventing an even worse disaster. After the crisis ended, the second miss fled into the wilderness. Eventually, she reached Gusu. The second miss thought she was living in a golden age and viewed Lord Tao as a saint. She even set up an altar at her home and prayed for his long life. She also developed the habit of eating only half as much as others, no matter whether the city was prosperous or in trouble. Although the city's leader thought her actions were silly, she would simply laugh and say that the remaining half of her meal was an offering for her savior's long life in this golden age. Su Qing was puzzled and asked how her family, being martial artists, could keep an altar wishing for the longevity of a government official, since tales often showed martial artists and officials as adversaries. Zhang explained that without Lord Tao, the second miss would never have escaped Lu Dai unharmed, and many other lives might have been lost. In the second miss's eyes, every extra day of life was a gift from Lord Tao. Su Qing then wondered if Jiang truly came from the Kaiyuan era, and what she would call the Dark Ages if her time was seen as a golden one. Zhang shared how her time had been marked by relentless droughts, floods, wars, and countless other calamities. Without these human-driven misfortunes, people would have considered it a period of prosperity. That's why the second miss believed their era was truly exceptional. Intrigued, Su Qing searched for Kai Yuan online and came to the conclusion that the period could be seen as both flourishing and troubled. He felt fortunate to have been born in such an abundant time, realizing how fortunate he was compared to Jiang's world. He advised her not to dwell on the past and simply savor the cake. Zhang thanked him and inquired if it was all right to eat the leftover cake from yesterday. Holding a birthday card, she marveled quietly at the modern world. Food could be discarded for fun, people could dress in bold styles, and couples could even display affection in public. Reflecting on the second miss's words, she realized that compared to her own time, this era was truly a golden age. A few days later, while Su Qing was working at his computer, he noticed Jiang peeking shyly from behind the door. He quickly realized that she had run out of sanitary pads but was too shy to ask. Without hesitation, he ordered a box for her online. He assured her he would transfer the money later and offered to teach her how to order anything she needed in the future, so she wouldn't feel awkward asking again. Zhang blushed at Su Qing's frankness and asked if discussing such personal matters was common in this era. Su Qing reassured her that nowadays people were open about such things, as there was nothing to hide. Zhang handed Su Qing 100 yuan, but he noticed the reluctant sadness in her expression as she gave the money. Realizing she needed something to occupy her time, Su Qing asked if she knew how to cook. Zhang admitted she could only prepare porridge and reheat leftovers. Su Qing promised to teach her, believing that cooking was a useful skill that would benefit her for the rest of her life. In his view, practical knowledge mattered far more than her martial arts skills, which had little value in modern society, and he smiled to himself, reassured that he wasn't taking advantage of her. He was merely helping Zhang discover skills that would be genuinely beneficial. Compared to making money through video games, cooking was a real life skill valuable in any time period. Zhang's eyes sparkled with excitement as she asked if she could really learn. Su Qing agreed and took her into the kitchen to show her how to make stir-fried potato. Since he seldom used the kitchen, the first task was cleaning it up. Su Qing then went out to buy the ingredients while Jiang stayed behind to tidy up. She cleaned with enthusiasm, eager to learn how to prepare delicious meal. When Su Qing returned from his shopping trip, tired from carrying the groceries, Zhang pointed to the round ingredients and asked what they were. Su Qing explained that they were potatoes, a crop with a high yield. He told her they could be eaten as a vegetable or as a primary source of carbohydrates, and were very cheap. Laughing, he joked that if the Tang dynasty had potatoes, famines could have been avoided and life would have been much easier. Together, they carried the groceries into the kitchen. Su Qing instructed Zhang to wash the potatoes and peel them with a potato peeler. He added that once she mastered cooking, she would also take care of the dishes, and he would even pay her 5 yuan for each meal she prepared. Zhang quickly refused, saying it felt wrong to accept money when she was already staying with Su Qing and would be eating the meals herself. Su Qing insisted it was like a small tip and reminded her that homemade food was healthier than takeout. He was confident that with her discipline as a warrior, Jiang would soon become a good cook. Still adjusting to modern life, Jiang found the idea of eating at home regularly somewhat strange. Su Qing then showed her a picture demonstrating how to slice the peeled potatoes into thin strips. At that moment, he received a call from his friend Hayo. Before answering, he asked Jiang to finish cutting the potatoes and soak them in water until he returned. When he picked up the phone, Hayo said he was finally free and wanted to go out for skewers to celebrate. Su Qing politely declined, explaining that he already had food at home and suggested they meet another time. Hayo was surprised to hear Su Qing had cooked. Confused by the reaction, Su Qing asked why it was so surprising. He also mentioned that he didn't have enough ingredients to share, even if Hayo came over. After the call ended, Su Qing made sure his friend wouldn't visit, since he preferred that Hayo and Jiang didn't meet unless it was absolutely necessary. Meanwhile, Zhang sat with her phone, searching online to see if it was normal for a man and a woman living together as housemates, preparing meals together at home. Su Qing was guiding Jiang He through the various spices in the kitchen. He asked her to pay close attention to the amounts he was using and to commit it to memory. However, Jiang wasn't fully focused. Instead, she kept glancing at him, her mind drifting to something she had read online about how cooking together could bring people closer, and possibly even lead to starting a family. Noticing her distraction, he asked if she had remembered the measurements, cautioning her not to use too much. He joked that too much MSG might turn her into a fool. Slightly annoyed, Jiang assured him she had it all memorized. He then asked why she was acting so strangely. Jiang first claimed her conscience was clear, but quickly changed her mind, commenting that the food smelled fantastic. When the dish was ready, Jiang was struck by the rich smell. Su Qing handed her a bowl of rice. In the 2 months they had shared the same space, this was the first time they had cooked together in the kitchen. When Jiang tasted the stir-fried potatoes, she was impressed by the flavor. Intrigued, she asked if potatoes grew in the ground. Su Qing responded playfully, saying they obviously came from the earth and didn't just appear out of nowhere. He then presented a steamed potato, saying it was one of his favorites. In his excitement, he grabbed a hot one without realizing, then handed another to Jiang. He explained that it was understandable if she had never seen one before, as they originally came from the west. Teasing her, he said that if she ever went back to her time, sailed southeast and claimed land, she might become famous enough to be written about in history. But Jiang spoke more seriously, saying she was considering finding land in this era, settling down, planting vegetables, and cooking her own food. Su Qing thought this idea was unrealistic, explaining that farming alone wasn't a reliable way to survive in the modern world. To him, people from her time seemed overly attached to land as a source of stability, but things had changed. Jiang, however, was determined. She believed she could work hard, save money, and one day start her own farm. She planned to grow crops, wait a few years for the harvest, and repay him for everything he had done for her. Su Qing interrupted, saying that what she needed to focus on first was learning how to navigate modern life and not worry about farming for now. Jiang's expression dropped immediately, so Su Qing reassured her that she could treat his place like her own. He promised to take care of her. This made Jiang blush. The hero quickly clarified that he meant he would look after her openly, just like he did with the cat, and that everything else was something for the future. Jiang firmly replied that he didn't need to joke about such things. She expressed her gratitude for him letting her stay, and said she would find another way to repay him. But she certainly wouldn't offer herself in return. Su Qing was taken aback, wondering how such outrageous thoughts had crossed her mind. Jiang added that she couldn't see Su Qing's home as her permanent home. She would only stay there temporarily. Since neither of them had anything to hide, Su Qing agreed, feeling that it cleared the air between them. He reminded her that he had never made any personal promises, and asked if she thought he was a bad person. Jiang said he was a good man. Smiling, Su Qing told her to call him young master, joking that he wasn't really as good as she thought. Later that evening, Jiang explored Su Qing's social media account and found some old photos of him. She asked if the person in the photos was really him. He initially denied it, but Jiang kept pressing until he confessed that they were from his flashy younger days. Su Qing turned red with embarrassment. He had hidden those photos in a private folder to avoid being reminded of that period, but somehow Jiang had managed to uncover them. Jiang asked if Su Qing had ever had long hair. Su Qing explained that his long hair was a part of his funeral love phase, something Jiang likely wouldn't understand. He explained that he and his friends had been trendsetters back then. He thought that if he hadn't looked like a bum in his younger years, his father wouldn't nag him so much now. Paying rent for a family-owned house still didn't make sense to him. Su Qing then helped Jiang set up her own social media account. She could post and save pictures there as long as everything went smoothly. He helped her choose a password using her English name and set up a username. Fly dancer, inspired by her martial arts background. Su Qing also joined her in online gaming groups and showed her how to use them. Exhausted, he collapsed on the couch and saw a friend request notification for Jiang. He wondered if she would become addicted to the internet at this rate, but he decided it was better than her becoming a vigilante or getting involved with minors. After just 2 months, Su Qing realized he had grown used to Jiang's presence. He also noticed that she was adjusting to life in the modern world, slowly evolving into a city girl. In her past life, she had been just a small part of a much larger picture. But in this period, she was turning into someone steady, tough, and competent, and that made him glad to lend her a hand. Afterward, Jiang got up to shower. He mentioned he'd bought an extra absorbent towel so she could dry her hair without effort. In the bathroom, Jiang thought about how Su Qing had been right. In this time, plenty of things were made for pleasure, not just for scraping by. Unlike her own era, 2 months in, she could sense how much she'd changed since she arrived. When Jiang finished her shower, Su Qing offered to blow-dry her hair before he took his. He figured helping her now might stop her from getting frustrated and chopping it off on a whim. Jiang said Xu Qing could think about growing his hair out too, as long as he didn't dye it red, so she could repay him by drying his hair. He liked his hairstyle the way it was, and told her it was no bother to help her at all. Blow-drying was routine work in salons anyway. He even said he'd take her for a haircut so she could look her best, which made Jiang smile gratefully. Jiang wondered what it would be like if things were the other way around. If Su Qing had ended up in her era, would he have made it without modern know-how? With her shielding him instead, she figured it would have been easy for her. She also hoped Su Qing would never have to live through her time, since their life now was already going well. The next day, Su Qing took photos of Jiang in winter clothes and realized she was turning into his little dress-up darling. He wondered if her martial arts training helped her handle the cold. Jiang answered with confidence that she'd cope better than the hero. The hero teased that her toes would freeze in those straw shoes, making Jiang glare angrily. Later, Su Qing headed out. He told Jiang to cook for herself because he'd be eating out. As he left, he remembered it was already late November, and he still hadn't paid his rent. He thought about wiring the money to his father, then decided it would be better to go in person. Since his father had reduced the rent, Su Qing wanted to avoid any misunderstanding. He didn't want his parents showing up without warning and assuming he and Jiang were involved romantically. Before visiting, Su Qing texted his mother. When he arrived, she immediately asked if he'd come by himself. He casually asked who else he could possibly bring. His mother glanced around and asked where his girlfriend was. He said he'd left Jiang at home. His mother wanted to know why he hadn't brought her along. He told her not to stare at him like that. Jiang was just his girlfriend, so there was no need to bring her every single time. Besides, he joked, his dad would probably start complaining again that he was mooching off them. His mother then wondered how he and Jiang ended up living together and, suspiciously, asked if he'd picked her up off the street. Su Qing said Jiang had come to the city alone to look for work and didn't know anyone in this unfamiliar place. At first, he treated her like a little sister, but over time things shifted between them. When his mother asked where Jiang was from, he said she came from the mountains. He told her that when he first met Jiang, her shoes were ripped, and she wouldn't even accept a new pair. Her clothes were covered in patches, and she was often starving. His mother found it hard to believe and assumed he was exaggerating, since Jiang didn't look as miserable as he claimed. Xu Xing stressed that Jiang wasn't like those carefree girls who have everything handed to them. She'd been supporting her family since she was young. In truth, he'd made up these stories ahead of time to throw his mother off. Then the talk shifted to their future, since they were living under the same roof. He got nervous and quickly said nothing improper was going on. Zhang slept in the storage room, not in his bed. His mother still warned them to be careful. Su King said Zhang was only staying there for now. His mother told him to bring Jiang next time and advised that if they weren't a good match, they should split up early. He joked that if they did get along, maybe his father would stop charging rent. Then she asked whether he'd found a job yet, and Su Qing admitted he was still searching. When his father came home at 7, the first thing he asked was whether his son had brought the rent. He gave a smug grin and said he'd only come to eat. His mother told everyone to wash up during dinner. Su Qing kept thinking about what Jiang might be doing back home, and his father noticed he seemed distracted. Later, while helping his mother clean up the dishes, the boy notices she is growing ginger sprouts. When he reaches to take one, she gently swats his hand away after he says he wants to grow one himself. Eventually, she allows him to take a single sprout. He intends to give it to Jiang, knowing she will enjoy caring for it. As he gets ready to leave, his mother tells him to head home since it's getting late. He pauses briefly, then admits with a blush that he thinks he's fallen in love. On his way back, he keeps replaying the thought in his mind. He truly has feelings for Jiang, a girl who comes from a time 1,000 years ago. Su Qing enters and asks Jiang what she is up to. She panics slightly, then explains she's about to play some game. Instead, he gives her a small plant. Jiang inspects it with curiosity and some confusion. He explains it's a ginger sprout. He suggests she can keep it in her room or place it in the kitchen. After a moment's thought, Jiang chooses to put it in the kitchen. Su Qing asks if she still wants to play games, but Jiang feels tired and decides to go to bed instead. He reminds her to keep warm in the cold weather, assuring her it will improve in a few weeks. Before leaving, he calls her over and asks her to sit beside him. After a brief hesitation, he asks if he can hold her hand. Jiang immediately refuses. He says he just wants to check if her hands are cold. She still declines, but he softly takes her hand for a short moment anyway. As he holds it, he studies her hand closely, making Jiang a little uneasy. When she asks what he's doing, he casually says he's curious whether martial arts practice makes hands rough or unattractive, adding that he's thinking about learning martial arts himself. In truth, he's already considering buying her hand warmers for the cold season. Feeling flustered under his gaze, Jiang quickly goes to take a shower. Once she leaves, Su Qing rushes to the computer to see what she had been doing earlier. Suspicious about her odd behavior, he checks the browser history. He finds a series of unusual searches that leave him puzzled about her thought. When Jiang returns from the shower, he offers to help blow dry her hair again. She notices the strange look in his eyes and asks why he's been acting so odd all evening. While plugging in the hair dryer, he suddenly starts giving her a lecture. He explains that search engines aren't always reliable because they are made and run by people. People make mistakes and some online individuals are scammers, so she shouldn't believe everything she reads on the internet. Jiang watches him suspiciously and asks why he feels the need to say this now. Su Qing awkwardly replies that it just came to mind and insists it has nothing to do with anything she searched. Later that night, lying in bed, he thinks about how quickly Jiang is adjusting. He realizes she will soon fit perfectly into modern society, which makes him analyze everything about her. Until finally, he decides he needs to figure out how to officially make Jiang his girlfriend. The next morning, Jiang brushes her teeth while Su Qing watches her intently, which begins to annoy her. Yet the longer he gazes at her, the more flawless she seems to him, unable to hold back. He casually asks if she'd like to visit his parents' house sometime when she's free. He recalls his father visiting last month, questioning why he and Jiang were living together. Remembering that suspicion, he asks her to pretend to be his girlfriend and join him for a meal with his parents, hoping it will stop them from interfering in his life. Hearing the word girlfriend, Jiang looks puzzled and asks if that means they'd have to sleep together. He quickly reassures her that she doesn't need to do anything like that. She just has to come for the meal. Then jokingly, he adds he wouldn't mind if she wanted to share a bed. Jiang immediately rejects the idea. After thinking it over, she agrees to act as his girlfriend. Thrilled, Su Qing suggests they rehearse first. Jiang frowns, not understanding why practice is needed if they are just going out to eat. Taken by surprise, the guy quickly shifts the conversation and suggests they head to a buffet for lunch. The idea of unlimited food immediately excites Jiang. While they're outside, the guy checks if she's feeling cold. Jiang assures him her clothes are warm enough. He jokingly remarks that if she went back to her time wearing that coat, she might as well put some potatoes in her pockets too. Jiang seriously inquires if she could make enough money to buy a computer and bring it back. He tells her that a computer would only be useful if she first filled it with lots of data. Even then, it would make her seem strange in her time. He concludes that potatoes would be far more practical. Jiang decides that after tasting them, she'll learn to grow them herself. On their way, Su Qing notices Auntie Chung struggling. with a heavy bag of rice. He asks why she's carrying such a load and where Uncle Wang is. Auntie Chung explains that Uncle Wang has been dealing with high blood pressure and asks Su Qing to help with the rice if he has time. The guy agrees right away and asks Zhang to help lift the bag onto his shoulder. He casually mentions that he's about to take his girlfriend Jiang out for a meal, and it's lucky they ran into them. Auntie Chung lights up upon hearing Su Qing call Zhang his girlfriend, though she realizes she doesn't even know Zhang's name, even though she's seen her around. Su Qing introduces her simply as Jiang. Like Ginger Sprout, Auntie Chung laughs and says the name suits her calm demeanor. After putting the rice down at the door, he remarks that Auntie Chung must have met Jiang before. However, she can't recall such a meeting and calls for her husband to open the door. Thinking fast, Su Qing plants a memory, saying they actually met 4 or 5 years ago when Jiang had a rounder face. Auntie Chung laughs, blaming her fading memory on age. She invites them in for a drink. The guy politely turns her down, saying they're heading out for lunch. As they walk away, Zhang questions why he told so many lies. The guy explains that if she wants to live independently here, instead of relying entirely on him, she needs to be recognized by others. Since her real past differs from everyone else's, he intentionally told Auntie Chung. The neighborhood gossip, knowing she'd spread the word that Jiang is his girlfriend. This way, Zhang will slowly get into people's memory. From that point on, Su Qing introduces Zhang as his girlfriend to everyone they meet. He even tries to hold her hand, but fails because she keeps her hands hidden inside her sleeve. He explains that he's doing it so others will notice her more easily. Understanding his reasoning, Zhang offers him the sleeve of her coat to hold instead. Su Qing smiles and says it's unnecessary with no one around. As they continue walking, the guy realizes that if he truly wants Jiang to be his girlfriend for real, it's going to be a long road and it will take a lot of work. Su Qing takes Zhang out for hot pot, hoping for a peaceful evening. As they talk on the way, he suddenly freezes. Hyos is standing ahead, laughing with a group of friends. The guy instinctively wants to turn around and avoid him, but it's too late. Hyos has already spotted them. With narrowed eyes, Hyos asks what Su Qing is doing there. Suspicious that something is going on, the guy casually says they're just going to have hot pot, and even invites Hyos to join them. Hyos declines, saying he's working, but his attention shifts to Jiang, recognizing her as the high school cousin Su Qing once mentioned. Hyos starts bombarding her with math questions, leaving Jiang visibly confused. Before things get out of hand, the guy jumps in and boldly declares that Zhang isn't his cousin. She's his girlfriend. That only increases Hyos' suspicion. If Zhang is his girlfriend, why did Su Qing introduce her as his cousin before? Something's definitely wrong. Smirking, Su Qing teases Hyos, calling him Sherlock Holmes, and admits there's a story behind it, but he'll explain it later because he's starving. If Hyos insists on interrogating him now, the guy jokes that he's ready to be arrested on the spot. Hyos finally lets them go, but not without a warning. The guy better come clean later, or Hyos will tell his father about his drinking and gambling habits. Su Qing brushes it off and tells Jiang to ignore him. The two head into the restaurant, leaving Hyos fuming. Inside, Jiang grows uneasy. She wonders if she shouldn't have come out at all. He kindly asks if she'd prefer to stay locked up at home all day instead. He points out that she won't truly understand the world today unless she experiences it firsthand. When Zhang nervously mentions the police nearby, Su Qing reassures her, saying that as long as she doesn't reveal who she really is, no one will arrest her, even if the police question her. She can simply claim to be a traveler. They might even help her locate her family. Jiang hesitates, pointing out that this isn't what Su Qing had told her earlier. He awkwardly smiles and replies that things have changed. Soon, the food arrives. Zhang shyly thanks him for the meal, causing Su Qing to blush. He suggests she remove her hat and jacket so she can eat comfortably. Curious, he asks if people in her time ever had hot pot. Zhang mentions that she's never had hot pot specifically, but they did have similar communal meals. Her boy recalls a poem about such meals and recites it as he adds more meat to her bowl. Zhang's eyes shine with appreciation as she savors the food, and Su Qing, captivated by her beauty and expression, barely touches his own meal. Zhang notices and asks why he isn't eating. He laughs and says he's already full. Instead, he peels shrimp for her, explaining that friends should help each other out. Zhang reflects on this, thinking it's another modern principle. Eventually, Zhang is full. Su Qing suggests they walk home to help with digestion. He gently helps her put her hat back on and they step outside together. As they walk down the street, Su Qing points out the sights. Enjoying the peaceful moment beside her, Su Qing asks Zhang He if she knows how to walk on water. He tells her of a monk who once walked across water using just a single reed leaf. Zhang He replies that she doesn't know how to do that. She remarks that modern people are quite odd. Su Qing then points to a stone and asks if she can split it with her bare hand. Zhang He sighs, doubting that human flesh could ever be stronger than rock. A moment later, Su Qing grabs her hand and leads her to a nearby tree. Pointing at it, he asks if she can break it. Zhang He clenches her fist and strikes the tree, despite being warned that it's dangerous. The tree breaks. Both of them stare at it in disbelief before Su Qing suddenly exclaims that she's just destroyed public property. He quickly grabs Jiang He's hand and starts running. Irritated, Jiang He reminds him that it was Su Qing who suggested it in the first place. After a moment, she asks him to let go of her hand. Su Qing releases her and walks a few steps ahead. Sighing, he says they're heading home and will play some game. When they get home, Su Qing sits on the couch to relax. Jiang He calls out to him, asking what romance really is. His eyes widen and he jumps up immediately. Walking over to her, he looks at the computer screen. Jiang He shows him the message she received, and Su Qing reads it carefully. He tells Jiang He to start getting dinner ready while he deals with the issue. Once she leaves, Su Qing sits at the computer and adds the person who messaged her to his revenge list. He hums to himself, thinking about how he hasn't even made a move yet, and someone is already concerned with Jiang He. Soon, a knock sounds at the door. The hero opens it to find his father, Xu Wenbin, standing there. He immediately asks if it's already rent day. Xu Wenbin steps inside and explains that he was heading home from work and decided to check if the heater was working properly. As the landlord, he says it's his duty to address any maintenance issues, but when he sees Zhang he freezes. She greets him politely. Adjusting his glasses, he silently wonders what's going on, as this is not how he expected things to unfold. On his way here, he had planned to scold his son and straighten him out. As he looks around, Su Wenbin notices the house is spotless. Everything is in perfect order. He recalls how, during his last visit, the place was a complete mess. He can't understand how it changed so drastically. He greets Zhang Ho properly and reaffirms that he only came to check on the heater. Su Qing sighs and assures him it's working fine. After a brief moment, Zhu Wenbin says he should leave before his wife starts complaining. Before he leaves, he invites Zhang He to stop by sometime. Once Su Wenbin departs, Zhang He tells Su Qing she will return to cooking. Our boy watches her with a soft smile as she continues with the dinner preparation. Zhang He and Su Qing sit down to eat, and our boy asks if she's thought about what comes next. Zhang Hu replies she imagines the future will be just like this. Our boy chuckles and reassures her that it's perfectly fine if things remain this way. Zhang He tells Su Qing that she won't burden him forever and adds that, since they aren't related, she feels incredibly fortunate to receive so much support from him. She remembers the second miss once saying no one owes anyone anything, and those who help do so out of kindness and shouldn't expect to be taken advantage of. Hearing this, our bro suggests they could become family since neither is married, and their meeting feels like fate. Zhang He shakes her head. She reminds him that he is her benefactor and insists she cannot treat him any differently. She believes she must repay everything she owes him. Su Qing imagines a moment where Jiang Hu offers herself to repay him. He quickly says that he hopes for both of them to be in a relationship willingly. He exclaims that this is how things should have developed. He asks if offering herself in marriage counts as repayment. Zhang He firmly denies it. She explains that the second miss taught her that all debts should be repaid, and offering oneself in marriage is the most dishonorable way to repay a debt, as it only leads to dependency. Su Qing imagines the second miss severing the red thread that connects his and Jiang He's love. He grits his teeth, trying to control his frustration. He asks her not to see him as her benefactor, but she insists that he is, and there's no need for her to be pitied. Zhang He declares she will work hard to support herself and never depend on anyone. Zhu Qing sighs, realizing that Jiang He's perception of him as her benefactor is the biggest hurdle in his efforts to make her his girlfriend. He watches her play a game on the computer, focused on leveling up. He knows it will take her a long time to earn enough to repay him. He wonders if he should push her to do so, but then recalls how easily she could break his neck like she did with the tree. Thinking logically, Su Qing sends his cat to sit on Jiang He's lap. He realizes that besides adjusting to modern life, she needs to learn to stand on her own. Otherwise, she'll always feel insecure and will never truly adapt to this era. In early December, Su Qing sits at a restaurant with his friend. Yazi demands to know where Su Qing's girlfriend came from. Our hero explains that Zhang He has no relatives nearby. Feeling sympathy for her, he took her in as his girlfriend. Another friend protests, saying this isn't the usual way things are done, but the hero counters that a couple can be together as long as both are willing. Ayuzi presses him further, asking why Su Qing had once said Jiang Hu was his cousin. The hero, wearing a helpless expression, admits he was helping her hide her true identity. He explains that Jiang Hu was homeless, doing odd jobs, and had no place to live. If he hadn't helped her, she might have ended up in a shelter, and he would still have to care for her afterward. Yozi, feeling sympathy, agrees to accept his story for now. Shuking smiles and shoulder bumps Heiazi, asking him to help Zhang He with her ID issue. Heiazi gets annoyed and another friend shouts at them to stop joking around. Our bro keeps teasing Heiazi and the three cheer with their drinks. After some time, Housey excuses himself, saying he has work the next day. Su Qing and another friend walk him out, thanking him for his work as a police officer. Our bro then sits in another car with a friend. asking if any of his family's stores have job openings that don't require an identity card. His friend tells him that if it's for his girlfriend, all she has to do is give them a heads up. Su-ching admits that it would be tough since her only verifiable history is being homeless, and having a legitimate background would make things easier. His friends suggest jobs suitable for even a 16-year-old, mentioning that it would be perfect for her. He asks if it's possible to make it look like Zhang He has been employed at one of his family's stores for the last 2 years. His friend nods, assuring him that he can make it work. Later, Su-ching announces himself as he enters the house. Zhang tells her she's already eaten and left his meal in the kitchen. He flops onto the couch lazily, teasing his cat as he does. Jiang catches the smell of alcohol on his breath and questions him about it. When she accuses him of going to a brothel, he jumps in shock. After sniffing his coat, he asks how she came to that conclusion. She explains it's because of the scent lingering on him. Puzzled, he smells his coat again, now noticing the floral fragrance as well. He deduces that the scent must have transferred from sitting in the car of the ultimate playboy, Zijia. Shuqing quickly defends himself, claiming he's a law-abiding citizen, and reminds her that brothels are illegal. He adds that such places barely exist anymore, so she doesn't need to worry about him wandering off or being sold to someone else. Surprised by the sheer number of laws, John listens as Su-ching explains their purpose, giving the example of how body parts could be sold legally if it weren't for these regulations. Su-ching warns Zhang not to be too naive. Even in peaceful times, danger still lurks. His words make her imagine him selling her body parts. He notices her reaction and tries to shift the subject, emphasizing how important it is for her to maintain some caution. But Jiang is too caught up in her frightening thoughts to pay attention. He decides to leave her to her thoughts and checks the meal she left for him in the kitchen. He eats it with satisfaction despite not being hungry, washes up, changes, and flops back onto the couch, glancing at Jiang. She's working on the computer, and he finds her so cute he wants to pull her into a hug. Su-ching asks Zhang about her thoughts on his father, sharing sadly how demanding and emotionally distant his father has always been. Mentioning his envy of those with close relationships with their dads, Jiang looks at him cleverly. He steers the conversation to the point he wanted, crying about never receiving a hug from his father, something he longed for his whole life. Calling it a ridiculous request, he asks her for a hug, leaving Zhang confused. Seeing her expression, he shrugs it off, but feeling guilty, she hugs him. He wraps her tightly in a quick hug, startling her. At first, she tries to break free, but gradually relaxes and clings to his shirt. She reminds herself it's just part of the young master's experience to stay calm. Her conscience is clear. Meanwhile, he enjoys the scent of her hair. Holding back from tightening the hug, he allows her to speak. After she asks if he's done, he pulls away, thanks her, and goes to shower, leaving her worried that he wasn't as relaxed as he seemed. In the morning, Zhang practices sword martial arts while he secretly films her. She stops when she notices him, and he halts the recording before asking about the purpose of martial arts. He explains it benefits her and shows off her strength. After checking some articles on his phone, Su-ching learns the significance of martial art. He kneels, asking her to teach him too, fearing such an important tradition might fade away. He declares his intention to train diligently to improve. He assumes a random stance, asking if it's correct. She approves, though it's clearly far from right, as expected. After just 10 minutes, Su-ching is exhausted on the ground, gasping on all fours. Jing notices his lack of skill and urges him to continue instead of staying down. He tries to help him understand that consistent practice is essential to becoming a top-level martial artist. He stretches his hand out, signaling for her to stop, as his objectives have shifted after understanding the true nature of martial art. As he shares his desire for a strong physique, she encourages him to push through, promising that once he holds the position for an hour, she'll teach him some techniques. Su-ching excitedly asks if he'll get to practice his skills in the snow once he masters them, which leaves Jiang puzzled by such an outlandish request. When the first snow of Zhang Cheng's winter falls, our hero embarks on his martial arts journey. One day, while they're outside, he notices her cheerful mood and excitement as she enjoys the snow. This makes him realize how much more at ease she has become since her first arrival. She playfully slides across the slippery snow, like a child, prompting him to guide her toward their ride. Once in the backseat of the car, Zhang observes the calm demeanor of the driver. The driver casually steers the wheel, seemingly unfazed by the cold outside. Curious about the driving job, she whispers to Su-ching, contemplating the idea of becoming a driver herself. He quickly dismisses her thought, saying it would be impossible for him to teach her everything alone. He also can't let her willingly risk getting into accidents. Realizing that Su-ching can drive, she asks him why he doesn't, and he simply explains that he's too poor. They arrive at Su-ching's parents' house, and he calmly reassures her to stay composed, reminding her of the fabricated story about coming from the Zicheng Mountains to find a job. He mentions that this is the lie he will need to tell his parents later. Suddenly, the hero spots his Uncle Chin and calls out to him, urging Zhang to take his hand. After reassuring herself that her conscience is clear, she grabs his hand. Uncle Qin notices them, and our hero quickly introduces Jiang to him. While Zhang plays with Uncle Qin's new puppy, Uncle Qin jokes about Su Qing teaching Hiozi some dating tips. Su Qing responds, saying that Hiozi would do better with arranged dates. On their way to Su Qing's parents' house, he gives her small pointers. He tells her that holding hands is perfectly normal, so she shouldn't feel awkward even if no one else is around. She seems a bit confused by this advice, so he shifts the topic to how to satisfy his mother's question. He advises her to figure out what his mother expects to hear, and then say that, making her answer sound convincing. Secondly, if asked about her routine, she should claim she's busy with her own matters, rather than mentioning her obsession with games. She appears slightly confused, so he simplifies it, telling her to simply play the role of his girlfriend. Upon arriving at the house, Su Qing introduces them to each other, and his mother directs them to sit while they wait for the meal. His mother secretly finds Jiang attractive, while the hero leads her inside, helping her remove her jacket and hat. Su Qing's father steps out of his room and, peering over his glasses, watches them curiously. Su Qing introduces Jiang to him, reminding his father that they have met before. His father looks displeased and asks, in irritation, why Su Qing is so happy. After stating that Jiang is the reason for his happiness, Su Qing internally laughs at his father's failure to recognize someone from history. Despite being a historian, Ju King tells Jiang to relax and peels an orange for her. As he hands it to her, he suddenly realizes he forgot to bring something home, as it's his first time visiting with his girlfriend. However, his father bluntly tells him they already have everything and that he didn't need to bring anything. His mother calls them to the table for dinner. Su Qing guides Jiang to the washroom before heading off to help his mother. Once the meal is ready, Jiang nervously steps out of the washroom. His mother warmly invites her to sit down, telling her to stop being shy. Jiang cheerfully sits down at the table as Su Qing's mother serves her. Surprised by the variety of food on the table, Jiang had expected a simple meal. Su Qing proudly shares how delicious his mother's cooking is, while his mother admires how well they suit each other. His father, on the other hand, watches them in displeasure. After a while, Su Qing's mother's admiration and his father's displeasure turn into sheer astonishment when they witness Jiang devouring a second bowl of rice, a feat neither of them combined has managed to accomplish. Jiang can't believe how much she's eaten, and the others stare in amazement as she continues to eat with such appetite. Su Qing's mother finds this endearing, while his father can't hide his displeasure at the sight of their happiness. The shocking moment leaves everyone in disbelief as Jiang finishes her second bowl, something neither of them has done in a long time. After lunch, while our friend is helping with the dishes, his father insists that he join him in his study later. Su Qing's mother offers her some water. However, she feels uneasy with his mother's warm attempt to make her feel comfortable. She asks her not to be so formal and invites her to sit down. Once seated, his mother, discussing their relationship, inquires about where she is from, recalling the answers Su Qing had given her earlier. She quickly says she comes from the mountain. Su Qing heads to the study to speak with his father, who asks about his future plans now that he and Zhang are living together. Su Qing casually reassures him that it's just sharing a place, but his father becomes upset. With frustration, he says he understands the mindset of young people and demands to know more about his future intention. Su Qing thinks to himself that he and Jiang aren't actually in a relationship and asks his father not to worry, urging him to simply forgive the rent. However, his father dismisses his attempts to shift the topic and insists that he give a real answer. Irritated by his father's insistence, he claims to know more about this matter, which only adds fuel to his father's fury. In anger, his father forces Su Qing to leave the study. Su Qing looks toward his mother and Zhang. They are seated in the living room, and Su Qing knows he cannot abandon Jiang. Only he can respond to his mother's inquiries. He asks his parents' permission, and they both leave after saying their farewell. As soon as they step outside, the protagonist's father immediately begins questioning his wife about the girl, but thanks to Su Qing's earlier lesson, it becomes clear that all the information she managed to gather from Jiang is useless. As Su Qing and Jiang walk out of the building, his father watches them with fury from the window, because they somehow managed to evade all his questions while enjoying the meal thoroughly. As they leave the block, Su Qing carries the bag of oranges his mother gave them. He asks her if she'd like something to eat. She declines, explaining that her appetite has been smaller lately. He then suggests it's normal not to feel as hungry since she hasn't been very active. Still advises her to mind her diet and avoid overeating, as it could affect her mobility. Zhang nervously agrees, and Su Qing reassures her that it's fine since she burns enough calories with her martial arts practice. He promises to buy a scale for her to monitor her weight. She looks puzzled. He jokes that the scale is something people are tied to, and then lifted to check their weight. Seeing her startled, he laughs and assures her it's just a joke. Later at home, Zhang becomes concerned about finding work to pay off her debts quickly, so she asks Su Qing about it. Since he can't think of a good job for her, he suggests she continue playing games until something sparks her interest, emphasizing that enjoying life is what matters most. After a moment of reflection, she admits nothing really excites her, then asks about the reason behind their cat's winter melon lifestyle. Su Qing, expressing his ignorance about it, says he's envious of Winter Melon for living without societal constraint. When she asks what he means by that, he teases her, saying she wouldn't understand. He then heads for a shower. She, annoyed, jokingly threatens to slap him, but he stops, mentioning two kinds of people he can't stand. When she asks about the second type, he walks into the bathroom without answering. This makes her even angrier. Su Qing begins teaching Jiang about two types of players in the game world. One group is the wealthy, who have unlimited resources, while the other takes advantage of information gaps, using what they know to acquire resources from others. To explain this better, he describes how in her time people would stockpile resources to trade for information, and then sell at high prices, leaving the poor with no choice but to sell whatever they had to survive. To tease her, he jokingly asks her to be his slave bride, pretending to be a monopolizer. She angrily refuses, and he reassures her it was just a joke. He realizes she's clueless about everything at the moment, so he advises her to look into the humanities and tells her that's what she really needs to study. They read some online articles about humanities, and he promises to find novels and movies on the subject to watch with her. She curiously wonders if learning this will help close the information gap between them. He confirms it and tells her to get ready for bed. Jiang is still lost in thought about the information gap and asks if he's trying to use it to get her to be his girlfriend. The question surprises Su Qing, and even though it's true, he dismisses it as an accusation, pointing out she has no evidence. He urges Jiang to shower and then secretly sits in his computer chair, suspecting she might be up to something. He watches her suspiciously as she moves around, unsure of what she's planning next. After checking her browsing history, he discovers she had searched a lot of strange and suspicious questions about him and his motive. He wonders whether it's unusual for two people of opposite genders to develop feelings, even after living together. Shuxing realizes that she has been acting completely normal, while quietly wrestling with deep worries. Jane steps out of the shower, and he glances at her before looking away with a self-satisfied grin. When she asks about it, he pretends ignorance and casually offers to dry her hair. She agrees and wonders why he still wants to fill in the gaps in her knowledge about him, especially when he might prefer she never knew about his hidden feeling. She goes to bed pondering whether Su Qing's actions are truly for her benefit. Su Qing wakes up to the sound of his phone ringing. Upon answering, his ears are assaulted by his friend Hyozi's loud voice. Hyozi angrily asks what he told his father, Uncle Chin. Su Qing replies he merely complimented his pet dog's name. Hyozi gets more frustrated at his act of playing dumb and directly questions him about matchmaking. Su Qing laughs, remembers, teases him, and then hangs up. Shuxing leaves his room, explaining that he got up early to strengthen his body, especially since she makes him assume and hold a martial arts stance. He asks if there's a faster way to get stronger, like castration or dual cultivation. She asks, worried, if he really wants to undergo castration. He declines, saying he prefers dual cultivation. She turns away, embarrassed, denying such a method exists. Yet her flushed cheeks give her away, and he begins teasing her about it. After persistent practice, Su Qing improves slightly at holding his stance. However, he still sees no visible changes in his physique. In his imagination, a Tang Dynasty warrior version of himself should have already gained incredible techniques, so he could fend off evils on the way to living in the wild, only for the thought of his parents to snap him back to reality. Later, while Su Qing works on his laptop, Zhang lies next to him on the couch reading a book. He warns her about the risk of developing nearsightedness from reading so closely. He explains what it means since she seems unfamiliar with the term, then gets up and brings her non-prescription, rectangular glasses. Handing them to her, he notes they are the same style his father wore during a visit to his family. She carefully puts them on and asks if she's wearing them correctly. He uses his phone's front camera to show her how they look. He thinks they look perfect on her, though Jiang struggles to adjust to wearing them. Watching her concentration, he blushes, wishing he could embrace her again. Recalling the same tactic, he mentions his father. He asks if Second Miss ever hugged her. She confirms, describing how Second Miss would hug her tightly. Especially on cold days, those hugs would comfort her greatly. Before Su Qing can respond, his phone rings. Seeing the caller, he announces it as Zijun. After confirming Su Qing is home, Zijun says he has employment-related documents that need Su Qing's signature. Having already reviewed the matter and brought the forms, Zijun prompts Su Qing to invite him in. Soon someone knocks at the door. Before Su Qing can answer, Jiang rushes to the door herself. She peeks through the peephole, leaving Su Qing puzzled. She finds the peephole useful to check for potential threats before opening. Prepared with her sword, she examines the visitor closely. Recognizing him, she finally opens the door. Zijun, shivering in the cold, begins to turn away, thinking he's at the wrong house. Su Qing pulls him inside, assuring him this is definitely his home. He asks why Zijun seems forgetful despite having met Jiang before. Once the confusion clears, Zijun sinks onto the couch next to Su Qing. He glances at Jiang, plays a computer game, and whispers teasingly at Su Qing. He just realized where Su Qing has been hiding lately, and if not for his lover, he would have never figured it out. Changing the subject, our guy confirms whether the fake work experience papers are ready and asks Jiang to sign them. Jiang takes a careful look at the papers Su Qing handed her to sign. Upon asking about them, he tells her that these papers are meant to verify her 2 years of employment here, just in case she struggles with reading and writing. Our guy writes her name on his phone and shows it to her, instructing her to replicate it wherever her signature is needed. When Zijun sees him teaching her how to sign her own name, he asks in disbelief if she really can't read or write. Shocked by his reaction, our guy realizes he needs to explain things better. So while Jiang signs the papers, our guy lies to Zijun, claiming he found her wandering the streets for more than a decade. Su Qing continues with absurd details about Zhang's appearance when they met. Zijun refuses to buy it, while Jiang tries to keep herself from losing her temper. Su Qing invites Zijun to stay for a meal and asks Jiang to prepare some extra dishes. Zijun seems surprised by the idea of having a homemade meal, as he expected they'd go out. But our guy says he's eager to take advantage of having a girlfriend who's a great cook. While waiting for the food, Zijun heads over to the computer and asks Su Qing for help setting up the new PC he's about to receive. After Su Qing agrees to assist him, Zijun notices that the system language is set to traditional Chinese. He inquires about it and Su Qing offers a weak excuse, saying he prefers it this way, which makes Zijun start to feel suspicious of his behavior. Nevertheless, Zijun praises him for being so knowledgeable. Su Qing tells him that this shows the difference between someone who's poor and hungry for knowledge to survive, and someone who's rich and seeks comfort. That's why he spends on those less fortunate. Zijun, taken aback, gets up and asks Su Qing if he's taking some strange medicine, since it's not like him to speak this way. The protagonist realizes he didn't need to give such an elaborate explanation to Zijun, like he would to Jiang. Su Qing excuses himself by claiming he's been through a lot in the past 6 months. Zijun asks if it's because he's been unemployed, or if it's because of his relationship with the girl. In response, our guy simply asks if Zijun has ever watched the K-drama, My Love from the Star. Zijun misinterprets it and laughs, asking if he's also got a strange professor. Su Qing denies it, telling him that with Zijun's IQ, it would be pointless to explain further. Our guy then excuses himself to check on Jiang. Seeing her so focused, he can't help but compliment her. He thinks she looks like the perfect wife material. She responds by shooing him out of the kitchen, threatening him with a sharp knife. After he leaves, she wonders why he came into the kitchen. Zijun seems to really enjoy the meal, and when Su Qing tells him to eat as much as he likes, Jiang suddenly feels like a housewife preparing meals for guests, while her husband entertains them. Before leaving, Zijun reminds Su Qing about the promise to help him set up the PC. Our guy reassures him he'll do it once he's done with his own business. Seeing Zhang still busy with work, he tells her to take a break and starts talking to her while doing the dishes. He tells her she can't keep acting like someone from the past and needs to adjust her personality for the modern world. He improvises her backstory, making her an orphan from the Zhejiang Mountains, who did odd jobs with Zhang Cheng since she was 16. Later, she meets a kind young man named Su Qing, and they become friends and eventually lovers. Su Qing helps her track down her parents, but when that fails, he invites her to move in with him. Once his fabricated story is over, Su Qing tells her that it's the only plausible explanation they can give. To make their relationship believable, they need to say they're deeply in love. He asks if she understands, and she nervously confirms it. Su Qing then tucks a lock of her hair behind her ear and tells her they'll go to the authorities to settle her identity issue. Once she's fully adjusted to modern life, Jiang, still fixated on the moment he tucked her hair, angrily demands to know if he was flirting with her, feeling her heart race. Her heart races, causing her to feel disoriented. Su Qing, however, firmly rejects her accusation. He explains that he was merely fixing her hair, which is a normal gesture in their relationship. She reminds him that their relationship is nothing but a sham, and he shouldn't take advantage of his position as her benefactor. To calm her, he gently sits her on the couch and takes a seat next to her, regretting his actions. After a moment of reflection, he decides to be honest with her, admitting that, as the saying goes, familiarity breeds affection, and he has developed feelings for her after living together for several months. When he asks if there's anything wrong with having feelings for someone, she looks at him in disbelief, questioning whether he's serious. He confirms that he indeed has feelings for her. She responds by asking him not to like her. He, however, inquires what's wrong with it since they're both single. Using the word licking in the context of pursuing her only makes her even more uneasy. Jiang quickly moves away from him, threatening to hit him if he licks her. Feeling uncomfortable, she stands up, stating that she's leaving. However, she pauses, reminded of the gratitude she owes him. Su Qing reassures her that there are no debts between them, as she's taught him martial arts in exchange for his help in adapting to the modern world. So she's free to leave whenever she wishes. However, he asks her to continue teaching him martial arts while he helps her find a new place to live. She wonders why he's still so willing to help her. He simply replies that he likes her, despite any debts. He goes on to suggest that she might feel the same way, but is denying it because their close living situation makes him seem ordinary to her. When he expresses frustration over being excluded from her thoughts, she denies it, stating that she's leaving because he wants to lick her. He tries to clarify the meaning behind his words, but she refuses to engage with him further, uncomfortable with the situation. In her room, Jiang reflects on her feelings toward Su Qing and the idea of leaving his house. Meanwhile, Su Qing sits in the living room, wondering if she's planning to leave since she hasn't emerged from her room in so long. Just as he's on the verge of becoming emotional over the thought of losing her, she walks out of her room. After a quick glance at him, she heads to the kitchen. Excited to see her, Su Qing jumps up from his seat and follows her into the kitchen. He asks her what decision she has made. While washing oranges, she admits that he was right. She explains that gratitude and his feelings for her are separate matters and that he can continue liking her, as long as he respects boundaries. He immediately assures her that he won't overstep any boundaries. She ponders for a moment and mentions that it wouldn't feel right to ignore everything he has done for her over the past 6 months and selfishly leave. She shyly avoids eye contact while suggesting they discuss their future once all her debts are settled. Su Qing quickly repeats her words to confirm, and she nods in agreement. Later, as she prepares dinner, Su Qing leans against the doorframe, watching her intently. When she asks why he's standing there, he wonders if she now understands the difference between gratitude and affection. He tells her that if she only feels gratitude for him, that would feel like deceiving him. Jiang quickly denies having any feelings for him, and Su Qing realizes she's simply in denial. Seeing her struggle to differentiate her feelings, he suggests a test to see if she truly likes him. After making her promise not to react negatively, he pulls her into a tight embrace, slowly releasing her. He notes that if her heartbeat has increased, it means she has feelings for him. She turns her back on him, shyly avoiding eye contact. She tells him to leave her alone, pretending the hug didn't affect her. As he walks away, he realizes that she does have feelings for him too. She didn't pull away during the hug and let him hold her as long as he wished. Meanwhile, Jiang blushes deeply, cupping her face in confusion as she finally understands the difference between mere gratitude and affection, a realization that is coloring her face red. When dinner is ready, she announces it but avoids eye contact with Su Qing as she quietly sets the table. Su Qing believes that this issue isn't as important as helping her understand modern culture and value. The most important thing is teaching her how to smile, since the only time she smiles is when she discovers something new. Like when she saw snow and couldn't comprehend the variety of modern entertainment. He decides to guide her toward learning how to smile, so he puts on a comedy movie for them to watch together. As they watch, he notices she still doesn't laugh or grin, even during the funny parts, and he realizes how difficult it is for someone from another era to adapt to modern life. Jiang immerses herself in video games while he feels drowsy, so he heads to bed first, telling her as he goes. She watches him leave. Then she sighs, contemplating how to face him with her emotions so plainly visible. Around 10:30, she rises from the PC and quietly slips into Su Qing's room. He is in a deep sleep, and she lingers, gazing at him as if hovering like a ghost above his face. Eventually, she leaves. The next morning, when they both emerge, Su Qing notices her fatigue and asks if she slept poorly. She had not slept at all during the night but lies, claiming she stayed up late. After breakfast, Su Qing takes her out to see beautiful sights. They put on coats and step outside, where Jiang notices their hands entwined. She asks if this is one of the beautiful things he mentioned. With a playful grin, he confirms, explaining that a racing heart is indeed a kind of beauty. He teases her by rubbing her finger against her palm and asks if she feels anything unusual. Embarrassed by their closeness, she glances at him briefly before withdrawing her hand quickly. He laughs and reclaims it. He explains he was merely illustrating an example of experiencing the world. Su Qing was effectively giving her a gentle introduction to dating. They board a bus from 520th Street, and she inquires about their destination. He attempts to make her laugh with a meme reference, but she is unfamiliar and stares blankly in confusion. He chuckles at her reaction and reassures her not to worry, asking her to trust him as they explore together. Once off the bus, he quickly holds her hand again. Su Qing's guiding touch makes her feel safe and at ease, even though this is her first experience being treated this way. They head to an electronics store, where Zhang's eyes widen in awe at the rows of computers. After Shuqing explains it's a place to buy or sell computers, he introduces her to Gao Bo, who is currently working on a component. Su Qing calls out his name and seats both Zhang and himself in front of Gao Bo. When asked, Su Qing tells Gao Bo he wants a computer around 20,000 yuan with an eye-catching case, while Su Qing writes down all his specifications for the bill. Zhang looks around, a mix of curiosity and awkwardness on her face. Once he finishes, he hands the list to Gao Bo. He emphasizes that the computer should be assembled as soon as possible. After instructing Gao Bo to deliver it to the contact on the paper, he prepares to leave. Gao Bo asks why he's leaving so soon. Su Qing replies that he is taking his girlfriend around. He tells Zhang to remember the current location, Jiangcheng Square. He patiently explains the route they took, noting landmarks in case she needs to find her way back alone. He also points out the place where she used to work about 2 years ago. He spins a story about her selling alcohol at a small festival booth, creating a fictional past for her. It feels odd to him now. Seeing her this way, so different from the little he knew before, he asks if she can navigate on her own now. Zhang nods firmly, confident she remembers the routes. As they prepare to leave, Zhang notices a small shop nearby and curiously asks to go in. Su Qing gently stops her, tapping her forehead, explaining that curiosity about every place wastes time. Zhang pouts but doesn't argue. She decides to comply and continues walking. After some distance, he asks if she's hungry. She admits she is. So he takes her to a barbecue buffet he had considered earlier. Once seated, Zhang casually mentions she prefers hot pot because it allows food to simmer without constant attention, unlike grilled meat. Su Qing laughs and agrees, acknowledging the logic. Amused by her down-to-earth approach, he encourages her to just relax and enjoy the meal until she feels full. Su Qing carefully tends to the grill, ensuring each piece of meat is perfectly cooked. As he does, he comments that eating together in a warm setting is akin to holding hands. It's a simple act yet filled with meaning. He mentions that a truly satisfying meal isn't just about feeding the body but also about nourishment for the soul. Jane listens intently. Then with a playful grin, she requests that he bring her some cake for dessert. Su Qing agrees and shortly comes back with 2 small cakes, one for her and one for himself. Zhang takes a bite and quietly reflects to herself. This is the feeling of contentment. She doesn't vocalize it, but a small smile spreads across her face. After a moment, our guide tells her about a little contest the restaurant is hosting. If they finish all the food on their plate, there's a chance to win a prize. He asks if she wants to participate, assuming no woman, even one from centuries ago, could resist winning a plush toy. Su Qing expects her to be thrilled. Zhang glances at the prizes and selects a fluffy bear, its color reminding her of the winter melons she used to eat. As they leave the restaurant, Zhang asks why she even needs the bear. Su Qing laughs and says she can hug it at night, thinking of him while doing so. Zhang warns that she'll tear it apart if he keeps saying such embarrassing things. That shuts him up immediately. With most of their date's activities completed, they've eaten and browsed some shops. Only the movie remains. He mentions the theater is a bit far, so they could walk there to burn off their meal and save a little money. Zhang agrees without hesitation, surprising him. He jokes that most girls would be shy, stomp their feet, and refuse to walk, preferring to be pampered like princesses. When Zhang looks confused, Su Qing exaggerates the typical behavior. He pouts, stomps, and whines in a high-pitched voice to illustrate. Zhang stares at him, unable to understand why anyone would act like that. Seeing her bewildered look, Su Qing laughs so hard it hurts his stomach. He mischievously asks if she wants to try acting cute too. In response, Zhang picks up the bear again and threatens to rip it apart if he continues. Su Qing immediately raises his hand, surrendering and deciding that her straightforward nature might be the better choice after all. Once they reach the cinema, Zhang asks why they can't just watch movies at home. Su Qing explains that it's different because they're on a date. Watching a movie in a theater has a special atmosphere. At home, she always treats it like something serious, almost like studying or a mission. In his opinion, movies should be relaxing, not something to overanalyze. He tells her in the theater they can just enjoy the film in peace. He also reminds her not to make noise, and if she feels like doing something else, to leave quietly so she doesn't disturb others. After all that, he suddenly asks in a serious tone if he can hold her hand while they watch. Zhang looks at him confused, not understanding why he'd want that. To her, her hands are rough and unattractive. She recalls the story of Deng Tuzi, who loves his wife despite her looks, even having 4 children with her. Thinking about it, Zhang decides Su Qing must be like Deng Tuzi. She firmly tells him not to ask again, startling him. He wonders how someone so young can be so intense. Zhang then jokes that he should practice martial arts so they can spar properly one day. Before she can refuse again, Su Qing quickly grabs her hand and pulls her toward the theater. Inside, he shows her popcorn and buys a large bucket to share. As the movie starts, Zhang watches the screen intently. When Su Qing tries to hold her hand again, she immediately pulls it away. He remembers the times they've held hands before and can't help noticing that she's now determined to avoid it. Meanwhile, Zhang is self-conscious about how rough her hands are, worrying they might feel unpleasant to touch. She looks at Su Qing and suddenly imagines him asking her to have children. Embarrassed by her own thoughts, she shakes her head quickly. Su Qing notices her odd expression and wonders what on earth could be running through her mind. After the movie ends, they slowly exit the theater. Zhang suddenly asks why he enjoys holding her hand so much. Su Qing, unsure, awkwardly looks away. Zhang then extends her hand, telling him to hold it properly this time. Su Qing senses she must have fought with herself before saying that. He gently takes her hand, feeling quietly thankful inside. With a smile, he calls her his little warrior and asks if she enjoyed the movie. Zhang nods and says it was good. As they walk, Su Qing tells her that watching movies can actually help improve her thinking. He explains that films can widen her perspective and help build what he calls the three modern views: her worldview, values, and approach to life. He assures her it will be gradual, but he will guide her every step of the way. Then jokingly, he admits that he might trick her a little along the way and asks her not to hit him when she figures it out. Zhang looks at him thoughtfully, considering his words. Unsure of how to respond, she chooses to remain silent for now. Su Qing asks whether Zhang has noticed she's been a little spaced out lately. When she presses him on it, he clarifies what he means. Back when they first met, she was like a feral kitten, bristling, ready to whip out her sword and bare her teeth at the tiniest. Slight, as the months went by, she reached for her blade less and less, even though she still stayed on guard. Outwardly, she seemed composed. Yet she remained wary and would discreetly double-check things behind the scenes. But lately, ever since the day he said he liked her, she's become far easier to fool, taking nearly everything he says at face value. Su Qing teases that if he truly wanted, he could probably coax her into kissing him with barely any effort. Zhang instantly clamps down harder on his hand, baffled about what went wrong and why she started behaving this way. Our boy says evenly that it's normal for girls who have fallen for someone to act a bit silly now and then, especially when it's the first time they've ever felt that kind of emotion. Zhang snaps that she's not in love, she's just appreciating the world's beauty, all while crushing his hand in her grip. At last she lets go, and our guy says he won't push her to sort out what she feels. He even suggests that maybe it isn't liking him at all. Maybe she's simply become reliant on him. Just like she once relied on her second miss, Jane quietly concedes he could be right. Zhu Qing then tells her she needs to learn the difference between gratitude and real feelings for someone. Otherwise, if she stays this trusting, he worries he might not be able to stop himself from using that innocence to deceive her. Zhang turns flustered when he leans in and casually says he's falling for her more and more. She thinks it's like he's warning her in advance before trying to trick her. Su Xin repeats that it's simply because he likes her. Zhang gives a faint smile at his sincerity, and the two of them get on the bus together. She asks about his hand, wondering if it still hurts. Our guy jokes that next time she should hold back a little. Hearing that, Zhang quietly points out that he's already talking about a next time. When they get home, Su Qing opens the door to find Winter Melon waiting. He crouches down and asks if the cat is begging for food. After teasing it for a moment, he feeds it while thinking about how Zhang still seems utterly lost when it comes to romance. Honestly, she understands it about as much as he did back in 5th grade. Recalling the awkward moments when he turned girls down before, he can't help feeling a little scarred by those memories. Soon he starts plotting. If Zhang is going to grasp romance better, he'll probably need guidance from old love stories. He stays up all night editing things, and eventually his thoughts drift to dinner. Xuqing knocks on Zhang's door. When she answers, she asks what he's doing there. The hero asks if she's been asleep the whole time, and she admits she did doze off. For a while, our boy feels her forehead and thinks she looks a bit feverish, but the thermometer says her temperature is normal. Zhang insists she's fine and says she'll start making dinner now. The hero suddenly remembers that Jiang is a girl and that each month she'll feel unwell for a few days. He quickly pours her water and tells her to rest, then cooks 2 packets of noodles himself. He even tosses in garlic, happily thinking she's the best because she'll eat both garlic and onion. Our hero soon gets a call from his friend, who excitedly says Su Qing's friend is incredible, and that the computer is finally finished. He just tested it and says it's even better than his last one, smooth, insanely fast. Meanwhile, Zhang sits quietly browsing a site about the difference between liking someone and depending on them. Her brows knit in total confusion. After a couple of snowfalls, the harshest part of winter arrives. Su Qing's dad tells his wife to subtly sound our guy out and see whether he's already run out of money. He says there's still time for their son to get a proper job. Meanwhile, the mother is distracted by a completely different worry. She keeps thinking about the girl and how she still hasn't managed to get close to her. Later, our guy and Zhang show up with their arms loaded, hands full of groceries and gifts. His mother welcomes them in warmly. Juding asks his mom what she's cooking and proudly says Jang makes incredible food and could even lend a hand in the kitchen. His mother, however, politely turns the offer down. Seeing his son show off like that irritates our guy's father, who thinks he's acting conceited. The hero and Jang settle onto the sofa to watch TV. Su Ting's father watches them quietly for a bit, then suddenly asks Jang what she does for work. Our guy had already informed Jiang that such questions were inevitable, and advised her to simply repeat everything he had taught her if his parents asked anything. Jiang follows his advice without a hitch. She calmly states that by using integrated circuits and microprocessor, she connects to online platforms via a modem and exchanges data with other users at high speed. Although Su Qing's father doesn't fully grasp her explanation, he pretends to understand and compliments her, thinking it sounds very professional. The protagonist quickly agrees and adds that the work is incredibly demanding and mentally draining. Despite this, his father remains curious and presses on. He asks what exactly she does during her work. Jiang responds coolly that she uses a combination of number and letter keys to control the X and Y coordinates of the cursor on the screen. This allows her to initiate a sequence of interactions with other users. Su Qing's father is even more impressed. He thinks Jiang is incredibly capable and concludes that his son must have exhausted all his luck in life to find such a competent partner. Nevertheless, he can't help but lecture his son. He suggests that Su Qing should get a proper job in a real company, implying that making videos isn't a sustainable career. He believes Su Qing's videos may suffice to support him for now, but they'll never provide for him long-term. Su Qing immediately questions why his work needs to support him for his entire life. His father responds by asking what his future plans are. Confidently, Su Qing declares that he plans to turn his work into a major enterprise. He says he will open an office, establish a company, and eventually have it listed on the stock exchange. At that point, he proudly claims he will be the CEO of a listed company, and his father will be the father of a CEO. Their family will prosper in this generation and gain widespread respect. His father, furious at this, curses at him, asking if he thinks his father is an idiot. He even threatens to beat him. But he suddenly stops mid-sentence upon noticing Jiang sitting nearby. He quickly pulls back, deciding that family matters should remain private and not be aired in front of outsiders. Su Qing calmly asserts that everyone has their own path in life and wonders why his father can't accept that. He then recalls how his mother once took him to have his fortune read. An elderly man read his fate and jotted several things down on a piece of paper. Our guy fetches the paper and reads aloud. It says he's destined to resist becoming a government official, that he enjoys having fun, that he's fair-minded yet assertive, energetic, and compassionate towards the less fortunate. It also mentions he has the spirit of a tiger. After reading it, Su Qing firmly tells his father that this is simply his fate, and no matter what happens, he can't work in a company. Su Qing's father asks why he bothered to take a photo of the fortune slip. Su Qing explains that he plans to keep it so he can later get his girlfriend's fortune told, since she believes in such things. At this, his father bursts out laughing, dismissing fortune-telling as something only fools fall for. Yet Su Qing still takes it seriously. The protagonist retorts that the fortune-teller only wrote favorable things about him because he was nearly a troublemaker in his youth. His father grows annoyed and insists it's only because he, as a father, kept him in check that he didn't go off the rail. Su Qing counters that every teenager goes through a rebellious stage, and it wasn't just his father's strict discipline that kept him from going astray. The argument escalates until father and son stand face to face, glaring at each other. Before things get worse, Su Qing's mother intervenes sharply, telling them to stop arguing. She quietly pulls her husband aside and reminds him not to make a scene in front of Jiang. With a frustrated grunt, the father gets up and storms out of the room. Turning back to Jiang, the mother reassures her that the two of them were simply having a silly argument. She invites Jiang to sit down and relax before dinner, leaving Su Qing and Jiang alone. Once his mother is out of sight, Su Qing grins and suddenly pushes a peeled orange into Jiang's mouth. He compliments her on how well she handled his father earlier, saying she managed it perfectly. He praises her performance earlier, saying she handled his father. He asks questions with the skill of a pro. Jiang shyly nods, while he continues handing her orange slices one by one, mostly out of idle curiosity. After a while, Su Qing takes her hand and examines it closely, pondering how such seemingly ordinary hands could harbor such formidable strength. He wonders if that power truly originates from her body or from some other source. Jiang feels bashful again as she notices his intense focus on her hands, quietly questioning why her palms are so captivating to him. Suddenly, John seizes his hand in return, declaring that she will inspect his hands as well. She notes that his hands are significantly larger than hers, and his nails are short, tidy, and well-kept. Su Qing casually asks if she can read palms. Jiang immediately withdraws his hand and denies knowing anything about palm reading. He insists she shouldn't even be asked such a question. Later, after dinner, Arbro approaches his mother, inquiring if he could invite Zhang over for New Year. His mother wonders if Jiang isn't returning to her own home. The boy explains sincerely that Jiang has no family, so she would otherwise spend the holiday alone. His mother hesitates briefly to ensure he's serious, then after a pause, tells him he can definitely bring Jiang over. She playfully asks if he has enough money to support a girlfriend. He proudly puffs his chest, affirming he has more than enough, then contentedly begins setting the table with dishes. Once dinner concludes, Su Qing and Jiang bid farewell to his parents and get ready to leave. Just as they step out, a potato slips from Zhang's pocket unexpectedly. His parents immediately notice and ask why she has a potato in her pocket. Thinking fast, Su Qing quickly invents a reason. He claims that Jiang lacks a natural connection with earth elements, so she carries a potato as a kind of charm. They chose a potato instead of soil because it's easier to carry. Without a second thought, he picks it up and slips it back into Jiang's pocket, concealing the true reason that it was being used to track her. Su Qing's mother laughs at the tale and jokes that she'll cook more potato dishes for Zhang next time. Hearing this, Jiang politely bows and thanks her for the thoughtfulness. His mother reassures her warmly, saying she felt just as shy when meeting Su Qing's grandmother, so there's no need for Zhang to feel awkward. As Su Qing and Zhang finally depart, his mother watches them leave, feeling that they seem very well matched. She quietly hopes they will avoid conflicts in the future and enjoy a happy life together. As they begin walking, Zhang asks what like means, and Su Qing explains that if she wants someone completely, she'll naturally try to get closer to them. Like wanting to buy a tasty cake, she has to spend money to get it. Zhang worries that if she can't afford it, he tells her in that case, she'll have to work hard, give her all, and strive to obtain what she desires. He adds that simply wanting something without effort doesn't count as truly liking. He emphasizes he won't deceive her because he likes her, and offers to step back if she doesn't feel the same. He promises to respect her decision. Liking someone means giving your best without expecting to possess them. He hesitates briefly, clarifying he doesn't mean anything strange by the term liking. This seems more complicated than it sounds to Jiang, who feels puzzled. She wonders why he would hold her hand if he doesn't want her to be his. Su Qing grins, saying that being willingly tricked by someone can sometimes be a form of liking, prompting Jiang to exclaim, insisting she has no feelings for him. He smiles knowingly and says he's speaking generally. He doesn't imply she likes him, which makes Zhang blush and wonder if she enjoys when he dries her hair, helps grill meat, cooks noodles, or simply holds her hand. A minute later, she inquires about love, making him wonder if she suddenly gained insight. He notes that she's been asking questions like this recently. Then he explains that when two hearts unite, when people take time to understand one another, that's what love is. Zhang asks about his feelings, and Su Qing offers a kiss so she can feel them firsthand. Zhang shakes with disbelief, insisting she doesn't trust him, her face turning bright red. They eventually leave for home. Once there, Su Qing decides to finish editing his video before heading to bed. Zhang sits next to him, asking if he's ever considered what would happen if she decided to leave one day. Confused, Su Qing answers that she could make a name for herself and succeed as long as she protects her achievement. Zhang clarifies that she's referring to him, to which Su Qing responds, saying that liking someone is irrational, and her leaving won't change his feeling. He smirks and asks if there's anything between them that would cause her to leave. Zhang blushes. He suggests they should focus on enjoying the present rather than worrying about conditions. After all, she's with him right now. Zhang wonders if she's being manipulated or forced. Su Qing says they're in an ambiguous situation as long as she doesn't hit him, handing her a bear and suggesting she take out her frustration on it if needed. Zhang responds that she doesn't believe him, saying her old self would have certainly struck him. Su Qing offers that she can hit or pinch him if she's uncomfortable with his behavior. He won't stop her, but Zhang refuses. Su Qing then suggests it could be because she has feelings for him. Otherwise, she would have grown tired of him. He admits that his plan is to get closer to her because he likes her. He wants to show her his good qualities to gain her respect, proving he will treat her well. Zhang calls him shameless and annoying. Then she punches him in the stomach and leaves, her face flushed. The next day, Zhang offers to teach Su Qing a martial art after he expresses interest in improving his strength. However, she trains him so intensely that Su Qing starts to suspect she's using this as an opportunity to get back at him for the previous day. Feeling uneasy, he tries to back out, but Zhang insists that once he learns the technique, he'll be able to land a hit on her instead of constantly being on the receiving end. Su Qing laughs and says he could never hit her, though deep down, he knows even after mastering the martial art, he'll likely still be the one getting beaten. To demonstrate, Zhang shows him a technique called the Tang Fist, which focuses on 3 main points and 6 body parts. The technique mainly uses palm strikes. As she strikes toward him, Su Qing immediately drops to his knees, begging her to pause the training until tomorrow, claiming his chest still hurts. Zhang agrees and heads to prepare breakfast. As she works, Zhang thinks about what would happen if Su Qing surpasses her in martial art. If that were to happen, it would mean he's truly talented in this field. If so, she might stop fearing him completely. since he'd be able to overpower her and make her do anything he wanted. Meanwhile, Su Qing is still lost in his thoughts when Zhang suddenly appears beside him. She startles him and reminds him not to slack off and to keep working hard. Later, before leaving the house, Su Qing tells Zhang not to open the door to strangers and to call him if anything happens. Since he expects to return late, he quickly grabs her hand and squeezes it before hurrying out. The sudden gesture makes Zhang blush, though she also feels a bit annoyed. After some time, Su Qing arrives at his friend Zijin's house to remind him about their upcoming class reunion. Zijin had completely forgotten. He invites Su Qing in to wait while he changes. Su Qing hesitates, half expecting to walk into an awkward situation. But Zijin quickly explains that he recently broke up with his girlfriend and asks if Su Qing hadn't seen any posts about it. Once Zijin is ready, they head out to meet their former classmates. On the way, Zijin complains about how his girlfriend abruptly dumped him without any explanation, calling the whole relationship a disaster. Su Qing casually asks about his car since he was hoping to get a ride. Zijin awkwardly admits that he can't afford it anymore after a fight with his father and losing his financial support. A bit annoyed, Su Qing suggests they take the train instead. While on the train, Zijin suddenly spots a girl with a yellow handbag. It looks oddly familiar. Moments later, the girl calls out angrily to him, confirming that she's one of his ex-girlfriends. Zijin freezes, realizing he's face-to-face with his ex. Feeling uneasy, Zijin tries to lighten the mood by speaking kindly to her. Upon spotting several brushes in her bag, he recalls her past love for painting. Instead of showing admiration, she retorts sarcastically. In an attempt to ease the discomfort, Zijin quickly suggests they move on from the past and inquires how she's been recently. She responds calmly, stating she's been doing well, eating properly, and staying healthy. She then glances at him, commenting that he doesn't seem to be in great shape these days. Zijin awkwardly agrees with her remark. Witnessing this interaction makes our guy feel a sense of loneliness. Despite claiming to have broken up, their eyes still reflect lingering emotion. They appear more like a couple than strangers. This sight suddenly makes Su Qing think about Jiang waiting back at home. Without overthinking, he pulls out his phone and sends her a message confessing his feelings. John receives a notification and opens the chat. It's Su Qing's message, which annoys her due to his nonsense, though it also makes her blush. She's also irked by his profile picture, which reminds her of him. Ignoring his actual message, she sarcastically asks if he also expects her to do his laundry, to which he agrees. While searching his room for his clothes, she spots the slippers she wore when she first arrived. She wonders if Su Qing likes not only her hands but also her slippers. Meanwhile, our boy is blushing and deep in thought. Zian tells him to catch up with the classmates first, as he has something urgent to attend to and will join them later. When Su Qing arrives with the group, they ask about Zijin since they were supposed to arrive together. Our guy explains he ran into his ex-girlfriend, so he'll be late. One of his classmates sarcastically remarks that people like them can't understand the life of the rich. Then they ask Su Qing about his packed schedule, as they haven't hung out for a while. He explains he's been overwhelmed with work recently and hasn't had any time to relax since the year is coming to a close. One of his friends mentions how he worked overtime and had to crawl just to meet them. At this, another one jokes and asks him to demonstrate how he crawled. After a while, Su Qing grabs a drink and stands by himself, feeling bored and missing Jiang. When dinner arrives, one classmate notices something different about Su Qing and asks him about it. He explains he's just been exhausted lately. He suggests joining them for karaoke to help him cheer up, but Su Qing politely declines, claiming he's drunk and needs some time to sober up. After his friend leaves, Su Qing ponders why he used to enjoy these get-togethers. He wonders if his feelings for Jiang are changing his life. As the gathering winds down, he receives a call from Zijin. Picking up the phone, Zijin cries out, pleading for help. Half an hour later, Su Qing arrives at Zijin's place and knocks on the door. Zijin answers wearing only a towel, sobbing. Su Qing asks if he's been blackmailed by his ex-girlfriend. Zijin explains how he was tricked by his ex into coming here, where she insisted he take a shower. After he finished, she left with all his clothes. Su Qing mocks him, asking if that's all. Zijin gets upset and calls his ex-girlfriend evil and shameless. Zijin then suggests they go to karaoke together, but Su Qing calmly declines, mentioning he hasn't gone out much in the past 6 months. Zijin insists, calling him drunk and saying he should come along to feel better. Su Qing once again refuses, saying he prefers to occasionally have meals with close friends instead of partying, wanting to stay grounded. Su Qing continues lying on the hotel bed and tells Zijin to go enjoy the karaoke without him, as he wants some peace and quiet. Zijin tells him he can stay at the hotel room and recover from his drunkenness until the afternoon, then leaves. After Zijin leaves, Su Qing reflects on his newfound preference for a quieter life, one he's embraced for the sake of the person he's living with. He thinks about how he's been considering ways to convince Jiang to marry him, though he understands that marriage isn't as simple as it seems. Arriving home with unsteady steps from the alcohol, Su Qing collapses onto Jiang and she helps him inside as he rambles in his drunken state. Once she realizes how intoxicated he is, he leans in and starts flirting, causing her to push him onto the couch. She pinches her nose, asking how much he's had to drink, but he denies it, claiming he only had a little alcohol. He continues to ramble, calling her beautiful, but she responds with annoyance, telling him to stop. She asks him to go to bed, but he refuses, still trying to flirt with her. Exasperated, she finally drags him to bed, leaving him to sleep off the alcohol. The hero places a bag of pork ribs bought especially for her, and tells her they'll taste great after being stewed. She eagerly takes the bag, planning to stew the ribs the next day. Noticing him still on the couch, she asks why he isn't sleeping in his room, and he replies he'll go soon. Later, while Jiang is on the computer, she stumbles upon a file titled The Golden Lotus, an adult film, and questions him about it. He jumps up from the couch, rushes to the computer, and quickly deletes it. When she asks why he did that, he invents a story, claiming it's related to reincarnation. He explains that it's not suitable for her to watch yet due to her limited understanding. Su Qing is surprised that Zhang even knew how to check the download history. He questions why he deleted it, instead of simply preventing her from viewing it. He says he's just hidden it temporarily, and sighs at how narrowly he avoided trouble. After some time, Zhang finds him asleep on the couch and drapes a blanket over him. She studies him closely until memories of his flirtatious advances suddenly flood her mind. Startled, she pulls away and rushes off to prepare dinner, trying to distract herself from her flustered feeling. Much later, Su Qing wakes from a deep sleep on the couch, feeling groggy. Zhang is watching a movie on the computer while eating dinner. She tells him she made porridge for him instead, anticipating he might have a hangover. He smiles quietly, touched by her secret care, like covering him with a blanket and preparing food. Su Qing rises from the couch and notices Zhang watching one of the films he had chosen for her. He explains the plot relates somewhat to her era. When he mentions changes over time, she wonders if second Mrs. words have also become outdated. After Zhang leaves to shower before bed, Su Qing quietly sneaks onto the chair to peek at her search history again, feeling suspicious. But to his surprise, he discovers her search history has been erased. Dawn emerges from the bathroom with a towel wrapped around her hair after shower. He can't help but watch her as she walks from the bathroom to the dining table behind him. Captivated by her beauty, he leans back, joking that he'd commit a crime if he weren't afraid of her wrath. Zhang asks what he would have done if she were defenseless when they first met. He answers he would have turned her over to security. Thinking she was cosplaying Chunabu, she questions if he wouldn't have broken the law. He's stunned she viewed him that way, while Jiang dries her hair with a hairdryer. Su Qing breaks the silence, asking how she feels about him now. She switches off the dryer and hesitantly says she doesn't know. Receiving a response different from what he expected, he turns to ask if this life suits her better than her previous one. She says she prefers this lifestyle, and he shares how exciting he finds the world. He explains she'll feel the same once she adapts to a modern way of life. He admits feeling ordinary compared to others. An awkward silence follows. When she remains quiet, he asks if she has nothing to say. He continues, describing how ordinary their shared life is, and that pursuing and marrying her would selfishly ruin her future chances. She questions why he feels guilty for being ordinary. He responds that without his help, she wouldn't even be ordinary. When she asks why he says this, he admits the thought of being together or married scares him. It leaves him conflicted, feeling he should act more thoughtfully. He wonders if he should take things slow or use all his tactics to win her over. Considering this, he devises a plan to grow closer to her. He dramatically tells her his chest hurts where she bumped her head. He suspects an internal injury, acting too innocent to reveal his true intention. When he asks her to rub his chest to ease the pain, she questions if it really hurts that much. He exaggerates, claiming her strength is overwhelming. She moves towards him and gently caresses his chest after sitting next to him. Su Qing feels overjoyed and shares the idea that every meeting in life is actually a long-awaited reunion. If she had been truly vulnerable at the moment of their first meeting, things would have turned out completely differently. She suddenly wonders if that implies he'd stop deceiving her, and the mention of that word irritates him, prompting him to tell her to forget it. Su Qing reflects on how throughout the entire day, his mind was focused solely on finding ways to marry her and persuading his parents in case something went wrong. Meanwhile, all she could focus on was worrying about him tricking her. He decides to keep her close for now. But as he tries to pull her toward him, her solid posture as a martial artist prevents her from moving. Su Qing feels a bit awkward, so he excuses himself and heads to the shower instead. Zhang's face turns red as she ponders whether she should have let him pull her closer. Meanwhile, as he showers, he wonders if he's being too distant now, which is why she might have dropped that hint. Once he steps out, he notices Zhang is still on the computer, even though it's already after 10. He assures him she's just finishing something before heading to bed. Since the mood had shifted, he figures he might as well be productive for a while. Skyscrapers don't appear by chance. They rise from countless layers of hard work. Settling on the sofa with his laptop, he decides to take the opportunity to write a review of Farewell, My Concubine, and even improve his skills in film critique as he works. Zhang, curious, approaches him and asks what he's doing. Su Qing, distracted by her closeness, still manages to explain that his work helps him earn money. But when she expresses interest in doing it too, he flatly refuses, pointing out that she hasn't studied modern education. He teases her with a serious look, saying that observing and expressing are two completely different things, just like how she likes him but can't say it aloud. This irks her and she ignores the fact that she might actually have feelings for him. Changing the subject, he asks her what she thinks of Farewell My Concubine. She's unsure, mentioning that times have changed. He sarcastically suggests that it's time for her to learn from Teacher Shu. He elaborates that some believe films enhance our lives by broadening our views on existence. He explains that both in opera and real life, the lead character endures suffering due to love, and truly appreciating this requires looking deeper. Since she didn't quite grasp the character, she isn't really connecting with the film or understanding its core meaning. That's why she needs to watch and read more. To truly understand the depth of the movie and its characters, she listens intently, but Su Qing can't quite hold back his desire to express his feelings toward her. In a playful, teasing tone, he asks if she enjoys reading books, but when she hesitates to answer, he grins and challenges her to guess who enjoys watching her. This leaves her puzzled before she can process this without missing a beat. Su Qing demands a hug, and when she doesn't reply, he immediately pulls her in, whispering in her ear that he'll always want more of her. He promises to be a gentleman for her, to support a family, then heads to bed, leaving her blushing with embarrassment. The following morning, Su Qing reviews his saving, 40,000 yuan, which he's been building since his university days. He's been thinking about settling down now that Jiang is part of his life. After selling off a large portion of his stock holdings and avoiding the worst of the bear market, he reflects on his progress. He figures that his uploaded videos can bring in about 4,000 to 6,000 yuan. But the income is unreliable. His film reviews aren't generating much either, since he's still working on building an audience, realizing he needs to do more. He decides it's time to step up his efforts, aiming for more views, likes, and engagement. He understands the advice of the older man. He doesn't want to lead a life of mediocrity. If things continue this way, he knows he should start looking for a job. His thoughts are interrupted when Zhang calls him for food. But she also notices the cards and is now curious to know what they're for. Su Qing explains that they are used for storing money, linking his account with hers. After some time, both Zhang and Su Qing are ready to go for a walk. But Melon becomes clingy, so they end up taking him along as well. Su Qing notices the decorations are already set up. They take him out with them as they enjoy the festive atmosphere. New Year is almost here, and since this is Zhang's first time, our guy decides to make it a truly special and unforgettable experience for her. Just then, Melon plops down angrily on the ground, convinced that our guy will abandon it after picking it up from a nearby trash can. He pats Melon reassuringly, promising he won't throw it away, and they avoid taking that pat. Afterward, while holding hands and chatting casually, they wander around when suddenly they notice children playing nearby. Zhang can't help but feel how serene it all is, while Qing recognizes one of the children. Shi Yan Han, Auntie Cheng's granddaughter. The moment she spots our boy, she dashes over and hugs him. He even introduces her to Zhang and Melon. Then Zhang hands Mel to Shi Yan Han, and she and her friends start playing with it. Su Qing and Zhang sit in a corner, and he explains that his neighborhood is friendly and welcoming. He admits that Aunt Cheng is a gossip, but recalls that when he was locked out as a child, she would help him get back inside. He goes on to say he moved into this old apartment after getting into college. Though he later relocated to a new home, nostalgia hits him strongly. This neighborhood holds many childhood memories, however. Zhang realizes Su Qing had a reason for making her greet the little girl. He asks her directly, saying he wants her to meet more people, otherwise she'll end up lonely. During their talk, Yan Yan suddenly runs up and asks if Zhang is Su Qing's girlfriend, surprising him with how much she knows. Amused, our guy playfully flips the question back on her. She blushes and shyly clarifies that a girlfriend just means a female friend. This makes Qing smile, and he reassures her that she can come by more often to play with Melon, even with Jiang He. As the child leaves, he changes the subject, admitting he's a hand enthusiast, meaning he has a fondness for hands. Jiaying is confused since he's been fascinated with hands from the beginning, but he knows his access is limited. Otherwise, he would reveal just how perverse he really is. Later, at home, Zhang trains our guy in martial arts, explaining that Tang Fist focuses on empty-hand combat, speed, and striking vital points to finish a fight in a single blow. Shu Qing feels frustrated, not wanting to demonstrate because he hasn't learned it yet, but sighs, realizing he cannot avoid martial arts. While they train, a knock is heard at the door. Opening it, he finds Yan Han with her homework, eager to play with Melon. She greets Jian and heads straight to Melon, asleep. After waking it, she starts playing. The hero notices she hasn't begun her homework, so he offers her the option to do it while keeping Melon nearby. the little girl starts her work. Meanwhile, Cheng is on his laptop. Seeing Jiang looking at Yan Han, he suggests she review Yan Han's language exercises. She might recognize some words and solve a few questions. Most of them are already completed. Su Qiang explains the remaining problems. Watching him, Jiang recalls the village accountant who taught her to read, although our guy is far more knowledgeable. Since it's late, Qing offers Yan Han dinner before she leaves. After eating, Qing tells Jiang to accompany her home, which is just upstairs. She insists on going alone, but he makes Jiang go with her. At the apartment door, Jiang freezes when Aunt Chung opens it, but seeing her being kind to her granddaughter, she relaxes a little. Aunt Chung even encourages her granddaughter to complete homework with our guy more often, so they can spend time together. Back in the apartment, our guy has showered and suggests she shower and sleep quickly, as they'll go out tomorrow to buy New Year supplies. She heads to the shower but stops when Qing offers her some food he is preparing. Even after dinner, they end up having a late-night snack. Jiang still feels slightly hungry, and Su Qing teases her, warning that if she keeps eating at night, she'll get chubby like Melon. He jokes about checking her stomach to see if she's full, and though she pretends otherwise, she quietly heads to the shower, since they need to be ready early tomorrow to buy New Year items. Even after their meal, they share a late snack. Jiang still feels a little peckish, and Su Qing teases her about getting round like Melon if she keeps eating at night. He jokes about checking her stomach for fullness, and though she pretends she isn't, her stomach tells a different story. Qing jokingly insists on checking for himself before heading to bed. He warns her not to sneak into his room for any mischievous business, since a full stomach can lead to spontaneous urges, making her blush in embarrassment. The next morning, both Zhang and Qing head out to buy supplies for the new year. That's when the hero runs into Uncle Zhao, who's smoking. Before they leave, he advises Zhao to quit smoking, but the old man is on the brink of death, with cigarettes being his only source of light. While walking, the hero notices girls in skirts and then glances at Jiang, who's wearing thick leggings. He suggests she give them a try. However, Jiang prefers her warm leggings, not understanding how the other girls aren't cold. He takes her hand and tells her to hurry up, they've got a lot to do today. Since it's the new year, the first thing he wants is for her to change her hairstyle a bit. At the salon, he talks to the barber about getting their hair done. She sits down nervously, unsure of what to say or do. She urgently asks the boy to let her get a haircut like his mother, but he quickly denies, instructing the barber on what he wants. After the haircut, her hair looks thinner and her bangs are neat. Qing can't help but smile, thinking she looks even more beautiful now. Next, they go to the mall to get her some new clothes and shoes. He wants her to wear a fresh outfit from top to bottom for New Year's. On their way, they encounter an angry-looking dog. The hero suggests they avoid it and cross the street to go around. However, Zhang isn't intimidated. To her, it's nothing but a small creature. She steps up and scares the dog off with her fierce aura. But Zhang doesn't think it was her killing intent. She believes the dog just sensed it couldn't defeat her. At the same time, he warns her never to harm or fight any living being, no matter the circumstances. He lets it slide this time, but it won't happen again. He asks her if she's remembering the bloody days of the past. Zhang views it all as peaceful now, and she would never seek to fight if everything around her was calm and stable. Afterward, they continue their shopping and return home, exhausted. But Jiang's face lights up when she sees everything they bought. The hero can tell she's genuinely happy. However, he tells her to stop admiring the stuff and help him get glue to stick the couplets up. If you don't put up couplets during the new year, it won't feel like New Year's at all. It's a family tradition, and without them, it just doesn't feel festive. After sticking them, Qing asks for feedback. But Jiang thinks they're shorter than the ones she's seen before, surprising him. He wasn't expecting her to compare them, but as soon as she says she prefers the longer one, a smirk forms on his face, and he proudly declares that it makes him the best. After finishing the couplets, Qing lights up when he sees Auntie Cheng outside their home. He eagerly asks her to take a photo of him and Jiang in front of the door. The red festive decorations frame them as he quickly grabs Zhang's hand and poses for the picture. Meanwhile, Zhang stands still, her expression uncertain as the camera clicks. Afterward, Auntie Cheng looks at the photo and wonders aloud. They're celebrating the new year here. The hero agrees. She laughs, noting that they're ringing in the new year while already living together. They're definitely going to get married soon. With a chuckle, she leaves with Yan Han, leaving them alone. Inside the apartment, Qing sets the fish on the stove to cook. They both sigh in relief, especially the hero, who's feeling quite tired. He takes a moment to look at their photo from earlier, then glances at Zhang, who's quietly sitting beside him, eating some nuts. Noticing this, he leans over and asks to have some too, blushing. Puzzled, she reaches to offer him one, but he suddenly opens his mouth, waiting for her to feed him. Instead of handing it to him properly, she tosses the nut straight into his mouth. He's stunned, but he then shows her the picture, and Jiang immediately notices his mischievous grin. The hero points out her serious expression in the picture as well. He decides to apply some filters to make it look old-fashioned. Completely clueless about filters, Jang gazes at our guy with a puzzled expression. Meanwhile, our guy texts his family group, suggesting they invite Jiang over and have his mom teach her how to make dumplings. Later at his parents' home, while preparing dumplings, Qing's mom curiously asks Jiang about the typical meals at her house. Jiang innocently shares that they usually have porridge or noodles for breakfast, while she prepares quick meals for lunch and dinner. She even mentions that they occasionally have supper as well. This surprises the hero's mother, since her son normally sleeps until afternoon, but now he even wakes for breakfast, eating 3 or 4 times daily. She then notices the beautiful girl her son is spending time with. It dawns on her that living with a girl might change a boy's routines. In another room, Qing and his dad are snacking. Suddenly, there's a knock at the door. Opening it, our guy sees Hyozi, who brought treats for his friend's father. Hyozi is taken aback to find his friend there, yet our guy acts affectionately toward him. Meanwhile, his dad feels irritated seeing his son's friend benefiting from work while his own son does nothing, so he walks away to sit on the sofa. The hero brings up the girl Hyozi met through matchmaking, curious about how things went with her. It seems it didn't go well, as Hyozi quickly brushes it off, asking him to change the topic for now and promising to explain everything later. Their conversation is interrupted when Qing's mom thanks him for bringing everything and invites him to stay for dinner since she made dumplings. Hyozi tries to decline, but when he sees Jiang making dumplings, he grabs our guy. Annoyed that she's so capable, especially since Hyozi's match wasn't sincere. Although his friend's girlfriend is cooking at his parents' place, he starts to leave, surprising our guy. He expected Hyozi to investigate further, but with a girl making dumplings at home, what more is there to check? Before leaving, he tells our guy to spend some time with his dad since he won't be home for New Year due to duty elsewhere. Later that evening, Jiang hesitates at first to eat, since it's her first time trying dumplings. Qing's mom encourages her to enjoy them. Once reassured, she digs in immediately, appearing both pitiful yet genuine. She seems pleased with how much she eats, though the dad's reaction is quite the opposite, frowning as he wonders if his son brought a girl home just to feed her freely. Back at their apartment, our guy is happy that Jiang has learned to make dumplings, though Zhang still needs practice to make them perfectly uniform. Sitting comfortably on the sofa, he explains that in northern China, eating dumplings during New Year is essential, much like putting up couplets. He compares it to eating mooncakes at the Mid-Autumn Festival or rice dumplings during the Dragon Boat Festival. Skipping dumplings for New Year feels odd. Both the era and the region shape these traditions. Jiang suspects there's more behind his explanation, thinking he might be trying to get her to hug or hold his hand. So him not asking directly feels unusual and makes her suspicious. She ignores the feeling and uses her computer, though he senses something is off. Assuming she's surprised by his knowledge, he goes to shower. Jiang browses the internet and stumbles upon a video of 2 people kissing, turning bright red. Shivering in embarrassment, she reacts strangely. After his shower, our guy notices her odd behavior but tells her to continue. Jiang hesitates, saying she'll shower later. He notices the redness in her cheeks but doesn't understand why. Peeking at her computer, he sees her looking at news, unsure if that's what made her blush. He works for a while and then heads to his room to sleep. As he shuts his door, Jiang feels a void, realizing he didn't even hold her hand before going to bed. The door opens again as he wonders if she'll shower at such a late hour. After learning she will wash her hair, he waits so he can blow dry it as usual. Once she finishes, he dries her hair. Jiang feels a mix of emotions, still processing the fact that he didn't touch her hands before sleeping. He checks if she's going to shower late, and upon knowing she will, he waits for her to blow dry her hair as always. As soon as she steps out of the shower, he carefully dries her hair. Noticing her unusually subdued demeanor, he questions her, guessing that she might be annoyed over him skipping the blow dry earlier. He reassures her to speak freely, insisting that if she doesn't, he won't pick up on it. She briefly imagines lashing out at the teddy bear out of frustration, but realizes that's not the actual issue, so she remains silent. She suspects he might manipulate her eventually, so she sees no point in confronting him about it now. The following morning, Jiang prepares fish while following the recipe on her phone. When he approaches, she comments on how modern she feels, and is somewhat proud of her ability to conceal her true feeling. Even her family didn't pick up on the hint about her being different yesterday. This leaves Qing feeling suspicious, wondering if she's hiding her true nature. What does that even mean? He wonders if she's still thinking of running away. His thoughts are interrupted when he notices her blushing, clearly happy to be around his family, and she expresses her love for their time together. Qing has completely replaced the old things with new items they picked out together, feeling quite proud of himself. He looks at Jiang, who's absorbed in her computer, thinking she seems like a new person. It's as if she's been reborn, especially since it's her first New Year's. However, he suddenly recalls something she said last night about feeling modern. Curious about her browsing history, he wonders what she meant, but she's smart enough to have erased it. He decides to ask her about it. She innocently points to someone on her screen, asking about them. Like a child, he explains that the person is streaming to make money, similar to him playing a game with viewers. Intrigued, she says she'd like to try it as well. However, Ching discourages her, worried about the sensitivity of her identity, which leads her to mention her research. She found that it's possible to buy a fake identity from remote sources. However, he doesn't agree with any illegal actions and suggests she get a real ID. She's not sure how to get one, but he reassures her that a solution will present itself once she learns to navigate the world properly. He then moves to the sofa, playing with Melon, and realizes how much Jiang has grown. She used to just listen, confused, but now she's engaging in meaningful conversation. Later that evening, Zhang decides to make dumpling. Seeing her busy, Ching decides to check her search history, thinking she may have forgotten to erase it. Instead, he finds she set a fake alarm to let her know he's snooping. This leaves him in shock, but he heads back to the kitchen to help her. He suggests she season the ingredients and he'll mix them. Watching him help, Zhang hopes this kind of life can continue without any interruption. On New Year's Eve, following Hyozi's instructions, Ching meets Uncle Chin, who's excited for Ching and Jiang's arrival at the annual dinner. He even suggests having a mini hot pot gathering separately, which Ching agrees to, but he urges them to leave quickly because his parents are waiting. As they head out, Ching notices Jiang's eyes light up when she sees Uncle Chin's dog, realizing she loves dogs. However, she points out that caring for a large dog like that requires a lot of effort. She's content with having Melon. Ching agrees, but he's also happy she's calling Melon theirs, which makes him smile with joy. Once they reach his parents' house, Ching focuses on the fruits Hyozi bought. He opens the box and finds passion fruits, so he quickly slices them and offers them to everyone. As they taste them, their expressions change and Ching realizes they taste awful. He decides not to have any more, but when he offers more, they give him a stern look. Now he's left to finish them all himself so they don't go to waste. Regret fills him, and he curses himself for opening that box in the first place. At his parents' house, Ching and Jiang enjoy the New Year's Eve dinner with his family. His father offers prayers for a prosperous year, reflecting on all the changes. He notes how Ching has matured this year, particularly mentioning his new girlfriend. Both Ching and Jiang sit quietly, gazing at each other. After the prayer, their glasses clink to celebrate the new year. During dinner, Ching's mom shares embarrassing stories from his childhood, leaving him feeling embarrassed. Meanwhile, Jiang listens with a smile, amused by Ching's awkwardness. She can't help but notice how shy he gets when reminded of his childhood antics. After dinner, while Zhang and Ching's mom clean the dishes, Ching's dad calls him over, suspiciously handing him a blue envelope. He tells his son to keep it safe and open it when they return home. He assures him it's not money, as that's given in red envelopes for good luck during New Year. After some time, they head out. On the way home, Ching decides to stop by Uncle Chin's place. He tells Jiang to relax and speak freely in front of him since he'll forget everything after a few drinks. Jiang doesn't respond, which confuses Ching, as she's acting unusually slow and understanding things. Jiang, on the other hand, feels flustered, her cheeks warming up as she takes a deep breath. Meanwhile, Ching's attention shifts to the envelope his father gave him earlier. To his surprise, it's a condom, which leaves him feeling both embarrassed and shy, especially since they haven't done anything more than hold hands. Ching is both stunned and flustered, his face turning a shade of red as he struggles to comprehend the situation. Jiang, noticing his reaction, feels a bit awkward but also amused by his embarrassed state. She can't help but chuckle lightly. Ching tries to keep his composure, but the awkwardness of the moment is palpable as they continue their journey home. Despite his embarrassment, Ching can't help but feel a sense of warmth and closeness with Jiang, even in these small, awkward moments. As they arrive back at his place, Ching reflects on how different his life feels now, with Jiang by his side and how far they've come together. He realizes that while the future is uncertain, the connection they share is growing stronger with each passing day. Jiang, still a little embarrassed, quietly reflects on how much she's changed since meeting Ching and the life she's building with him. As they settle in for the night, the quiet bond between them speaks volumes, signaling the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. Curious, Jiang asked what those objects were. Our guy lied, saying they were just useless balloons. Later, when they arrived at Uncle Chin's house, everyone exchanged greetings. At that moment, he jokingly suggested that Uncle Chin find a partner, since Hyazi was always busy with duties, which made his uncle laugh. Meanwhile, Uncle Chin noticed Jian being unusually quiet, so he teased about her marrying our guy, pointing out that they were celebrating New Year together. He asked about her origins, and through Ching's telepathy, she shyly admitted she she was from Zhejiang. The conversation shifted to various topics, eventually bringing up Hayazi's romantic life. Jiang quietly watched the TV, where New Year greetings were being broadcast, sensing that something felt off. On the way home, our guy teased Jiang about her being out of touch with modern people. Puzzled, she asked him to explain. Instead, he took her hand, entwined their fingers, and told her to figure it out herself. She didn't overthink it, simply blushing in response. She accepted that she loved this life, always wanting to lean on him. Back home, our guy casually watched TV. He was happy to catch the tail end of the New Year's special, and reminded Jian to wear her new clothes tomorrow. It was the first day of the new year, while Jiang sat there feeling uneasy. Her mind was crowded with thoughts, unsure how to handle being next to him. Suddenly, she stood up and went to the kitchen. The hero was confused, not understanding her recent behavior or why she went there. Jiang came out holding cooking wine she had drunk entirely. Qing grabbed her wrist to stop her from drinking further. Instead of listening to his scolding, she worried whether they still had a clear conscience. Annoyed, he assured her they were fine. But suddenly, he found himself on the sofa with her pinning him down. Without hesitation, as the New Year countdown played on TV, as everyone wished Happy New Year, she kissed him. Being pinned like that frustrated him. He realized he had no way to resist or playfully respond. After the kiss, she asked again if they now had a clear conscience. He denied it since she had pinned him down. He always thought guys might take advantage of drunk girls, but in his case, it was reversed. Yang then left and went to her room, giving him her slippers to show he mattered to her. She even offered to teach him how to punch. Confused, he suggested she rest, saying learning could wait. Jiang paused briefly but then left. Qing sighed in relief, though still puzzled. He couldn't sort out his thoughts when Jiang peeked out again. Alarmed, he told her to leave before something worse happened while she was drunk. She touched her cheek teasingly and mentioned he hadn't held her hands that day, then quickly returned to bed. Qing was stunned, unsure if she would be embarrassed and try to leave the next day, so he locked all doors and windows. On New Year's morning, Jiang was in high spirits wearing her new clothes. Qing watched her from his room, finding her normal behavior strangely unusual. Summoning courage, he approached and asked if she remembered last night. She blushed but admitted they still didn't have a clear conscience. Ignoring that, he noticed her new dress and realized he hadn't showered since yesterday. He decided to shower first before continuing the conversation. 20 minutes later, they sat on the sofa. Qing asked why she had pinned him down, suddenly gotten drunk, and kissed him. He wanted to know her reasoning. Hesitant, she admitted she wanted to rely on him, which confused him further and reminded him of her bringing her shoes. He asked about the shoes too. She explained it was a misunderstanding, thinking he had a thing for shoes, and assured him it wasn't an issue. He realized she had been reading odd things online and doubted him. He clarified the shoes were from her first visit, kept as a memento. She told him not to sell them, and he agreed, reassuring her once more that he had no special interest in shoes. This made him realize that she had misunderstood things she read online about him. He explained that his interest was simply because those shoes were worn during her first visit to his home. He had intended to keep them as a memory or possibly sell them later, but she told him not to, and he agreed. He reassured her one final time that he had no particular fascination with shoes. Everything was clear now, and they continued to share the moment without any misunderstanding. He quickly shifts to the next subject, rubbing his hand, still sore from earlier when he was pinned down. She mentioned depending on him, so he asks her if relying on him means shoving him onto the sofa and kissing him. Jiang tightens her expression. Her face turns bright red as she declares that after a kiss, they can't be guilt-free. In that case, she says she's officially his girlfriend. Upon hearing this, Qing also turns red and eagerly asks for a hug from his new girlfriend. As he opens his arms, she moves closer and they embrace at last. Qing finally gets the hug he had been longing for. While holding her, he reflects on how his views on relationships differ greatly from hers. Jiang doesn't think too deeply about it, as what they share now is exactly what she's always wanted. Qing agrees but gently holds her face, admitting he desires a more modern relationship. Jiang wants a wife, not someone who's uncertain and only looking for stability through children. He even hopes she learns how to smile more. When she hears this, she tries to smile awkwardly, which looks odd. He reassures her that her smile is lovely, but it doesn't need to be forced. She simply needs to smile more naturally, like she does when she sees snow or enjoys cake or hot pot, the real smile that comes from within. He acknowledges that she's doing much better now than when she first arrived. But even now, her smile still seems like she's just lifting the corners of her mouth, depending on her mood. This makes Jiang realize why her Uncle Qin didn't speak to her much the night before. Without hesitation, he admits it's true, but it's perfectly fine since she definitely needs time to adjust and understand things. After all, she comes from a different time. Her mind still needs time to evolve, and in this case, he promises to wait for her no matter what. Then he asks for a kiss, and without a second thought, she kisses his cheek. Once that's done, he tells her not to push him down like before. She just has to tell him what she wants, and it will come to her eventually. And if it's a kiss, that's even better. She apologizes for how she acted yesterday, and thus, it turns out to be a truly happy new year for Qing after all. And so this is how everything falls into place for him.